A man lies on a bed next to a sleeping girl, clothes are scattered on the sheets, and sounds are heard from above. The guy lies on his back on a pillow and covers his face with his hand, experiencing a severe headache or tension. The guy wakes up and sits up in bed, surprised to find himself in a hotel, completely naked from the waist up. A guy lies on his bed and realizes with horror that a complete stranger is sleeping next to him. The guy looks at his smartphone screen in confusion, trying to figure out who wrote him a strange message. A guy is sitting on his bed and looking through his phone when he notices that his ex-girlfriend, who dumped him, is trying to contact him again. The guy is wondering why the girl who blocked him on Messenger is now communicating with him in such a friendly tone. The calendar is open on the smartphone screen, and the guy looks at the highlighted date with surprise and fear. The guy looks into space with great surprise and shock, wondering if he has really been transported back in time. The guy stands there, realizing that his previous attempts to take care of this girl were in vain, as everything went wrong. A red-haired girl walks down the street and tells the guy next to her with a smile that the man who appreciates her has finally found her. The same girl smiles and holds the phone, thinking that because of her character, she will now start begging him for money. The guy lies on the pillow, smiling and touching his forehead with his fingers, thinking that love can really blind a person. A guy and a red-haired girl are chatting on their phone, while the guy looks calm and the girl on the screen is smiling. A guy receives a message from a girl who suggests that he break up, and she hopes that he won't regret his decision. The guy is sitting on the bed, a glowing blue interface appears around him, and he says the phrase, "divine system," in surprise. The guy stands up on the bed, points his finger up, and in front of him hangs a virtual menu with information about the system and his task. The guy talks about how cool it is to get money for free, because now he can get 100,000 rubles a day. A golden item appears, and on top of it hangs a system message about receiving a prize of 10 million and a rare card. A guy is sitting reading a message that millions of rubles have been deposited into his bank account, but he doesn't understand what the scanner is for. The guy leans over the sleeping blonde on the bed and thinks about using his new scanner on her. The guy points his finger at the sleeping blonde, and a holographic message favor scanning appears over her. A holographic panel appears above the sleeping girl, indicating her name, age, appearance, and favor level. The guy's hand points to a blue system screen with a privacy option. Next to the image of the girl's cleavage, a thought appears of a guy who, in shock, realizes that he was her first man. A guy is standing on the street and talking tiredly on the phone, remembering the hard day and meeting that very girl. A guy stands behind the bar and looks at a tired blonde who is drinking an alcoholic drink. The guy lies on the bed, touches his forehead with his hand, and understands that, although they met for the first time, her favor towards him is very high. The sleeping blonde wakes up slightly and opens her eyes in surprise, feeling that she has been awakened. The guy looks at the awakened girl, and she, sighing and smiling, compares him to a real holy lover. The guy smiles, looking at the girl, and looks confident and relaxed. A guy and a girl are lying in bed in a very close position, and the guy tells her that he is not at all worried about what happened. The guy looks into the girl's eyes and explains that his sigh was caused by regret that they had not met earlier. A system appears next to the boy and girl, notifying them that they have received a rare skill for leveling up. The system informs that the skill associated with the favor level is activated, and the guy kisses the girl. The girl opens her eyes wide and is surprised that the guy's kiss is very different from her previous experience. The guy hugs the girl and tells her with a smile that the real kiss is just beginning. The blonde throws her head back and lies on the bed, experiencing strong emotions during intimacy. The guy wakes up in the morning in bed, stretches sweetly, and next to him on the sheet there are scattered bills. The guy lies in bed on money and exclaims in surprise because the girl took him for a lover and left him money. The guy sits on the bed, reads the note left by the girl, and notices with a smile that she left him exactly thousands. The guy stands and buttons his shirt, sadly noting to himself that he was unable to get the girl's contact information. The guy looks thoughtfully into the distance against the backdrop of a night city, reflecting on the functionality of the new cards and how they can be used for business. A guy stands in a city at night, holding onto his clothes and telling himself that he has been reborn, so he can't waste cards mindlessly. A guy stands against the backdrop of green trees and a light-colored building, thinking about his task of accumulating startup capital to buy shares. A guy stands on the street, pressing a button on his key fob to open the door of a bright yellow sports car. Zhang Chen mentally noted that he had 5 million crit cards, which were perfect for buying an apartment. A girl with long hair sits on the hood of a yellow car and with a flirtatious smile asks a guy if this is his car. The guy looks at her and with slight confusion replies that yes, the car is his. The girl leans forward and asks the guy to give her a ride home because her sewer pipe has burst. The guy mentally notes that her privacy level is high, but her favorability level is not very high. The guy sits in a yellow car and with calm irony answers the girl that he doesn't want to dive where the guys have already been. The guy drives away in a yellow car, leaving the confused girl standing on the road with strange white stains visible on the asphalt. The girl screams to herself that she has only had 22 partners, and she doesn't understand where he got the number from. A girl in a pink top stands on the street and wipes her forehead in frustration, complaining about how hard it is to find a handsome guy. An elderly man in work clothes approaches a girl and enthusiastically offers his services in unclogging sewers. The girl recoils from the stranger with indignation and disgust and calls him a pervert. The older man looks at the girl with resentment and begins to argue, claiming that his equipment and service are better than those of the young people. The girl chases the elderly man away, and the passers-by standing nearby begin to laugh loudly at him. A young man in a gray jacket approaches the old plumber and, with a mocking smile, asks if he meant what he said. An elderly man watches the girl leave and wonders if today's youth really are that depraved. The girl turns around abruptly and, in irritation, sends the strangers away, taking a step to the side. Two employees stand at the entrance to an elite residential complex and greet the guy as he appears. A man standing at the entrance reflects skeptically on the fact that a guy from a rich family is wasting his time. A guy in a black shirt confidently gets out of a yellow sports car and heads towards the building. A female realtor in a formal suit asks her colleague in surprise why he is dumping her, since she is new. A blonde girl in a dark suit politely greets a guy, introducing herself as a real estate agent. A guy asks to show him apartments, and a female agent politely asks about his budget. The girl's colleague approaches her mockingly and advises her to learn to choose clients, since everything in their business is not easy. A guy and an agent are sitting together and looking at a tablet, studying options for apartments with finishing in a certain price range. The real estate agent is working intently on her tablet and says she will find better options. The girl with the tablet suddenly comes to her senses and asks the guy about his wishes for the area. The guy crosses his arms over his chest and explains to the girl that he is interested in ordinary houses with finishing, which can easily be rented out. The guy looks at the female agent and notes to himself that she is honest and does not use manipulative techniques. The girl shows the guy a tablet, telling him about apartments with a good layout and a convenient location near a shopping street. The guy looks into the distance and remembers that the maximum amount he can spend on his card is $1 million. The guy explains to the agent that apartments for $800,000 to $900,000 are not suitable for him, as he would like to find a higher cashback. The guy offers the agent to discuss the purchase of 5 apartments worth over $1 million if she helps him with the bargaining. The girl, shocked, asks again if he is really talking about buying 5 apartments at once. The guy calmly confirms that he plans to buy them outright and then rent them out. The girl enthusiastically agrees to help the guy bargain, her eyes shining. The girl's colleague recoils from the door in complete shock and cannot believe that the guy is going to buy 5 apartments at once. The man who runs the agency hands the guy the contracts and tells him that the price of each apartment will be $1 million. The guy signs the papers and declares that he trusts this particular realtor and will work only with her. The girl looks at the guy, standing with her back to him, and happily calculates her commission for the deal. The guy watches the system interface, noting that buying apartments for $1 million was profitable. The guy looks at the virtual data in great surprise, realizing that spending $5 million will bring him a huge profit. The guy feels truly inspired by his wealth and new life. The guy tells the agent that it's time for him to leave, and she asks, looking confused, what exactly he means. The colleague leans over to the surprised girl and advises her to invite Mr. Jiang to dinner to improve her relationship with him. The guy looms over the lying girl, promising that she will have great opportunities if she is with him. The real estate agent, wearing a strict black business suit and with her cheeks deeply red, bites her finger in embarrassment. A guy and a girl are standing at the counter, and she shyly suggests that they meet today, but the guy reminds her about transferring money. The girl looks at the guy in great confusion and does not understand what money transfer he is talking about. The guy smiles and tells the girl that she is his lucky star while showing her his phone number. The girl is slightly shocked and admits to herself that she doesn't understand at all what this man is talking about. The girl looks in surprise at the tablet, on which she received a notification about a transfer of $350,000. The guy smiles contentedly, realizing that his deal brought in more than $200 million, and he generously thanked the girl. The girl happily looks at her phone and asks Mr. Jiang to add her to his contacts so he can invite him to dinner. The guy looks at the system window with satisfaction and happily notices that the girl's favor level has increased sharply. The girl looks intently at the guy and thinks about how stylish and expensive his clothes are. The girl is sitting on top of the guy in bed, and they are both in an intimate setting. A guy in a black shirt comes out of the glass doors and says goodbye to the female agent, thanking her for a job well done. The girl runs out into the street and in a panic tries to catch up with the guy, shouting after him. A guy sits in a yellow car and waves goodbye to a girl as he drives away from the building. Real estate agent Xiaosa, left alone, sadly touches her cheeks and feels empty in her soul after Jiang Chen's departure. Jiang Chen enters the hallway of his own home and loudly announces his return to his mother. Jiang Chen sits down in the living room, where he is greeted by his mother and father, who is sitting on the sofa, and his mother treats him to a watermelon. Jiang Chen eats a juicy slice of watermelon and tells his mother about his plans to go to university and go to Moda. Sitting on the sofa, his father, wearing glasses, adjusts them and tells Jiang Chen that his mother is willing to transfer money for his trip. His mother jokes that if Jiang Chen grows up small, it will be difficult for him to find a bride, and asks him not to think only about money. Jiang Chen takes a bite of the watermelon and sheepishly asks his mother not to bring this up, silently promising that she will not allow him to be left without a bride again. Jiang Chen stands in the crowd and regretfully realizes that he will have to fly economy class, as the tickets were not purchased in advance. Jiang Chen accidentally collides with Zhou Lin back-to-back and hears the distinctive sound of impact. Jiang Chen turns around and, noticing the collision, sheepishly apologizes to Zhou Lin. Zhou Lin, wearing a white t-shirt and jeans, suddenly recognizes Jiang Chen and happily greets him, calling him by name. Jiang Chen points to his seat on the plane and smiles as he remarks how coincidental it is that Zhou Lin is sitting next to him. Zhou Lin thanks Jiang Chen over his shoulder and holds up his boarding pass. The guy with glasses approached and spoke enthusiastically to Zhou Lin, considering their chance meeting to be fate. Jiang Chen and Zhou Lin walk between the chairs, with Jiang Chen offering Zhou Lin a seat. The guy with glasses angrily addresses Jiang Chen, declaring that he should sit next to Zhou Lin. Jiang Chen brushes off the indignant boy, saying that he and Zhou Lin are together, and he has no obligation to report anything to him. A guy wearing glasses sitting next to her curiously asks Zhou Lin why she is heading to Moda. Zhou Lin turns to Jiang Chen and asks him with a smile where he is heading. Jiang Chen replies that he decided to unwind from idleness, and Zhou Lin confirms with a smile that this is how it should be on a real journey. The guy in glasses happily introduces himself and says that he is also going to travel after graduation. The guy with glasses asks Zhou Lin to be careful around his hotel, as there are many dangerous traps there. Jiang Chen reassures the guy, telling him that he and Zhou Lin will be staying in the same hotel and that she has nothing to worry about. The guy with glasses asks Jiang Chen in surprise which hotel they were staying at. Jiang Chen tells him the name of the luxury hotel, Yanyun Anman, with a charming smile. The guy with glasses looks stunned when he realizes that Jiang Chen named the most expensive luxury hotel. The guy with glasses, shocked, asks Jiang Chen again if they are really staying at this particular hotel. The guy mentally notes that a room with a garden in this hotel costs a lot of money and does not understand how Jiang Chen managed to become so rich. Jiang Chen smiled relaxedly, throwing a light joke at Zhou Lin about how she wasn't poor either. Zhou Lin, who was once a wealthy heiress and local beauty, is shown in the background of the car in her school uniform. During her school years, Zhou Lin sits at her desk, surrounded by her classmates, and all the boys were embarrassed to even look at her. Jiang Chen walks and remembers that everyone was thinking about entering university, but heard about the tragedy that happened to Zhou Lin. Zhou Lin smiles on the plane and declares that, unlike in school, she is definitely not a nerd now. Jiang Chen, with a bead of sweat on his forehead, mentally notes that it's time to change the topic of conversation. Jiang Chen and Zhou Lin sit in their airplane seats and reminisce about their school days together. Zhou Lin laughs and says that school was very interesting. Jiang Chen felt a huge sense of relief, knowing that he had finally gotten rid of the awkwardness with Zhou Lin. Jiang Chen drinks water while Zhou Lin secretly watches him from his desk, and he wonders if he was interested in her in the past. Jiang Chen and Zhou Lin go out into the city and introduce themselves to each other. Wang Yuma stands on the airport platform in a gray, form-fitting suit, holding a sign with Jiang Chen's name on it. Jiang Chen and Zhou Lin are walking together, and Jiang Chen asks where she is staying, to which Zhou Lin replies that she will call a taxi to the Pudong area. Wang Yuma invites them to get into the car and suggests that they first stop in the Pudong area. The guy with glasses stands and watches as Zhou Lin gets into Jiang Chen's car, mentally planning to protect her that evening. After a while, the car drives away, and Zhou Lin's voice can be heard from the window, offering to exchange contacts with Jiang Chen. Zhou Lin holds the phone in her hand and reminds Jiang Chen not to forget her later. Jiang Chen and Zhou Lin sit in the car and scan each other's QR codes with their phones. A guy with glasses looks out the window of his car and realizes with disappointment that his romantic evening with Zhou Lin is cancelled. Jiang Chen looks at the night landscape with luxurious mansions and notes with satisfaction that the money was well spent. Wang Yuma informs Jiang Chen that the water is ready and he can go wash himself. Jiang Chen notices with slight surprise and shock that it turns out that this hotel also offers a service that Wang Yuma provides. Wang Yuma stands against a stone wall and says that she will help Jiang Chen undress. Jiang Chen stands waist-deep in hot water and exclaims in embarrassment when Wang Yuma approaches him with a rag. Wang Yuma, with a slight blush, explains that back massages are indeed included in her services, but washing clients is not. Wang Yuma gently rubs Jiang Chen's back, and he mentally notes that manager Wang looks good, but he doesn't expect much service from her. Wang Yuma changes into a white dress and tells Jiang Chen that they are very well suited for each other. Wang Yuma leans over Jiang Chen and asks him solicitously if the water is too hot for him. Jiang Chen sits in the hot water with a noticeable blush on his cheeks and scolds himself for what he's even thinking about. Wang Yuma informs Jiang Chen that there will be a party for VIP guests that evening, and he is also invited. Jiang Chen asks Wang Yuma if there are any dress code requirements, and she replies that there are no special requirements. The hotel staff greets Jiang Chen respectfully and introduces him to other guests as a platinum card holder. Wang Yuma smiles at Jiang Chen and wishes him a good time at the party. Jiang Chen enters a spacious hall where an auction is already in full swing and many people have gathered. The presenter shows off a limited edition watch and announces the starting price at 15 million. The bearded auctioneer shouts loudly and raises his hand, announcing the start of the bidding. Jiang Chen speculates that in a couple of years the price of this watch will rise to 25 million. Jiang Chen picks up the number 35 and places a bid, wondering why no one is bidding on the 10 million lot. Another participant raises a sign with the number 8 on it, and the host loudly announces that the gentleman is raising the bet. The guests standing nearby are surprised to discuss who this gentleman number 35 is, who is so persistently bargaining for the watch. The presenter bangs his hammer with a loud shout and announces that the watch has sold for 18 million. A fair-haired guy named Wang Zheng approaches Jiang Chen and asks to meet him, and next to him stands his friend Xin Chen. Wang Zheng smiles and remarks that since Jiang Chen bought a watch, it means he is interested in collecting. Jiang Chen tells Wang Zheng that he is not particularly interested in the watch, but bought it for the novelty and the first purchase. Wang Zheng, saying that he spends 18 million in a big way, asks why they haven't met before. Wang Zheng is surprised to learn that Jiang Chen is only 18 and admires the fact that he himself would not have dared to do such a thing at his age. Wang Zheng puts a friendly arm around Jiang Chen's shoulders and suggests that they have some fun together. Jiang Chen says goodbye to Wang Zheng and, looking at the system interface, mentally calculates his future monthly income. Jiang Chen climbs the marble stairs and realizes that for ordinary people this is a lot, but for his purposes it is not enough. Jiang Chen sees Yu Xiaoxiu next to him, and his thoughts are interrupted by a surprised cry. Yu Xiaoxiu stands in an elegant beige dress and whispers to herself that the evening has arrived. Jiang Chen touches Yu Xiaoxiu with a smile and says that it was a wonderful night with a beautiful companion. Jiang Chen hugs Yu Xiaoxiu around the waist and tells her that he has ordered a mansion with a garden in this place for their meeting. Yu Xiaoxiu looks at Jiang Chen with mischief and says that they know how to drink, but this time he needs to show better. Suddenly, Yu Xiaoxiu's ex-fiancé, Zhang Yu, appears and yells at her to stop. Zhang Yu grabs Yu Xiaoxiu's hand and insists that their engagement has already taken place and they should get married. Zhang Yu rudely tells Yu Xiaoxiu that she is obliged to marry him since they are engaged. Yu Xiaoxiu coldly moves away from Zhang Yu and says that he doesn't love her and that he'd better look for other mistresses. Jiang Chen touches his neck and asks the system with a grin if it's joking when it takes him for a doll. Jiang Chen abruptly pushes Zhang Yu away, declaring that she cannot stand men like him. Jiang Chen delivers a powerful blow to Zhang Yu, causing him to fall to the floor, while Yu Xiaoxiu, who is standing nearby, is surprised. Jiang Chen places his foot on the fallen Zhang Yu, and Yu Xiaoxiu looks at him with admiration, seeing a new level of favor. Zhang Yu screams for help to the security guards, and the hotel staff tries to calm Jiang Chen and ask him to resolve the situation peacefully. Zhang Yu hysterically screams at the security guards, demanding that they call the police and fire everyone involved, since he is a rich client. Jiang Chen calms Yu Xiaoxiu down by explaining that if he calls the police, she will say that Zhang Yu was the one holding her back and that he only helped her. Zhang Yu, knife in hand, rushes at the people in the hall with a wild cry, threatening to deal with anyone. A man in uniform runs out with a knife and shouts about problems, threatening to kill anyone who does not tell him the truth. A distraught man with a knife issues an ultimatum, and a frightened Zhang Yu sits down on the floor in fear. Zhang Yu is scared to death and does not dare to give up the man who is looking for someone. Jiang Chen looked thoughtfully at the system interface, checking his acquired skills and daily limit. Jiang Chen, with a determined face, promises himself to do everything possible for the safety of others. Jiang Chen points his finger at the blue virtual screen and activates the useful skill the system gave him. Jiang Chen closes his eyes, and a bright inscription appears above him about his abilities being strengthened threefold. Jiang Chen stood still, feeling the incredible power from the skill's activation. Jiang Chen makes a swift acrobatic leap, dodging the knife held by the attacking man. Jiang Chen delivers a crushing punch straight into the knife-wielding opponent's face, causing him to stumble back. Jiang Chen kicks the attacker, causing him to fall to the marble floor, while the guests standing nearby look on in amazement. Yu Xiaoxiu looks at Jiang Chen and thinks that he is not only rich, but also has incredible strength. Zhang Yu, kneeling and touching his bloody cheek, cursed in rage and helplessness as he looked at Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen ignores the fallen Zhang Yu and calmly stretches his wrists, waiting for the guards to take further action. The spectators standing around watch Jiang Chen and note that he knocked out his opponent in just a couple of seconds, calling him very brave. The police officer warmly shakes Jiang Chen's hand and thanks him for his courage and timely intervention that prevented chaos. Zheng Yu, standing next to the police officer, screams hysterically and tries to slander Jiang Chen, claiming that he tried to beat him. The policeman looks sternly at Zheng Yu and asks if he is telling the truth about Jiang Chen attacking him. Yu Xiaoxiu immediately steps forward and loudly tells the police officer that Zhang Yu is lying and is actually a liar. Jiang Chen chuckled and noted that Yu Xiaoxiu's favorability had risen to 90%, and she was truly in love with him. Jiang Chen hugs Yu Xiaoxiu's shoulders and comforts her, promising that as long as he is around, no one will harm her. The police officer tries to hush up the conflict, but Zhang Yu demands to check the CCTV footage. Jiang Chen looked at Zhang Yu with icy calm and mentally decided to activate the system failure card against him. Suddenly a holographic inscription appears, and he himself stands surrounded by blue stripes, unaware of what is happening. Zheng Yu receives a call and hears that 200,000 has been debited from his bank account, so he sends someone to deal with it. The employee reports that his white car crashed into a tree and was seriously damaged, and he exclaims in despair. Zheng Yu runs through the hotel lobby in a panic, ignoring the staff's attempts to help and screams to be left alone. Jiang Chen, seeing that Zhang Yu has run away, smiles and tells Yu Xiaoxiu that the boomerang has returned and it is time for them to leave. A few minutes later, Yu Xiaoxiu checks Jiang Chen's chest as he sits on the ottoman and asks if he is injured. Jiang Chen, looking at Yu Xiaoxiu, proudly declares that a worthless person like Zhang Yu is not capable of injuring him. Yu Xiaoxiu, despite his words, continues to insist on checking his condition. Yu Xiaoxiu, with her back to him, asks if he despises her for being such a worthless groom. Yu Xiaoxiu explains to him that she had to get engaged to Zhang Yu because of her grandfather's illness, but she had already seen through his duplicity. Yu Xiaoxiu asks if he is sure he wants to stay in this relationship with her, realizing that he is her first man. Jiang Chen's hand touches the thigh of Yu Xiaoxiu, who is wearing a light blouse and a dark skirt. Jiang Chen, sitting on the bed, calmly tells Yu Xiaoxiu to relax and promises to treat her well. Yu Xiaoxiu, with a slight blush on his cheeks, sighed thoughtfully as he looked at Jiang Chen. Two hotel maids are cleaning a room and whispering about how active today's youth are in bed. The second maid, smiling, notes that the look of the sheets shows how comfortable the girl was and envies the handsome guy. Jiang Chen and Yu Xiaoxiu are sitting at a table in a cozy cafe with large windows, quietly enjoying their lunch. On Jiang Chen's phone screen, a post was opened with a photo of the gold watch he had given his boss for his coming of age. Jiang Chen, holding a drink and a phone in his hand, asks Yu Xiaoxiu for permission to take a photo with her as a souvenir. Yu Xiaoxiu asks if it's his birthday today, to which Jiang Chen replies that he wants to show off her legs on social media. Yu Xiaoxiu, sitting on a bench, coquettishly throws her legs up on the table, showing off her figure in a tight skirt and shoes. A close-up is shown of Yu Xiaoxiu's legs in light-colored stockings, which she takes off her shoes with a chuck sound. Yu Xiaoxiu's stockinged foot playfully steps on a piece of bread lying on the floor. Jiang Chen noted to himself that he wasn't 18 yet, but this girl looked like a supercar. Jiang Chen's phone contains a collage gallery of racy photos of Yu Xiaoxiu's legs in stockings and her face. A guy with glasses looks at Jiang Chen's feed and complains to his friends that such a birthday gift from a beauty is simply unbelievable. Jiang Chen walks into the spacious car showroom and is greeted politely by the sales assistant, offering her assistance. Jiang Chen asks to see the cars available, and the saleswoman agrees to take him to the cars. There is a girl named Su Wan standing in the salon, and next to her is a man who promises to buy her the car she likes. Director Huang insists on buying a car for Su Wan, but Su Wan states that his opinion is intrusive and her voice is not that important. Jiang Chen watches from the sidelines, cars parked, and is surprised at how he came to look at the cars and ended up witnessing a showdown. Su Wan, wearing a red cloak, kneels at the edge of the pool, adjusting her hair, looking very attractive. Director Huang persistently grabs Su Wan's hand and offers to buy a car and have a drink, but Su Wan refuses, citing a meeting. Director Huan declares that if she does not join him, her investment will fail and demands her obedience. Su Wan, looking at Director Huang with a determined expression, repeated that she would not obey him regardless of his investment. Jiang Chen stands in front of a car dealership, looking at the system's holographic interface, which announces the launch of a special mission. Jiang Chen studies the details of the mission, which requires helping Su Wan get out of the situation and get her consent to sign the contract. The dealership employee explains that in order to purchase a car, it is necessary to prove financial solvency. Jiang Chen asks the saleswoman with a slight smile if this means he doesn't have the right to buy. The saleswoman, after hesitating for a few seconds, replies that if Jiang Chen has a license, there will be no problem purchasing the car. Jiang Chen agrees to the saleswoman's terms for a slightly larger advance payment and declares that he will pay the full price of the car. The salon employee, shocked, asks again Effie full, mentally wondering if Jiang Chen understands how much this car costs. Director Huan looks at the young man with suspicion and wonders who this impudent fellow is who acts so self-confidently. Suwan notes that even Director Huang doesn't pay the full amount and wonders if this guy has decided to outsmart everyone. The employee informs Jiang Chen that the base price for this model with customization starts at 45 million. Jiang Chen calmly tells the saleswoman that he knows about this and completely agrees with the price. Wang Zheng and his friend walk into the showroom and Wang Zheng waves at Jiang Chen, surprised that he decided to buy a new Ferrari. Jiang Chen explains to Wang Zheng that he just got to Moda and decided to buy himself a car, as he is not used to being without one. Wang Zheng mockingly remarks that calling it buying sounds somehow pretentious and unnatural. Wang Zheng proudly informs him that Jiang Chen spent 18 million on a watch at yesterday's auction. Jiang Chen stands with a smug smile, his hands in his pockets, waiting for further developments. The man in the suit, noticing the expensive watch on Jiang Chen's wrist, is mentally amazed at how rich he is. The man assures that with such a watch, checking finances is just a formality, and he will issue the documents for him. Su Wan looks at Jiang Chen with admiring respect, realizing that his fortune is clearly in the hundreds of millions. Director Huang, with a persistent smile, suggests that Su Wan go out for a drink and have fun instead of choosing a car. Director Huang threateningly reminds Su Wan that if she delays, it will end badly for her, and advises her not to pretend. Su Wan, hearing Jiang Chen calling her name, turns around and asks in surprise who is calling her. Jiang Chen approaches Su Wan and tells her that he heard how her negotiations with the investor fell through and offers to take charge. Su Wan asks again if Jiang Chen is really going to invest in her, mentally realizing that he is richer than Director Huang. Jiang Chen invites Su Wan to discuss investment details the next day, and she agrees and asks to add him on Messenger. Jiang Chen and Su Wan exchange contacts by scanning QR codes on each other's phones. Jiang Chen asks the man in the suit when he can get his car, and he replies that the earliest he can get it is about a year. Jiang Chen, hearing about a year of waiting, said with surprise and a slight drop of sweat that it was too long. Wang Zheng puts a friendly arm around Jiang Chen's shoulders and invites him to go to the auto show together in 2 days so he can pick up the car right away. Yu Xiaoxiu sits at a table in an elegant white dress and happily waves her hand to greet Jiang Chen as he appears. Yu Xiaoxiu tells Jiang Chen that they serve a specialty dish called crab noodles and that it's a must-try. On the table in front of them are various delicious dishes, including fried fish and duck with onions made according to a special recipe. Jiang Chen leans towards Yu Xiaoxiu's ear and whispers intimately that he wants her. Yu Xiaoxiu blushes embarrassedly and asks Jiang Chen to let her rest for a while, remembering that he was just great yesterday. Jiang Chen nods in agreement and sets the condition that Yu Xiaoxiu must then give him a nice nickname. Yu Xiaoxiu gently presses her cheek against Jiang Chen, and he replies that he likes it. Jiang Chen strikes up a conversation with Yu Xiaoxiu and asks if she knows the actress Su Wan. Yu Xiaoxiu, with a hint of jealousy in his eyes, asks Jiang Chen if he likes Su Wan. Jiang Chen evasively tells Yu Xiaoxiu that he can't say he likes her, but he thinks she has potential. Yu Xiaoxiu says that Su Wan does have potential for development, even though she is not given enough attention. Yu Xiaoxiu, looking at Jiang Chen, generously offers his help if he wants to help Su Wan. Jiang Chen strokes Yu Xiaoxiu's head and reassures her, explaining that he doesn't need her to worry because he will treat her well. Jiang Chen confesses to Yu Xiaoxiu that he really intends to invest in Su Wan's company and sign a contract with her. Jiang Chen explains to Yu Xiaoxiu that in order to sign the contract, he will have to set up his own company and pay a penalty. Yu Xiaoxiu tells Jiang Chen that he does not want to take over the shares, but would rather just get a good position and salary. Yu Xiaoxiu sits at the table opposite Jiang Chen and tells him not to quarrel, calling himself a klutz. Jiang Chen sits at the table with a surprised look when Yu Xiaoxiu's white-gloved hand gently touches his cheek. Yu Xiaoxiu confesses to him that only with him did she understand the joy of life and feel truly happy. Yu Xiaoxiu, standing behind Jiang Chen and lightly touching him, shyly asks him what time and where they will meet tomorrow. Jiang Chen, with a slight satisfied smile, notes to himself that Yu Xiaoxiu seems shy. The next day, Su Wan meets Jiang Chen at his bright yellow sports car and greets him. Jiang Chen, driving, asks Su Wan where they are going, and she replies that they need to go to the Baruz Hotel in Lujiazui. At the cafe, Jiang Chen sits down across from Su Wan and asks if the drama she was going to star in required a large investment. Jiang Chen, losing interest in the project, skeptically asks Su Wan what quality can be expected from a drama made for 5 million. Su Wan insists that her drama has great potential and invites Jiang Chen to look at the script. Jiang Chen says he's only willing to invest, and she asks again if he'd like to look at the script. Jiang Chen takes out his phone and tells Su Wan that he can transfer the money right now, but she is surprised by such generosity at their second meeting. Jiang Chen smiles and sets a condition for Su Wan: she must become the representative of his future company. Suwon looks away and tells Jiang Chen that she is not a naive girl and understands that people do not help each other without reason. Suwon asks Jiang Chen if he has his own company, and he replies that he doesn't have one yet, but he will if she agrees. Jiang Chen assures Suwon that if she signs the contract, he will take care of all the penalties and ensure her the company's attention. Jiang Chen notices a system notification appear above Suwon, and she realizes that the investment has special conditions. Jiang Chen reassures Suwon that she doesn't have to worry about having inappropriate contact with people other than her former boss. Suwon asks if there are any agencies left that don't require deposits, and if he can call him Boss Jiang. Jiang Chen corrects Suwon, saying that it is better to call him brother rather than boss, and when asked about his age, he answers that he is 20 years old. Suwon is surprised to notice that Jiang Chen is only 20 years old, even though he was talking about going to university. Jiang Chen smiles relaxedly and admits to Suwon that at first he thought she meant something else, not age. Suwon eats with relish and offers to pay for the meal, thanking Jiang Chen for his help and advising him to work hard for his career. While Suwon is eating, Jiang Chen sees a system notification in front of him about receiving a valuable reward for his sudden wealth. Jiang Chen decides to send the data to his parents so that they will get used to his wealth in advance and will not have to explain anything later. Jiang Chen picks up the phone and hears from his father that he has an excellent nose for investments and the company has become big. Jiang Chen's father advises his son over the phone to remain humble and cautious because this is just the beginning. Jiang Chen promises his father that he will be careful and asks if they should bring back some souvenirs from their trip. Jiang Chen invites Suwon to go for a short walk after lunch and she asks where they can go. Suwon wipes her mouth with a napkin and says that now that they have eaten, they can go for a walk, and she agrees to go to the shopping mall. Suwon thinks they are going to an ordinary store, but notices that the entrance fee starts at 200,000 and realizes how rich people walk around. Upon entering the room, Suwon and Jiang Chen see a familiar woman, and she is surprised to notice that she has come to the watch exhibition. Suwon stands with his arms crossed and thinks to himself that it is too early to call him a boss, but only a friend. Investor Wang Hai, in the company of a woman named Lin Hu, claims that beauty, wealth, and background are important in show business. Wang Hai looks at Lin Hu and asks if she knows Suwon, and Lin Hu replies that they acted together in a drama. Wang Hai, holding out his business card, offers Suwon cooperation and says that he can help her act in films. Lin Hu thinks to herself that she and Suwon are on completely different levels since her roles were obtained thanks to investors. Suwon refuses Wang Hai's offer, telling him that she won't bother him, and he chuckles as he bids her farewell. Jiang Chen and Suwon approach a display case with watches, and a consultant informs them that the desired models are in stock or available for pre-order. Jiang Chen says he needs to pick out a gift for his mother and asks if there are any women's watches starting from 500,000. Lin Hu, standing at the display case, was shocked that Jiang Chen called the watch Wang Hai was looking at cheap. Suwon fell silent when Jiang Chen addressed her, saying that even she, a supporting actress, rarely encountered such situations. Jiang Chen approaches Suwon and asks her if she likes something, and she replies that she doesn't. Jiang Chen is given the task of giving Suwon a women's watch, and he thinks he was already planning to do this to strengthen their relationship. Suwon proudly refuses the gift, telling Jiang Chen that she will buy them herself when she earns money. Lin Hu believes that Jiang Chen and Suwon are just pretending to be rich for the sake of acting, and is sure that few people can afford such a watch. The consultant brings several models of watches and offers to help Jiang Chen try them on. The consultant compliments the watch when it is placed on Jiang Chen's wrist, noting that it looks very good on him. Jiang Chen shows the watch he tried on to Suwon and asks her what she thinks, to which she replies that it suits him. Jiang Chen says the watch fits loosely, and Suwon readily helps him tighten the strap. Suwon wonders if she's thinking too much since he's only 18 and already flirting with her. Jiang Chen gets up from the sofa and confidently orders the consultant to pack both models of watches. The consultant, shocked, asks Jiang Chen again if he wants to buy both models at once. Wang Hai and Lin Hu watch the purchase with surprise and think that having two models at once is real luxury. Jiang Chen asks Suwon to help him choose a watch as a gift for his mother while sitting next to her on the sofa. The consultant shows Jiang Chen a diamond-studded watch and comments that the model is suitable for his companion. Jiang Chen asks Suwon to try on the watch he likes so he can judge how it looks on her. Suwon agrees that the chosen watch is much better than the previous version, and Lin Hu. Jiang Chen calmly hands the card to the consultant and says that he is buying 4 pairs of watches at once. Suwon carefully fastens the watch on her wrist, preparing to try on the gift. Jiang Chen's hand gently touches Suwon's as he asks her not to take off her watch, explaining that it is a gift. Suwon shyly refuses the gift, telling Jiang Chen that it is too expensive and she cannot accept it. Jiang Chen smiles at Suwon, insisting that it is just a small gift and cannot be returned. Jiang Chen offers to give both models to her aunt if she doesn't like them, but she agrees to accept them as gifts. Jiang Chen asks Su Wan with a slight smile if she would like to please him by accepting this gift. Su Wan decides that it would be strange for the boss to refuse, and smiling, thanks the generous boss for the gift. The consultant hands Jiang Chen a check, and Jiang Chen casually replies that it's nothing. Lin Hu doesn't understand where she gets the money for such an expensive watch because her own watch is much cheaper. Lin Hu approaches Wang Hai about gifts, but he coldly replies that she is not entitled to any. Wang Hai mentally regrets that he wanted to buy Lin Hu a watch and take her to the hotel, but his plans were thwarted by what happened. The consultant asks Lin Hu if she would like to buy a watch, but she abruptly replies that she will do it next time. A holographic notification appears above Jiang Chen's head, informing him that he has completed the task and won a random reward. Jiang Chen presses the button and activates a triple cashback on the amount credited to his card. Jiang Chen and Su Wan go into a bag store and he asks her what kind of bag she likes, but she modestly declines. Jiang Chen asks the saleswoman about fashionable styles, and she shows him two of the season's most popular bags. Jiang Chen snaps his fingers and confidently declares that he is ready to pay for everything by card. The saleswoman informs Jiang Chen that his purchase of 120,000 yuan entitles him to become a member of the club with special conditions. Su Wan looks at Jiang Chen with admiration and thinks about how generous he is and how cool he is. Sitting in the car, Su Wan invites Jiang Chen to come over for a drink, but he asks with a slight smile if she just wants water. Jiang Chen jokes with Su Wan that guys need to be careful of some girls who might get drunk and take advantage of the situation. Jiang Chen turns the conversation into a joke and advises Su Wan to go to bed early, and she waves goodbye to him. Su Wan stands at the entrance and thinks with a smile that Jiang Chen did not invite her to bed and considers him a good person. Su Wan lies on the bed with her legs up. Jiang Chen sits behind the wheel and happily notices that everything is happening at the perfect time. Jiang Chen, standing by the pool, tells Wang Yumi that he wants to swim first and light incense before taking a bath. Wang Yuma thinks about how long she has been working in this area and how customers like Jiang Chen rarely go out unless necessary. A close-up shows Wang Yuma's thoughtful gaze as she looks at Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen, leaning on the edge of the pool, asks Wang Yumu if there is anything special and expensive on the hotel menu. Wang Yuma squats down and tells Jiang Chen that the hotel serves haute cuisine. On the table in front of Jiang Chen, exquisite dishes are displayed, including white truffle and Italian-style bream. Jiang Chen fishes a golden fish out of the water and remembers that such a trophy is worth several million. Jiang Chen, standing on the wooden floor in a white robe, asks Wang Yumu to give him a massage. Wang Yuma agrees and tells Jiang Chen that he needs to go up to his room for a massage. Wang Yuma, wearing a gray jacket, is reclining on the bed next to Jiang Chen, adjusting her clothes. Wang Yuma straddled him, preparing to begin the massage. Wang Yuma pours fragrant oil into her palm in preparation for Jiang Chen's massage. Jiang Chen, lying face down on the bed, is surprised to think that he will be offered an aroma massage and expects it to be given by an ordinary girl. Wang Yuma, with a mysterious smile, tells Jiang Chen that the hotel offers special spa services and asks him to close his eyes and relax. Wang Yuma, standing over Jiang Chen on the bed, actively performs the massage procedure, and her actions are accompanied by a characteristic sound. Jiang Chen, lying on his stomach, receives an intense massage from Wang Yuma, which gives him noticeable pleasure. Wang Yuma, with her hair down and sitting on top of Jiang Chen, continues the session, actively moving in time with the massage. A close-up is shown of Wang Yuma massaging Jiang Chen's chest and shoulder area while lying on top of him. Jiang Chen, with a slight blush on his face, thought about the special favors, wondering if he was imagining things too much. Jiang Chen sits on the bed and puts on dark pajamas, and Wang Yuma, standing at the door, tells him that a car will be sent for him tomorrow. Jiang Chen walks through the exhibition hall. The guy thinks that since Chen can't come, the food won't be great. Jiang Chen looks at the people passing by and notices that the most expensive car at the exhibition costs only 2 million yuan. Jiang Chen notices his old classmates among the visitors, including Chen Qian, Zhou Lin, and Chen Zhujiang. Jiang Chen sees one of his classmates taking pictures of model Zhou Lin on his phone and realizes that she is a model working here. Zhou Lin poses on the catwalk in a luxurious burgundy dress with a long slit and black boots, attracting the attention of the audience. The guy asks when her workday ends and promises to pick her up, and the girl standing next to him comments on the situation with envy. Zhou Lin doesn't listen to the intrusive guy, looks away and remains silent. Jiang Chen notices that almost all of his classmates have gathered at the exhibition, and his former friend happily greets him. One of his classmates approaches Jiang Chen, asking why he didn't tell him that he was going to come to this event. The guy in the blue t-shirt felt uneasy thinking that Jiang Chen was deliberately not invited to go on the trip with them this time. The guy with green hair points his fingers at the guy in the blue t-shirt so that he asks him something. A red-haired girl approaches Jiang Chen and reproachfully asks why he hasn't been in touch for a long time and has become so attractive. The green-haired guy hugs Jiang Chen's shoulder and smiles, noting that he's still the same, but looks cuter. The red-haired girl tells Jiang Chen that they can't afford what he allows since Zhou Lin is now the show's main model. The system interface displays her status to Jiang Chen, surprising him with the number of partners. Jiang Chen touches his chin thoughtfully, not understanding why Zhou Lin has such a high level of favor towards him. A guy approaches Jiang Chen and asks him in a friendly manner what he is doing at this exhibition. Jiang Chen hugs the green-haired guy and tells him to take care of himself, and he in turn accuses him of going crazy. Jiang Chen waves at Zhou Lin and remarks that she has become much more beautiful in recent days. Zhou Lin, standing on the podium, notices Jiang Chen and invites him to come closer and look at the cars. A classmate in a blue t-shirt skeptically asks Jiang Chen if he is going to buy such expensive cars. Jiang Chen explains that this is the latest Ferrari model with all-wheel drive and is priced between 5 and 8 million yuan. A classmate smirks and remarks that Jiang Chen definitely came to the exhibition specifically for the car. Zhou Lin, standing by the car, moves away from the persistent guy and says that she is at work and suggests talking later. The guy mentally vows not to let Jiang Chen embarrass him in front of Zhou Lin and tries to hint to her that he also came for the car. Zhou Lin turns away sheepishly and says that he doesn't know much about cars and advises him to ask the salesperson. The boy, confused, turns to Jiang Chen, reminding him that they are classmates, and asks him to explain to Zhou Lin that the car is worth it. Jiang Chen tells his classmate with a slight smile that if he buys a car, he will get the model as a gift. Zhou Lin approaches Jiang Chen and ironically remarks that he has a sharp tongue, to which he seriously replies that he is quite serious. Jiang Chen and his classmate stand in the exhibition hall, discussing cars. Zhou Lin's boss approaches her and scolds her for talking at work, threatening to fire her, and she apologizes guiltily. The guy in the blue t-shirt continues to insist, advising Jiang Chen to stop provoking him and choose a car quickly. Jiang Chen tells his classmates that the price and type of car are not that important, and he wants to know if they give a model as a gift with the purchase. The man in the suit, noticing the expensive watch on Jiang Chen's hand, is shocked. Jiang Chen takes out a black payment card and says that since that's the case, he will pay the full amount with the card. The purple-haired girl with glasses looks at Jiang Chen in shock and cannot utter a word. The green-haired boy looks at Jiang Chen and asks his classmates if he is really that cool. Jiang Chen calmly explains that the price of this car without any equipment is more than 5 million. The girl with red ponytails clasps her hands to her chest and thinks with trepidation that Jiang Chen might lay out 8 million at once. A classmate in a blue t-shirt asks Jiang Chen not to disturb Zhou Lin as she is at work. Jiang Chen tells his classmate with a grin that he will buy a car just for her sake, and it will not hurt anyone. The man in the suit confirms to Jiang Chen that if he buys the car, the commission will go to Zhou Lin. Jiang Chen reminds the seller that they agreed to include the model as a gift. Chen Zhujiang looks at Jiang Chen and mentally curses him for continuing to bully Zhou Lin. Jiang Chen decides to pay for the purchase in full and asks the seller if the car is available so he can drive it right away. Jiang Chen enters his car details into the mobile app and sees a bank notification on the screen, payment successful. The man informs Jiang Chen that the payment has been successful, while Zhou Lin, standing nearby, watches the proceedings. Chen Zhujiang admits to himself with disappointment and anger that Jiang Chen actually had enough money for this purchase. The green-haired guy remarks that Jiang Chen turned out to be a second-generation rich man, and the girl asks Jiang Chen to take her for a ride in a Ferrari. The girl, adjusting her glasses, notices that since Jiang Chen bought the car for Zhou Lin, there are only 2 seats in the car. The girl in the pink dress defiantly declares that she can sit in the passenger seat, and Zhou Lin has plenty of others willing to give her a ride. Jiang Chen ponders why Shuya's favorability level continues to rise steadily even though he does essentially nothing. Zhou Lin, standing next to Jiang Chen, remarks ironically that the car wouldn't be so attractive without her inside. The girl approaches him, saying that she heard about his breakup with Zhao Li and promises that Zhou Lin will soon get rid of his self-confidence. Zhou Lin looks at her rival in surprise and thinks that she didn't know that Jiang Chen broke up because he seemed so happy. Jiang Chen states that his relationship with Zhao Li is no one's business and adds that Zhou Lin is incredibly beautiful. Chen Zhujiang points at Jiang Chen's watch with irritation and says that he pretended to be poor in school. Jiang Chen straightens his tie and explains that he just did well on his exams and received a gift, so why not take advantage of it? Chen Zhujiang looks at his watch and decides that it is already late and suggests stopping by a restaurant and then starting the inspection. A girl in a pink dress approaches Jiang Chen and invites him to eat and go for a walk with them. Jiang Chen declines the offer, citing that he has an appointment and suggests calling when he has time. The girl agrees to Jiang Chen's proposal, says that they have come to an agreement, and is glad that they will cross paths again. Jiang Chen tells Zhou Lin that since she is busy, he will look into other car options, and she thanks him for his help. Jiang Chen smiles and tells Zhou Lin that they are classmates, and she doesn't need to thank him. Jiang Chen approaches the car and is caught by a female salesperson who asks if he would like to see the model. The girl tells Jiang Chen that this model is designed for women and is also equipped with the latest safety systems. Inside the red car, Jiang Chen tenderly kisses Zhou Lin, and the consultant comments that the car is perfect for her. Jiang Chen touches his chin thoughtfully and ponders over choosing a new red car for Zhou Lin. Jiang Chen asks the consultant how much the model he likes costs, and she replies that it comes fully equipped. The consultant offers him 3 years of free service if he decides to buy the car, and he agrees to pay for it by card without hesitation. Jiang Chen asks if there will be any problems with the official handover of the car, and she assures him that everything will be done according to the rules. Jiang Chen says that he is taking the car as a gift and asks to send the recipient's address, and she promises to do everything as quickly as possible. The girl addresses the audience and says that this color is very rare, and she is sure that no girl will be able to refuse him. Jiang Chen replies that he likes the color yellow, but if he gives her a car of that color, the girl will squeal with delight. The girl points out that Jiang Chen has his eye on the car and asks her followers to like it to invite him for an interview. A female consultant approaches a streamer and asks if she is buying a car or just watching. The streamer sheepishly replies that she is just watching. The consultant coldly asks the streamer to prove her solvency if she doesn't intend to buy. The streamer indignantly points at Jiang Chen and asks why he doesn't need confirmation, since he's just watching too. A close-up of the streamer's phone screen is shown with the broadcast and comments from viewers. Zhou Lin stands leaning against the hood of the white car, thinking about how Jiang Chen spent 20 million in just half an hour. Zhou Lin admits that even if her family had the same fortune as before, she would not have been able to manage money the way Jiang Chen did. 2 hours pass, and Jiang Chen stretches happily, realizing that all the formalities are completed and the car is heading to Zhou Lin. A man in a suit hands Jiang Chen the keys to a Ferrari and asks how he wants the license plates designed. Jiang Chen sees a notification on the system interface that the license plates have already been reserved for him. The man in the suit hands over an envelope containing documents and informs Jiang Chen that his license plates are ready. The license plate reads Jiang Chen's initials, and the consultant is surprised by his attentiveness. The man in the suit touches his chin thoughtfully, contemplating how much Jiang Chen knows about his privileges. Jiang Chen, placing his hand on the shoulder of the man in the suit, confidently declares that he has already booked a room and does not need his advice. The man in the suit, realizing his mistake, apologizes to Jiang Chen and says that he takes his hat off to him. The salon employee bowed deeply and informed Jiang Chen that the car installation was complete. The man looks at how respectfully Jiang Chen is served and suspects that he comes from a very wealthy family. Zhou Lin carefully straightens her hair and thanks Jiang Chen for the day they spent together. Zhou Lin tells Jiang Chen that she is finishing work soon and asks if he would like to have dinner with her if the time is right. Jiang Chen prepares to answer Zhou Lin with a slight smile, but suddenly hears his phone ring loudly. Jiang Chen picks up the phone and says with surprise, answering the unexpected call. Chen Zhujiang shouts into the phone to Jiang Chen that he is left without a girlfriend and threatens to jump off a bridge if he does not join him. Jiang Chen, hearing Chen Zhujiang's threats, exclaims in shock, and Zhou Lin, who was standing next to him, looks at him in surprise. Jiang Chen explains that Chen Zhujiang seems to have broken up with his girlfriend and needs to support his friend, so he reschedules the meeting. Zhou Lin agrees to reschedule the meeting for another day, and Jiang Chen promises to deal with Chen Zhujiang's affairs. Jiang Chen walks into a bar and sees Chen Zhujiang drinking alone, who asks him defiantly if he is planning to run away. Chen Zhujiang, holding a glass of beer, complains to Jiang Chen that he is just a backup plan, and it hurts like hell. Chen Zhujiang explains that the girl invited him to go out, but when Li Xuan went to the toilet, she immediately ran after him. Jiang Chen, with noticeable irritation, asks Chen Zhujiang to get to the heart of the matter. Chen Zhujiang tells Jiang Chen that he decided to follow them and saw them hugging and slams his mug on the table. Jiang Chen reasonably points out to Chen Zhujiang that they haven't even met, so what's the point of all this talk about breaking up? Chen Zhujiang replies that since Shuya is already like this, then she should jump after Li Xuan and asks if Jiang Chen knows anything else. Jiang Chen explains that friends often say that Shuya's personal life is a complete mess, and he just didn't notice it before. Chen Zhujiang, drunk and red-faced, tells Jiang Chen that he used to be stupid, but now everything has changed, and offers him a drink. An hour passes. Jiang Chen helps Chen Zhujiang into a taxi and asks if he can get to the hotel on his own. Jiang Chen, left alone on the night street, thoughtfully looks at his phone and decides that he urgently needs to call a driver. Jiang Chen leans on the car and says that it is her boyfriend's car and it is better to move away so as not to pay. Jiang Chen, noticing the car, watches a girl in a short skirt approach him, and her behavior seems suspicious to him. The girl says that it must be because she looks so much like her boyfriend, to which Jiang Chen remarks that she doesn't look like his girlfriend at all. The girl smiles and tells Jiang Chen that he has a great sense of humor and asks if he can drive a car with one hand. The girl licks her lips, admits that she is smart and knows how to play PUBG, and invites him to join. Jiang Chen coldly pulls away and says that he only plays Honor of Kings. At this moment, streamer Xiao Mei approaches Jiang Chen with a phone on a tripod and asks if he was the one who called the driver. Xiao Mei, surprised, says that her name is Xiao Min and that she is his driver, and remarks that they look familiar. Jiang Chen looks at the streamer's camera with a slight smile and says that his photos are expensive. Xiao Mei, realizing that she was filming Jiang Chen without permission, quickly turns the camera around and apologizes for forgetting to ask. Jiang Chen replies that his job is to drive and broadcast, and he doesn't care if she films his car for the broadcast. Xiao Mei tells viewers that she saw a Ferrari, the fastest production car. Xiao Mei looks at the car, attracting the attention of onlookers who wonder who this mysterious rich man is. The persistent girl approaches Jiang Chen again and declares that she can also be his driver, and completely free of charge. Jiang Chen gestures to her and replies that there is no such thing as a free lunch and declines her offer. Jiang Chen, standing by the car, skeptically asks Xiao Mei if she knows how to drive sports cars. Xiao Mei assures him that she used to race a lot of sports cars and was a car enthusiast, so he has nothing to worry about. Xiao Mei asks if she can broadcast while driving, and he says he doesn't care, but he does want to know what she does for a living. Jiang Chen and Xiao Mei set off, and she nods in agreement. Xiao Mei looks in the rearview mirror and tells the audience that she didn't think it would be a Ferrari driving day. Jiang Chen looks at the streamer's profile. He would think that she is an approachable person. Jiang Chen checks Xiao Mei's page on her phone and notices that she has good popularity, but the donations are too low. Jiang Chen sees on the screen that Xiao Mei's popularity has increased by over 8,000 in a week, but there are only about 300 donations. Jiang Chen advises Xiao Mei to focus on her job as a driver, as it pays better than broadcasting. Xiao Mei explains to Jiang Chen that she doesn't know how to deal with influential people, but sometimes gives them rides by showing them fashion. Jiang Chen asks Xiao Mei why the salon manager was so kind to him and didn't ask for proof of solvency. Xiao Mei is shocked and asks Jiang Chen again if he bought this car today and looks at him in surprise. Jiang Chen drives a sports car at high speed on the track, enjoying the feeling of control. Jiang Chen gives the car keys to Xiao Mei and says that he didn't expect her to drive so well and will order her again next time. Xiao Mei thanks Jiang Chen for his confession with a smile and blushes in embarrassment. Jiang Chen looks at Xiao Mei and asks what kind of broadcasts she usually watches, and is told that she watches beauties. Xiao Mei folds her hands in a pleading manner and asks Jiang Chen to consider her a beauty and support her to raise her rating. Jiang Chen looks at his phone and tells Xiao Mei that her account is whitelisted and he needs to check her details. Xiao Mei, with a blush on her cheeks, coquettishly points her finger at her chest and suggests to Jiang Chen that he invite her to drink some water. Jiang Chen says that if she wants to increase her rating and use it, then he is interested in what kind of water she wants. Xiao Mei thinks about what will happen if they continue, and a close-up of their kiss is shown on the screen. Xiao Mei, deeply embarrassed, her tongue hanging out and beads of sweat on her face, realizes she only has two options and makes a confused sound. Jiang Chen says that the water in the hotel is not very clean, and next time he should invite her for milk tea. Xiao Mei, with resentment, states that Jiang Chen did not even add her to the messenger and simply seduced her, and then suddenly changed his mind. Xiao Mei says goodbye, and he looks at his favorability meter, thinking that next time he can invite her for noodles. Jiang Chen understands that, if he is going to enter the University of Fashion, he needs to prepare for such events in advance. Wang Yuma says she has invited friends, and the chef is already preparing high-end dishes, including Chinese bahaba and white truffle. Wang Yuma explains that a medium-sized Chinese bahaba costs around $1 million each and asks if he is prepared to pay that kind of expense. Jiang Chen thinks that if he orders a lot, it will look too rich and it might not be cool. Jiang Chen, crossing his arms and smiling, tells Wang Yume to decide for herself. Chen Hui and his friends enter the hall and are surprised to notice that there are 2 bahabs on the table. This is too generous on the part of Jiang Chen. Chen Hui states that 2 fish are equivalent to the cost of a car and admires such luxury. Wang Yuma explains to his friends that bahaba is one of the most expensive delicacies in the world, and these 2 medium-sized fish cost a fortune. Wang Yuma adds that white truffles are also extremely expensive, and the total cost of the dishes exceeds 3 million. One of the women thinks to herself that the dinner costs 3 million, and that for that money they could buy a big house in their area. Wang Yuma invites everyone to sit down at the table and tells them to eat in peace, and the friends thank Jiang Chen for the treat. One of the friends offers to have a drink, but Jiang Chen says that he has already drunk it and suggests doing it next time. The friends wave goodbye to Jiang Chen and promise to book a big table tomorrow night to have fun together. Wang Yuma informs him that the hotel has given him a special discount, to which Jiang Chen briefly thanks her. Jiang Chen thinks to himself that he got a case worth hundreds of millions for just a few people and considers it a very good deal. Wang Yuma informs Jiang Chen that the payment was successful and promises not to disturb him, but asks him to call if he needs anything. Zhang Chen, sitting in a chair with a phone, joyfully exclaims that he is finally home. Xiao Mei tells the audience, and Zhang Chen notes that her appearance is judged by the system and understands why she is so attractive. Zhang Chen looks at his phone and is happy that the system is generous, and with these millions, his account has risen. Zhang Chen decides to name his account to sound impressive. Xiao Mei, sitting on the bed, is surprised to see that she has never seen such a high-level account and exclaims. Xiao Mei happily welcomes Zhang Chen under his new nickname and announces that there will soon be a mass tournament in the RK format. Xiao Mei's broadcast screen shows the interface of a competition between her and a purple-haired opponent. Zhang Chen looks at her phone and assesses Xiao Mei's rival's appearance, wondering why she is even competing with her. The purple-haired opponent approaches Xiao Mei and asks for help to advance to the next round. Xiao Mei, with a sly smile, declares that she has few losses and all streamers want to compete with her. Xiao Mei asks her high-ranking older brother on camera to pay some attention to them. The purple-haired opponent agrees and promises that the first round will be easy in order to save her strength for the next one. Zhang Chen thinks that the profits can be multiplied by 50 times, and he will have to spend some time with them. Xiao Mei, wearing a silver dress and black tights, slyly asks Zhang Chen if he has any other wishes. Zhang Chen thinks that at first he didn't expect to have a relationship with Xiao Mei, but if she continues, everything might change. Xiao Mei begs the audience and Zhang Chen to support her so she can pay for her medication and rise in the rankings. Comments from viewers discussing the current situation are visible on the screen. Xiao Mei, touching her head, says that she cannot give up on her audience because each of them is talented. Zhang Chen, touching his chin, suggests starting the game and taking the 5-week chickens first. Xiao Mei thanks Zhang Chen for paying for her medicine and calls him Brother Steadfast Foot of the Sea. Xiao Mei asks again what the 5-week chickens mean and wonders why such a high-level brother would be so petty. On the game screen, Xiao Mei takes damage from a purple-haired opponent, causing her health to drop. Xiao Mei tells Zhang Chen that if he helps her get first place, she will replace him at the wheel for free. Xiao Mei looks at the screen in surprise as 3 of the most expensive super rockets appear at once and exclaims, "Wow." Xiao Mei asks what number he wants her to put on a show, and her rival looks on in shock and fear. The opponent angrily thinks to herself that the round will soon end, and Xiao Mei has such an influential admirer. The rival informs Xiao Mei that an important player, Unwavering C-Stop, has come to her stream and asks him to come to her too. Xiao Mei, holding a makeshift microphone, sings a song, swaying funny and cutely, and thanks her good brother. Zhang Chen looks at the phone with a smile and thinks that Xiao Mei's singing is quite funny and cute. The purple-haired competitor, wiping away a tear, begs Zhang Chen to help her win the first round so she doesn't get eliminated. The opponent joyfully raises her hand up, thanking Zhang Chen for the 3-shot series and admiring his generosity. Zhang Chen, looking at the screen, thoughtfully says that if that's the case, then he will also launch his rockets. The purple-haired rival exclaims with a surprised expression as Brother Stop of the Sea catches up to her. The purple-haired opponent asks her friends to help her bring her opponent to her knees and shows 5 rockets flying upward. Xiao Mei, with a slight drop of sweat on her face, thoughtfully notes that her rival does have a very cool admirer. Zhang Chen says with a smirk that Xiao Mei was only scared by 5 missiles and asks what she will do now. Xiao Mei looks at her phone in surprise, sees a notification about an avalanche of gifts, and asks in confusion where they came from. Xiao Mei watches as a 20-fold series of missiles appears on her screen and can't help but let out a surprised cry. The purple-haired rival turns to Zhang Chen with hope, but receives only an ellipsis in response. Xiao Mei realizes that Zhang Chen has sent her many shots and understands that the opponents are not ready to accept such a challenge. The opponent, having suffered a serious eye injury, stands with a black eye patch and complains in tears that she cannot withstand such stress. A notification appears on the phone screen indicating that there are now more viewers on the live broadcast. Xiao Mei leaned forward shyly and said that this was the first time she had received super missiles and she didn't know how to thank Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen points out that Xiao Mei's beauty is largely due to filters, and if she didn't call her sister Xiao, he wouldn't recognize her. Xiao Mei, cowering in fear, says she is afraid and thinks about how she can refuse such a generous patron. A finger taps the filter icon on her phone screen, and Xiao Mei suspects she might get trashed for it. Xiao Mei playfully adjusts her hair while streaming, while viewers chat and discuss her appearance and mention her patron. Xiao Mei, having recovered from the shock, is surprised to notice that not only did she not lose, but she also received many subscribers and good reviews. Xiao Mei pleads with Zhang Chen to help her win another round so she can stream next month. Tian Tian greets Zhang Chen, saying that she admires his generosity and would like to join his streams. Tian Tian continues to appeal to Zhang Chen, promising that she sings and dances well and that he will be pleased. Xiao Mei asks Tian Tian to start the broadcast, and Tian Tian begs Zhang Chen to help her win. Tian Tian, surrounded by flying hearts, thanks Jiang Chen for the 5 planes she received as a gift. Jiang Chen thinks that even such a stupid fan has a patron, and throws 5 missiles at her, waiting to see what she will do next. The phone screen displays a series of continuous presses on the super missile launch button, accompanied by a loud sound. Xiao Mei, joyfully raising her hands and making a heart, thanks Jiang Chen for the 5 missiles and calls him the best. Tian Tian, looking around in confusion, notices with surprise that her patron has disappeared and sighs sadly. The screen shows footage of other streamers, and text announces that thanks to Jiang Chen's generosity, Xiao Mei has advanced to the final round. The younger sister, wearing a black bandeau top, greets Xiao Mei and suggests that they start the competition right away. Xiao Mei understands that she will have to compete with one of the platform's streamers, which is too serious a challenge. Xiao Mei admits to her rival that she can't sing or dance well and suggests that they start the competition right away. The younger sister responds by declaring that since Xiao Mei has no talent, she will demonstrate her skills herself for her brothers and followers. The rival remarks that she heard how Xiao Mei managed to win the favor of some sugar daddy. The younger sister, wearing a black dress with musical notes around her, begins to sing and dance energetically on stage. A close-up shot shows the microphone positioned directly in front of the younger sister's cleavage as she continues her performance. The little sister blows a kiss to the camera while saying and releases a pink heart. Jiang Chen looks at the phone and comments that his younger sister has good skills and a great voice. Xiao Mei, with a pleading and worried expression, says that if Jiang Chen leaves her now, she will be finished. Jiang Chen looks at his phone with a sly smile, preparing for his next move. Jiang Chen is surprised to see one of the girls on the screen raising her leg in a black stocking and says, Xiao Mei, looking at her younger sister leaning on her, exclaimed in shock. Xiao Mei touches her chest and says that she doesn't have time to think and will have to ask Jiang Chen for help again. Xiao Mei asks Jiang Chen to ensure her victory in the final game and promises to immediately enroll in any courses he teaches her. The screen shows the competitor receiving a series of gifts and looking defiantly at the camera. Xiao Mei is surprised to think that someone will organize a super attack against her and send her 3 missiles. Xiao Mei tells Jiang Chen that this seems like bullying, but then, thinking about it, asks him to wait as she has an idea. Xiao Mei thanks him but says she can hardly continue, to which he points out that courage requires at least a couple of fireworks. Jiang Chen, reading the comments on his phone, notices that viewers are discussing his huge spending, and a bead of sweat appears on his face. Jiang Chen, looking at the screen, notices that the system has replenished his account and realizes that there are still many billions left on the card. Xiao Mei looks at the screen with surprise and a little fear and exclaims that she has received an avalanche of gifts again. Xiao Mei, clenching her fists and admiringly reporting that Jiang Chen sent her a total of 20 missiles, she is absolutely delighted. The younger sister, looking at the screen, respectfully notes that a real divine battle is taking place right now. The younger sister makes a heart with her hands and thanks her brother Stop for paying for the treatment, calling him a generous daddy. The stream shows Xiao Mei and her younger sister competing in the RK, with viewers shocked by the incredible score gap. The younger sister, touching her face, asks in confusion if she really lost. The younger sister's rival looks at the screen in surprise and notices that Xiao Mei is still sending missiles. Xiao Mei, looking at the indicators, is shocked to realize that this is too much. The younger sister, continuing the stream, asks viewers not to stop and to add more rockets. The younger sister, leaning on the floor, looks at the camera in bewilderment, not understanding what is happening. On the phone screen, you can see the finger pressing the Send Gifts button again in a continuous series mode. A notification pops up on the phone that there are already more than 5,000 viewers on air, which indicates incredible popularity. Xiao Mei, touching her lips, announces with relief that she has become a champion and has gained new subscribers. Xiao Mei leaned forward, embarrassedly saying that she didn't know how to thank Jiang Chen and was willing to do whatever he wanted. Xiao Mei, clasping her hands to her chest, offers Jiang Chen to become his driver in the future. Jiang Chen, sitting in a chair, looks at his phone with a slight smile, reading messages. Xiao Mei thoughtfully rereads the comments and thinks about how these events affected her. Xiao Mei looks at her phone with a puzzled expression and wonders why Jiang Chen is acting like this. Jiang Chen looks at the notice and realizes that he will have to find new ways. A system window appears above Jiang Chen, informing him that he has reached the maximum satisfaction level and received a super case. Jiang Chen raised his hand and looked at the reward notification, realizing the scale of the wealth he had received. Jiang Chen touches his chin and thinks that he was just having fun on the internet, and then he got 20 billion. This is just crazy. The next morning, Jiang Chen wakes up in bed with his phone in his hand and sees a message from Xiao Mei saying that she is ready to become his driver. Jiang Chen looks at the phone screen and mutters dissatisfiedly that this message came too early. Xiao Mei sits on her bed, hugging her pillow, and thinks that it was because she found out Jiang Chen's identity that she couldn't sleep. Jiang Chen stands in the bathroom in a towel, reads the message, and comes to the conclusion that the driver will not disturb him. Xiaomei, upon receiving Jiang Chen's answer, jumped up and down happily. Xiaomei, lying in bed, thinks that she needs to get some sleep so that by the evening she will be in better shape to serve her brother. Xiaomei tosses and turns in bed and realizes that just thinking about it made her sleepless, and she urges herself to go to sleep immediately. In the evening, Jiang Chen meets Xiaomei at the car and is surprised that she came so early, and she reminds him how he helped her yesterday. Jiang Chen gets into the car and says that he heard that Taxi is the most popular bar in Moda and decides to go there. Women on the street talk with interest about the attractive Jiang Chen, noting his stylish clothes and clearly expensive watch. The girls, including Hailey in a bunny costume and Sui in a police uniform, look at Jiang Chen and call him the heir to the fortune. Hailey approaches Jiang Chen and asks to be added to the messenger, and Sui immediately joins her with the same request. A woman in glasses and a black dress invites Jiang Chen to show him the local establishments and have a drink together. Jiang Chen agrees with slight surprise and says, Hailey grabs Jiang Chen's shirt and apologizes, and he mentally notes that he hasn't even entered the bar yet, and he's already faced with such an influx. Two girls approach each other and discuss the need to reserve a seat in advance. Xiaomei stands to the side with a puzzled expression and watches as Jiang Chen is surrounded by unfamiliar girls. Xiaomei tries to push one of the girls away from Jiang Chen and demands that she not interfere with him. Xiaomei, feeling anxious, says that she feels like something terrible is happening and decides that she can't go on like this. Xiaomei pushes her way through the crowd towards Jiang Chen. The screen shows a close-up of Jiang Chen in Xiaomei's hands, tightly intertwined in a gesture of support. The bunny girl notices that Jiang Chen is already busy, and the woman standing next to her asks why she didn't tell him about it earlier. One of the girls turns around and calls for everyone to disperse and look for the next target, since there is no point here. Jiang Chen, hugging Xiaomei tightly, leans towards her and asks her with a smile if he is busy. Xiaomei, touching Jiang Chen's chest with her hand, explains that she saw how he couldn't refuse all those girls and decided to intervene. Jiang Chen tells Xiaomei that she shouldn't do that anymore because those girls were cute, and she huffs in annoyance. A man walks into the bar and approaches Jiang Chen, noticing that he is the one surrounded by a crowd of girls, and asks if he is scared. Jiang Chen says that this is the first time he has been greeted like this, and notices that everyone around him simply ignores him, and his friend asks who this beauty is. A friend approaches Jiang Chen and says that they ordered a driver and put everything else on hold, to which Jiang Chen replies that he didn't come alone. Xiaomei, watching the conversation, silently looks at what is happening, not knowing what to say. A female DJ with headphones stands behind the console as Jiang Chen, his friend, and other patrons walk past her into the club. A girl in a black bodysuit with a bunny tail gracefully dances on a pole, attracting the attention of Jiang Chen and Xiaomei. Two girls in tight outfits approach Jiang Chen and greet him enthusiastically, calling him Mr. Jiang. Jiang Chen waves his hand and smiles as he wishes them a rest, passing by them accompanied by his friends. A friend asks the manager to prepare a few tables, and she replies that everything is already ready, including snacks, fruit, and beer. Xiaomei, looking at Jiang Chen, said with admiration that she had never seen the great guru in person. Jiang Chen remarks that his friend is being too kind, but he replies that it is nothing compared to the food they tasted at his feast. The friend, hugging the girl, proudly tells her that yesterday Jiang Chen invited her to dinner, setting the table for 3 million. The girls around him ask again if Jiang Chen really spent 3 million on dinner and look at each other in shock. Girls in black dresses and bunny ears bring bottles of expensive alcohol to Jiang Chen's table. A girl in a white dress carefully places a bottle on the table, preparing for the drink ceremony. The girl deftly pours the amber drink from a bottle into tall glasses standing on the bar counter. A girl named Xiao Lin, holding a glass of wine, approaches Jiang Chen and asks permission to treat him and spend time with him. Xiao Lin's cleavage is shown in a black top as she leans towards Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen notices with slight surprise that Xiao Lin's beauty after makeup and her figure is a real masterpiece. Jiang Chen and Xiao Lin clink glasses filled with drinks making a ringing sound. Xiaomei, sitting next to Jiang Chen, once again felt the unpleasant feeling that had returned to her. Xiaomei thinks that Jiang Chen, her little brother who spent money on her and consoled her recently, is now with another girl. Xiaomei holds a glass in her hand and they approach him with an offer to drink together. Jiang Chen, sitting next to Xiaomei, offers her a different drink, claiming it will be healthier. Xiaomei, holding a glass of drink, says that she will soon be driving anyway, but she drinks well. Xiaomei defiantly asks Jiang Chen if he doesn't believe her and offers to test her. Jiang Chen thought to himself with a wistful smile that although Xiaolin was good, his main target today was Xiaomei. Xiaolin, standing at the counter, winks at Jiang Chen and hints that they can have a few drinks first and then dance. Jiang Chen tells Xiaomei with a smile that it's hard to believe what she's saying and suggests they test it sometime in the evening. A close-up is shown of Jiang Chen's hand approaching Xiaomei's hand. Xiaomei, looking at Jiang Chen, sheepishly states that on streams they always say that girls should be chaste. Xiao Mei pulls away in shock and complains that she doesn't look like a promiscuous girl. Jiang Chen says that he spent more than 2 million, and if she doesn't want it, then why did she go with him and decide to pretend to be his bride? Xiao Mei sits silently surrounded by empty bottles, while Jiang Chen stands in front of her, waiting for an answer. A girl in a red dress and another girl in a top dance on poles, entertaining Jiang Chen. Xiaolin, twirling around the pole in a black top, asks Jiang Chen how he likes her dancing. The second girl, dancing on a pole in a red dress, asks Jiang Chen if he likes her dance too. Jiang Chen replies with admiration that he is impressed and says that his friend liked it too. Xiaolin, hugging Jiang Chen, is surprised that she hasn't seen his friend yet. Jiang Chen hugs Xiaolin and says that she can wait a little bit first and then tell him about herself. Xiaolin, looking at Jiang Chen, says that the others also want to meet him. Jiang Chen replies that he is pleased to meet you, and when Xiaolin asks what he does on weekdays, Jiang Chen laughs and says that he really likes it and suggests that they watch movies together because the more people there are, the more interesting it is. The friend in the red shirt laughs and says that Jiang Chen has a great sense of humor and suggests having a drink together. Everyone raises their glasses in unison, and Xiao Mei, standing nearby, turns to Jiang Chen in surprise. Xiaolin, holding a glass, says that she also wants to drink, and the second girl joins her. Xiaolin raises his glass with a sly squint and looks at Jiang Chen, waiting for his next move. Jiang Chen, sitting with the girls, notices that he recently responded sharply, but now he completely ignores them. Xiao Mei, looking at Jiang Chen, thought with resentment that she was not like that, but since he wanted it so much, she would become the one he was looking for. Xiao Mei thinks that she came here today psychologically prepared and understands that she will not be able to open up like that. Jiang Chen notices with a slight smile that Xiao Mei's favorability level has already reached 80 points and believes that his plan has worked. Jiang Chen drinks and has fun with two girls, completely oblivious to Xiao Mei standing at a distance. It's dawn, and Jiang Chen says goodbye to the girls, who tell him they'll see each other again, while his friend waves goodbye. Jiang Chen loudly calls out to the taxi driver standing nearby. Jiang Chen helps two girls into a yellow taxi by holding the car door. Jiang Chen, watching the taxi drive away, looks slightly surprised and thoughtful. Jiang Chen suddenly covers one of the girls' faces with his hand as she tries to look out of the taxi window. Jiang Chen hands the driver a wad of money and asks him to deliver the girls safely, and the driver guarantees his safety. Jiang Chen stands on the sidewalk and watches a yellow taxi drive away into the distance against the backdrop of the city at night. Jiang Chen says damn with slight irritation as he watches the car drive away. One of the girls, leaning out of the taxi window, looks back at Jiang Chen with surprise and bewilderment. Jiang Chen walks up to his gray sports car and asks Xiao Mei why it is parked and offers to go. An hour later, Jiang Chen is surprised to find Xiao Mei in his room and asks what she is doing there. Xiao Mei, standing at the door, shyly says that it is already late and asks if she can stay with him. Jiang Chen, looking at the phone, reminds Xiao Mei with a smile that she herself said that frivolity is not her style. Xiao Mei replies that she was here by accident, and Jiang Chen suggests that she take a taxi then. Xiao Mei grabbed Jiang Chen's hand and begged him not to leave. Jiang Chen unbuttons his shirt and says that since she doesn't want to go back, there are many rooms in the room and she can choose anyone. Xiao Mei asks if they can't sleep together, although she admits that she's not used to sleeping with strangers. Jiang Chen mentally recalls that everything went according to plan and reflects on the fact that the girl came to him on her own, despite her excuses. Xiao Mei's feet in gray socks as she stands by the bed. Xiao Mei, sitting on the floor, covers her face with her hands and begins to sob loudly. Jiang Chen is confused and asks Xiao Mei why she is crying and does not understand what is going on. Xiao Mei accuses Jiang Chen of hating her and doesn't understand why he refuses to sleep with her after everything. Jiang Chen thinks that introverts have their shortcomings too, and she doesn't understand the intricacies of relationships at all. A minute later, Jiang Chen sits down next to Xiao Mei on the floor and tells her to stop crying. Jiang Chen kisses Xiao Mei and the two become intimate. A close-up is shown of Xiao Mei's face during the kiss, her lips parted and her breathing ragged. Xiao Mei, holding Jiang Chen's hand, confesses that she likes him very much. Xiao Mei explains to Jiang Chen that as soon as she realized who he was, she immediately fell in love with him. Xiao Mei lies in bed looking at her phone and thinks that no girl would refuse such a prince on a white horse. Jiang Chen gently touches the crying Xiao Mei's face, wiping away her tears. Xiao Mei, hugging Jiang Chen, whispers her love to him. Jiang Chen, hugging Xiao Mei, tells her that he understands her and will not kick her out anymore, and offers to stay the night. Xiao Mei lies on the bed and playfully lifts her t-shirt, revealing her stomach. Jiang Chen and Xiao Mei lie in bed together, making love, their bodies hidden by bright light. A close-up of Jiang Chen and Xiao Mei's kiss is shown, accompanied by soft sounds. Angels hover above Jiang Chen and Xiao Mei, who are sleeping in bed, blowing trumpets and showering them with rose petals. The next morning at 9:30 a.m., Yu Xiaoxiu enters the office and asks if he can come in to see the manager. Su-won, sitting at the table, greets Yu Xiaoxiu and asks why she came. Su-won asks Yu Xiaoxiu if she knows Jiang Chen, and Yu Xiaoxiu replies that she has crossed paths with him through work. Yu Xiaoxiu asks if Jiang Chen told her about signing the contract, and she replies that he didn't, but she is ready. Yu Xiaoxiu asks Su-won in surprise if she is going to quit. Su-won replies that she is going to transfer to Jiang Chen's company and wants Yu Xiaoxiu to be her first artist. Yu Xiaoxiu asks Su-won if she really trusts Jiang Chen so much since his company is new. Su-won explains to Yu Xiaoxiu that she has known Jiang Chen for many days and has confidence in him, and in the new company they will work like sisters. Yu Xiaoxiu wondered anxiously to himself why the manager trusted Jiang Chen so much. Su-won reports that she just received a call from reception saying that they brought her some kind of certificate and asked her to come down. Su-won, looking at the door, says that she doesn't know who sent the certificate and asks to convey that she doesn't need flowers and decorations. The employee, touching his lips with his fingers, realizes that the car has arrived and it is impossible to refuse it, since the buyer has already made the payment. Yu Xiaoxiu exclaims that someone sent a car and invites Su-won to go downstairs to look at it. The staff set off a celebratory fireworks display, showering Su-won and Yu Xiaoxiu with colorful confetti as they exited the building. The employee in the gray jacket politely asks Ms. Yu to open the blanket and look at the gift. Someone's hand carefully lifts the thick black fabric that hides the object underneath. Under the cover was a brand new pink sports car, shining brightly in the sun and attracting everyone's attention. Yu Xiaoxiu exclaims with admiration that it is a pink Lamborghini and calls Su-won incredibly lucky. The employees standing nearby are discussing that manager Yu broke up with her ex-fiancé and her new boyfriend turned out to be incredibly generous. An employee in a gray suit respectfully hands Su-won the car keys. Su-won takes the keys and is slightly surprised to learn that this gift was sent by Mr. Jiang Chen, who hopes that she will like it. Su-won realized that no one had ever treated her so well, and her favor level with Jiang Chen had risen to 99. Jiang Chen watches the system interface and notes that favorability has risen to 99. Jiang Chen receives a 5,888,000 return card and an absorption card from the system. Jiang Chen understands that the reward is 1, but there are no limits, and he can have fun with several girls at once. Jiang Chen decides that the outcome depends on the other party's satisfaction, and the card must be used carefully. Jiang Chen explains to the system that the minimum requirement is 10 million and the return is no less than 10%. Jiang Chen informs the system of an investment of 500 million in Moda and names the company Xi'an Investment Company. Xiaomei, wearing a towel, asks Jiang Chen if he is awake, and he replies no. Jiang Chen invites Xiaomei to try the absorption card, since her appearance is over 90 points. Jiang Chen wants to understand the rules, but Xiaomei advises him to relax first. An hour later, Xiaomei asks Jiang Chen not to give gifts during streams. Xiaomei explains that the platform takes 70%, and he is being too wasteful by sending over 2 million. Xiaomei, sitting in a room with a brick wall, abruptly spits out the drink she just tried, unable to swallow it. Xiaomei worriedly said that giving away 2.5 million on stream was a huge expense, and she felt sorry for his money. Wang Yuma, holding a folder in his hands, was surprised to think that the rich spend so much and thought that Mr. Jiang Chen was too generous. Jiang Chen calms her down and says it's a small thing, and asks if he minds her working as a streamer. A close-up is shown of Jiang Chen's hand resting on Xiaomei's wrist as they sit at a table in a restaurant. Jiang Chen tells Xiaomei that she is not the type to talk nonsense on the fly, and he believes in her so she can continue streaming. Xiaomei agrees and says she will stream cooking, hoping it will do some good. Jiang Chen advises Xiaomei to do whatever she wants, but warns her that if a top streamer tries to cheat her, she should tell him. Xiaomei asks Wang Yumu about paying the rent, but she relays Jiang Chen's request to wait until tomorrow morning. Jiang Chen, sitting at the table, takes out a black payment card and holds it out. Wang Yuma looks at the map in surprise and asks again if it is for 2 months, reminding him that he came to Moda to enroll. Xiaomei, noting that when Jiang Chen needs to move out, mentions that the rent is 80,000 yuan per day. Jiang Chen smiles and tells Wang Yume that this is not right and that if her boss finds out, he will be unhappy. Wang Yuma remarks to Jiang Chen that paying 400 to 800,000 for 2 months without a permanent residence seems wasteful. Xiaomei, chewing on a strawberry, wondered why this manager cared so much about Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen is surprised to see manager Wang so worried about him and looks at her expression. Jiang Chen reflects that although Wang Yuma, her favorability level towards him has already reached 80 points. Wang Yuma thinks that Jiang Chen is looking at her strangely and wonders if she was being too frank. Wang Yuma remembers with a touch of envy that Jiang Chen already has 2 close girlfriends. But the more she gets to know him, the stronger the feeling becomes. Wang Yuma tells the maid that she will clean the room herself. Wang Yuma, standing in front of Jiang Chen, notes that each time she is more willing and shameless in dealing with his affairs. Wang Yuma thinks that she is even ready to fulfill any strange requests if he asks. Jiang Chen thinks that he didn't expect this kind of attitude from Wang Yuma, and he finds it funny that she thinks about him. Jiang Chen asks Wang Yumu to help him with the rent, explaining that his schedule is inconsistent and he doesn't like hassle. Wang Yuma agrees and asks Jiang Chen to wait a little while she completes the paperwork. Wang Yuma's colleague notices that she is frowning and asks if the client is treating her badly. Wang Yuma, adjusting her hair, replies that the customer is very kind. Wang Yuma and her colleague were discussing that a customer had just vacated the room and the colleague was complaining, suggesting that they improve the performance. The colleague noted with surprise that no one could take on such a large order in a week, and the department was envious of Wang Yume. Wang Yuma smiled and remarked that the month was not over yet, and that a large order might arrive tomorrow. A colleague wished him luck and reminded him that her client's lease ended today. Wang Yuma told her colleague that she needed to see the general manager because the client wanted to extend the lease for another 2 months. A colleague, shocked, asked again if her client really wanted to extend the lease for 2 whole months. A colleague pointed out that Wang Yuma's commission could be 200,000 and reassured her, saying that the client had a lot of money. Wang Yuma explained that the client said he would be leaving in a few days and would not be staying there permanently, so it would be awkward without a discount. The colleague noted with a slight smile that Wang Yuma was probably tired after a week and asked if her client was handsome and well-groomed. Wang Yuma blushed and replied that she did indeed have a real diamond, and for a moment she imagined a naked Jiang Chen. A colleague whispered in Wang Yumi's ear, suggesting that she come closer to the client and promised to give her her entire commission. A colleague advised Wang Yume not to be serious, because this client was paying and had a lot of women, so there was no need to get worked up. Wang Yuma sighed thoughtfully and asked herself how Mr. Jiang saw her. Wang Yuma walked resolutely towards the director's office, leaving her confused colleague behind. The director noted that in order to renew, one must contact the director, and he personally must thank a customer like Mr. Wang. Jiang Chen noticed that 4.8 million should have come out in 2 months, but 3.8 million had been written off from the card. The bespectacled executive director stood in the hall and loudly asked if Mr. Jiang Chen was there. Mr. Wang, upon learning of the villa's lease extension for 2 months, handed Jiang Chen his business card and suggested that they contact him directly. Mr. Wang noted that Wang Yuma helped arrange the lease, and now Jiang Chen will receive privileges and a 20% discount. Jiang Chen thought that it was a discount and realized that because of Wang Yuma's kindness, he had lost 100 million. Wang Yuma thought that it would be better if he took a smaller commission, but she certainly had the qualities of a good woman. Director Wang noticed that he had suddenly saved 1 million and invited Jiang Chen to become friends, to which he happily agreed. Director Wang instructed Wang Yume to be sure to serve his friend Jiang Chen well and fulfill all his requests with attention. Director Wang said goodbye to Jiang Chen, wishing him a pleasant stay, and headed towards the exit. Jiang Chen, standing in the corridor after the director left, thanked him and looked at Wang Yumu with a smile. Chao Mei jumped into Jiang Chen's arms, wrapped her legs around him, and declared that she did not want to go home. Jiang Chen hugged her and said that he still had things to do, but she could stay if she wanted. Chao Mei folded her arms across her chest and noticed that she was alone, but in any case, she had agreed to go out with her friends today. Jiang Chen touched Chao Mei's shoulder and said that as soon as he was free, he would definitely find her. An hour later, Su Wan stood on the road and happily waved her hand to Jiang Chen. Su Wan gently hugged Jiang Chen and thanked him for everything. Jiang Yu, Su Wan's ex-fiancé, suddenly appeared and pointed at her, calling her a traitor. Zhang Yu demanded that Su Wan marry him or he would jump into the river. Jiang Chen asked Su Wan in surprise, didn't she say that she had settled everything? Su Wan explained that Zhang Yu had been harassing her, but she didn't want Jiang Chen to worry about it, so she didn't tell him. Zhang Yu defiantly declared that he was not intrusive, and accused the vile men and women who were plotting behind his back of scheming. Jiang Chen took Su Wan's arm and coldly advised her to ignore Zhang Yu and leave here. Zhang Yu desperately shouted that if Su Wan did not marry him, he would still jump into the river, and if he could not swim, that would be the end. Su Wan grabbed Zhang Yu's shirt in irritation. Zhang Yu broke free and tried to catch up with Su Wan and Jiang Chen again, shouting at them to stop. Jiang Chen grabbed Zhang Yu by the lapels and threatened to shut him up if he didn't stop talking. Jiang Chen told the guards that this guy was threatening to jump into the river and promised 1 million to each of them. Jiang Chen ordered the guards to accidentally let go of Zhang Yu during the fight, causing him to fall into the river, and they would rescue him slowly, allowing him to drown. Zhang Yu pointed his finger, shouting again that there was law here, and tried to resist Jiang Chen. The guards, confused, asked if this was a joke and looked at each other. Jiang Chen offered to pay the security guards and promised that if anything went wrong, he would hire lawyers and even add 1 million. The security guards enthusiastically agreed, calculating that they could earn 4 million a month with this scam. Zhang Yu exclaimed in horror, were they really planning a murder for money? The guards demanded that Zhang Yu hurry up and jump, otherwise they would do it faster. Jiang Chen replied with a grin that he didn't fight with people like that, and suggested that Zhang Yu should fight instead if he was so afraid. Jiang Chen said he would give everyone 100,000 so that they could simply beat Zhang Yu to death and dictate the numbers for the transfer. One of the security guards, looking at his phone screen, exclaimed in surprise that the money had already been deposited into the account. The guard gave Zhang Yu a powerful kick, aiming for his head. Several guards rushed at Zhang Yu, beating him from all sides, while Jiang Chen and Su Wan stood nearby and watched. Su Wan grabbed Jiang Chen's sleeve and asked him to stop and not argue with Zhang Yu. Jiang Chen reassured Su Wan, telling her not to worry. The guards held the beaten Zhang Yu, and one of them told Jiang Chen that everything would be arranged properly and promised. Jiang Chen asked Su Wan to tell him everything to avoid similar situations from happening again, and she agreed. Jiang Chen smiled and remarked that he and the system were on the same wavelength and promised that he would never meet such idiots again. Jiang Chen reminded Su Wan that they had arranged to meet to see the office. Su Wan, slightly embarrassed, replied that she thought Jiang Chen would not be in the mood after all this business. Jiang Chen objected that it was impossible to postpone important matters because of some rubbish and invited her to go with him. In the background, a tall, modern building appeared with a sign reading World Financial Center, the name they were heading towards. Jiang Chen remarked that it was not bad here, and that the stylish and modern renovation was quite suitable for the first company. Su Wan, standing by the shelves, suggested that we rearrange the furniture a little, and then we could begin work. Jiang Chen, sitting in a chair, smiled and invited Su Wan to sit next to him. Su Wan walked to the door and locked it with a key, clicking the lock. Light-colored blinds were drawn down on the windows, hiding what was happening inside from prying eyes. Su Wan, wearing a black dress, gracefully knelt down in front of Jiang Chen, looking at him suggestively. Su Wan moved closer to Jiang Chen's face, touching it with her hand. Su Wan, turning her back, reminded Jiang Chen with a slight embarrassment that she was simply asking him to sit down. Su Wan, adjusting her hair, playfully remarked with indignation that Jiang Chen was furious and should stop making fun of her. Su Wan leaned over and asked Jiang Chen with a smile if she wanted her to sit on his lap. Jiang Chen, hugging Su Wan, said that the main thing was that she herself was happy. Jiang Chen's hand rested on Su Wan's waist as they were in an extremely close and intimate position. Su Wan, with her head thrown back and her shoulders bare, was in Jiang Chen's arms, completely surrendering to the moment. Wang Yuma greeted Jiang Chen and asked if he wanted to eat or take a shower first. Wang Yuma, blushing slightly, mentally admitted to herself that she would like to wash his body and give him a massage. Jiang Chen raised his index finger and firmly declared that they would eat first. Wang Yuma was going over the options in her head, planning to use new techniques to make the service 100 times better than last time. Wang Yuma, holding a tray of food, wished Jiang Chen bon appétit. Wang Yuma picked up the teapot and said that it was time to move on to the next step, and Jiang Chen agreed with a smile. Jiang Chen's friends met him at the car show, and were surprised to note that they thought he would not come because he was busy. Jiang Chen explained to his friends that Brother Wang's invitation was too tempting, and he could not refuse. Zhou Lin appeared at the exhibition, and friends noted that they had succeeded in inviting a goddess of such caliber, comparing her to a real star. The friends were surprised to notice that it was indeed Zhou Lin, but for some reason, she looked unhappy. Zhou Lin, noticing that someone was trying to take her photo, excitedly asked them to stop taking photos of her. The man in the cap, with a cheeky grin, declared that since she was dressed so provocatively, he would still take it off. Jiang Chen, seeing this, walked towards the impudent photographer with a cold and serious expression. Jiang Chen forcefully kicked the phone out of the photographer's hands, causing him to fall to his knees from the impact. The photographer, in despair, exclaimed that he had wasted several days on him and accused Jiang Chen of a complete lack of conscience. Jiang Chen stepped on the photographer's hand and asked him with a cold smile if he wanted compensation for his actions. The photographer clenched his fist and angrily shouted a rude curse at Jiang Chen. The photographer swung his fist and tried to hit Jiang Chen in the face. Jiang Chen stated that he had launched the attack first, and now it would be considered legitimate self-defense. Jiang Chen delivered a powerful counterpunch to the photographer's face, sending him into a deep knockdown. Jiang Chen stood over the beaten photographer, looking down at him. Manager Huang began to apologize, and Jiang Chen demanded that the police be called, the video saved, and the law enforcement officers handed it over. Manager Huang anxiously ordered his subordinates to immediately call security and then the police. Friends admired Jiang Chen but noted that the incident had spoiled their impression of Moda because of such perverts. The friend, touching the back of his head, awkwardly asked not to compare them with others and noted that they were decent people. Zhou Lin asked if Jiang Chen was okay. He replied that everything was fine, and the main thing was that she didn't have any problems. A friend asked how long Jiang Chen had known Zhou Lin and remarked that it was no wonder he rushed to protect her, since it was love. Jiang Chen introduced Zhou Lin to his friends, explaining that she was his high school classmate. Jiang Chen introduced Zhu Lin to his friends Wang Zhen and Chen Yu, and they exchanged greetings. Zhou Lin, slightly surprised, asked Jiang Chen if he had come to look at the cars again. Jiang Chen explained that he would just look and pick out a car for his friend, to which she remarked with offense that he hadn't even invited her. Zhu Lin suggested that Jiang Chen meet in the evening if he had no other business, and he agreed to meet her after work. Jiang Chen's friends were standing near a four-door sports car, and one of them asked if he was interested in the model. The salesman tells Jiang Chen that this car combines a sedan and a sports car, looking cooler than competitors in its segment. Jiang Chen, upon learning this, said that gifts were not important to him and asked if it was possible to deliver the car to Qingcheng. The seller happily replied that they deliver throughout the country and help with registration and asked not to worry. Jiang Chen took out a black bank card without hesitation and said that he would pay with the card. Jiang Chen asked the seller to hold a handover ceremony when the car arrived in Qingcheng so that his friend could feel the events. Jiang Chen decided to repay the old man in kind, but he modestly replied that his mother would hardly find the words to describe this gift. A friend noticed that Jiang Chen had bought 4 cars from Moda in a short period of time, which was already a luxury, and joked that he had all the money in the world in his wallet. The friend in the white sweatshirt admitted with envy that he once persuaded his father to buy a sports car, and Jiang Chen buys cars for his father. After all the payments and procedures were completed, when Zhou Lin finished her work, Jiang Chen called her and she readily responded. Jiang Chen remarked to Zhou Lin that it was almost the end of summer, and she would probably have to go to school soon. Zhou Lin sadly admitted that her family went bankrupt and she had to make ends meet. Zhou Lin explained that many people at school gossip about her, but now she earns money for herself and feels better. Jiang Chen remarked that with her looks she would always be able to make money, but she replied that no one explained where the money came from. Jiang Chen said he thought she was a cold beauty, but she turned out to be down to earth. Zhou Lin said she didn't think she was a beauty. Jiang Chen, sitting behind the wheel, waved his hand and said that it didn't matter to him. Approaching a group of friends, Jiang Chen and Zhou Lin received an invitation to join them. In the distance, a guy with a red braid appeared, whom his friends discussed with alarm, wondering why he had come. Friends noticed that this guy Wang Liang was a little obsessed with Jiang Cheng and assumed that someone had called him. Friends noticed that Wang Liang had not been seen for a long time and jokingly called him Little Jiang, hinting at the unflattering nickname. Wang Liang approached with an insolent expression, declared that he had come to settle something, and asked him not to be proud. The whole company gathered around a table with a large platter in the center, and someone suggested having a drink together. The atmosphere was relaxed. Wang Liang, with a satisfied expression, announced that he had recently received another insider share that brings in a stable income without risk. Friends suspiciously asked Wang Liang if he really made so many millions on shares and whether he was deceiving them. One of the friends remarked with disbelief that Wang Liang was simply setting them up. Wang Liang demanded that Jiang Chen return the 2 million he borrowed last year, saying that since he was developing, he should repay the debt. A friend irritably remarked to Wang Liang that he was endlessly repeating the same thing. A friend in a white sweatshirt turned to Wang Liang, reminding him that they called him brother out of respect, but he was acting like God knows what. Jiang Chen said that Wang Liang was entertaining him today and asked him not to spoil his mood with bad events. Wang Liang shouted that he was a commoner and threw a glass of purple drink, which spilled on Zhou Lin. Zhou Lin clutched her dirty clothes and cried out in surprise. Jiang Chen abruptly pushed Zhou Lin away and stood in front of Wang Liang with a cold and dangerous expression on his face. The friend in the red shirt asked Wang Liang with surprise and anger what he was doing. The friend asked with a tense look if Wang Liang had come to drive them crazy. A friend noticed that Wang Zheng and Chen Yu's attitude had changed. They were protecting Jiang Chen, and he should reconsider his views. Wang Liang pointed at Zhou Lin and demanded that she not cause trouble since he had come to talk to Chen Yu. Wang Liang, once again slamming his fist on the table, shouted that he was a simple country bumpkin and did not deserve such an exaltation. Jiang Chen pointed out the wet spot on Zhou Lin's clothes and demanded that Wang Liang apologize to her. Zhou Lin asked Jiang Chen not to do it, saying that everything was fine. Jiang Chen looked at Wang Liang and said with a grin that he didn't understand and was waiting for an apology, and Wang Liang replied with a sneer that the country bumpkin was pretending to be tough. Jiang Chen, without waiting for an answer, suddenly and forcefully slapped Wang Liang across the face. Wang Liang was staggered by Jiang Chen's powerful blow and barely managed to stay on his feet. Jiang Chen rubbed his wrist and said with a cold smile that he was not that simple and that he was not some kind of country bumpkin. Wang Liang clutched his bruised cheek and cried out in anger, not understanding how anyone dared to hit him. Jiang Chen advised Wang Liang, who had such a brain, to see a neurologist and offered to pay for the visit if he didn't have the money. Wang Liang picked up a chair and swung it angrily, trying to hit Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen dodged the attack and instantly delivered a powerful kick to Wang Liang's face, sending him to the floor. Jiang Chen's friend asked him ironically if he was serious about his threats and gave him one last chance to get out of there. Wang Liang, getting up with the girl's help, promised that he wouldn't let it go that easily. A friend explained that Wang Liang's family was in the food business and that their market share had grown significantly over the past couple of years. Jiang Chen, hearing this, remarked with a mocking smile that he would then be interested to see how long he could last. Zhou Lin asked if she had caused him any trouble, but he said it was fine and thought it would be better to take her home. Jiang Chen raised his hand and said goodbye to his friends, saying that he and Zhou Lin would leave first. The friends apologized to Jiang Chen for the trouble, but he waved his hand, saying it was a trifle, and said goodbye until the next time they met. Jiang Chen, standing by the car, noticed that Zhou Lin seemed to have been able to drive before, and she confirmed that she had even driven a sports car. Jiang Chen reminded Zhou Lin that she was a nerd in school, but she asked him not to tease her and promised to take him there. Zhou Lin, holding the steering wheel, remarked that it had been a long time since she had driven a sports car, and she regretted that she couldn't really accelerate in the city. The silver sports car sped through the evening streets, and Jiang Chen noted that Zhou Lin loved to race. Zhou Lin explained that at home she was strictly controlled and not allowed to run wild, but now there was no such opportunity, and she sighed. Jiang Chen leaned back in the passenger seat and promised that next time he would definitely take Zhou Lin with him. Zhou Lin took Jiang Chen's hand and said with gratitude that he had helped her many times, and she remembered it. Zhou Lin, looking away in embarrassment, said that it was already late and it was time for her to go, asking him to rest. Jiang Chen, left alone by the car, thought with a slight smile that Zhou Lin left so quickly. Was she really embarrassed? Jiang Chen, standing on the sidewalk and looking at his phone, decided not to think about it for now and to get down to business. Jiang Chen, looking at his phone, noticed that the system had already sent a security detachment to Moda in case of problems with Wang Liang. A scandalous headline related to Wang Liang's family's products appeared on Jiang Chen's phone screen. Jiang Chen, sitting next to the sleeping Su Wan, was surprised to read that Wang Liang's products were in hot search. Jiang Chen excitedly called his friend and reported Wang Liang's accusations of selling rotten food. Jiang Chen, watching the report on TV, told his friend that the problems with rotten goods were not limited to this. There was a report on TV about suppliers withdrawing goods and authorities intervening, and the reporter was talking about the collapse of the brand. The friend recalled Jiang Chen's words from yesterday with a shocked expression, and a thought struck him. Jiang Chen grinned and decided to see how long his opponent could last. Jiang Chen's friend realized that he had much more power than he seemed, and the Wang family would not get off easy. The friend admitted that from the first meeting, Jiang Chen seemed to him to be an unusual and far from simple person. At the same time, Wang Liang listened to his father, who was talking angrily on the phone and demanding that he be given time to sort out the situation. Wang Liang, looking at the phone, exclaimed in despair, "Who did he manage to cross?" Wang Liang anxiously asked his father what happened. Wang Liang, noticing his broken face, sharply asked what had happened to him and what he had gotten himself into again. Wang Liang, touching the bruised area, admitted that yesterday he was beaten by an impudent guy from another city, and he wanted to deal with him. Wang Liang's father angrily reproached his son for only being busy with showdowns and asked if he was a bandit. The father, a man in glasses, looks with extreme surprise and shock. Wang Liang's father grabbed him by the shoulders and demanded that he immediately tell him who he had run into and what had happened. Wang Liang's father demanded that his son immediately take up the matter and deal with the offender, threatening divorce if he failed. Wang Liang, refusing to bow, said that he had spoken harsh words to the offender, and he was too ashamed to go and ask for forgiveness. Wang Liang's mother exclaimed indignantly at what he was saying and demanded that he stop. Wang Liang's father, folding his arms across his chest, angrily told his wife that it was better to spend some money on solving problems than on a divorce. The father angrily reminded his wife that yesterday's divorce would have cost them 500 million, and today the losses would amount to about 100 million. Wang Liang's father, adjusting his glasses, threatened to divorce them if the problem was not resolved, and stated that he was tired of both of them. Wang Liang, clutching his head in despair, turned to his mother, asking what to do and admitting that he did not understand anything. Wang Liang's mother begged him to go and ask for forgiveness, fearing that if his father divorced, they would have no money or property left. Wang Yuma stood by the table where Jiang Chen sat and listened to the phone conversation about the serious financial problems of Wang Liang's family. Wang Yuma leaned over to Jiang Chen and thoughtfully suggested that he replace the dish with cabbage and meat porridge if he didn't like it. Jiang Chen, adjusting the collar of his pajamas, noted with satisfaction that the porridge suited him and asked Wang Yumu if she had changed her clothes. Wang Yuma mentally noted that Mr. Zhang had brought a new girl again and decided that she needed to try harder. Wang Yuma stood in the hall, lost in her thoughts, her cheeks slightly flushed and her gaze thoughtful. Wang Yuma, holding a saucer and cup in her hands, politely offered Jiang Chen some tea. Jiang Chen, sitting on the sofa with his shirt unbuttoned, let out a relaxed breath, feeling fatigue creeping over him. Wang Yuma, looking at Jiang Chen sleeping on the sofa, thought that sleeping on the sofa was uncomfortable and decided to help him move to bed. Wang Yuma, noticing that Jiang Chen smelled of alcohol, decided to help him change his clothes, reaching for his belt. Wang Yuma, kneeling on the floor, leaned over to Jiang Chen, who was lying on the bed. Wang Yuma ran her hand through her hair and mentally decided to practice the knowledge she had gained from the films. Wang Yuma threw her head back and let out a soft sigh as she leaned over Jiang Chen, continuing to undress him. Wang Yuma touched her cheeks and admitted with a slight smile that she had only helped him change his clothes and nothing more. Jiang Chen, with a slight smile, remarked that he seemed to have dreamed about Manager Wang, and he regretted that it was just a dream. Wang Yuma leaned over to Jiang Chen and offered him a massage, saying that he was probably tired, and he readily agreed. Wang Yuma turned around and motioned for Jiang Chen to go to the bed to begin the massage. Jiang Chen, lying on the bed, said with a playful smile that he asked for love and favor, addressing Manager Wang. Wang Yuma, kneeling over Jiang Chen, thoughtfully wondered if the massage would be too serious. Jiang Chen, lying on the bed and looking up, exclaimed with a surprised and shocked expression as he noticed something unexpected. Jiang Chen looked away, thinking that he didn't expect Manager Wang to wear such underwear, and asked himself to calm down. Jiang Chen ran his hand over his pajamas, exhaling in relief and calming down. Wang Yuma looked over her shoulder and asked Jiang Chen how he felt with a smile. Jiang Chen leaned back on the pillow and smiled, saying that it was very interesting and excellent, and called Manager Wang a true professional. Wang Yuma decides to change position, intending to take a more comfortable one. Wang Yuma straightened up abruptly and let out a slight irritated breath. Wang Yuma, slightly confused. Jiang Chen looked at Wang Yumu and asked with a slight smile if this reminded her of the dream she had last night. Wang Yuma, lifting herself up on her hands, asked Jiang Chen with a smile and a hint whether he wanted to be with her. Jiang Chen, looking down at her, confidently replied that of course he wanted to. Wang Yuma, covering her eyes with her hand, called Jiang Chen bad with an embarrassed smile. Wang Yuma threw her head back and breathed heavily, letting out a loud and passionate exhalation. At the same time, Wang Liang in a colorful shirt and Zhou Lin were standing at the hotel reception desk, and Wang Liang asked for a single room. Wang Liang thought that sitting at home dying of boredom and apologizing to that weirdo was impossible, and only here could he breathe freely. The payment terminal displayed an unsuccessful transaction. The receptionist, holding the card, apologetically informed Wang Liang that the payment had not gone through. Wang Liang took out his wallet, suggested that perhaps the terminal was broken, and asked him to try again. The employee returned the card to Wang Liang, apologized, and said that there were insufficient funds on the card. Wang Liang clutched his head, remembering that he had recently bought a sports car and his credit cards had been blocked. Wang Liang hugged Zhou Lin and said that he would transfer the money for the room to her in the evening. Zhou Lin told Wang Liang that he had no money, but he was pretending to be an important person, and at her expense. Wang Liang clenched his fists and looked at Zhou Lin as she left, annoyed and humiliated. The receptionist handed Wang Liang a card and asked him if he needed help with his accommodation arrangements. Wang Liang, looking at the employee in confusion, asked who he should book the room with now that Zhou Lin had left. Wang Liang, after leaving the hotel, angrily called and demanded to know why his card was blocked. Wang Liang, looking at the phone, thought that his father had really gone against him and decided to try to find Wang Zhen and Chen Yu. Wang Liang, sitting on the steps with his face covered by his hand, looked depressed and confused. Wang Liang, meeting Wang Zhen and Chen Yu, noticed with a forced smile that they were also here. Wang Zhen and Chen Yu, while relaxing in the pool with the girls, listened to Wang Liang's request for help in meeting Jiang Chen. Wang Liang, squatting and looking at the phone, admitted to Brother Wang that he was wrong, realized his mistakes, and did not know what to do. Wang Zhen, sitting in the pool with the girl, asked why Wang Liang was apologizing to him. Wang Zhen, holding the phone, told Wang Liang that he could help but could not guarantee anything, and Wang Liang thanked him. Wang Zhen, standing in the water, asked his friend if he was doing the right thing by helping Wang Liang. The friend noticed that Wang Zhen was still as cunning as ever, and that even if Jiang Chen were to forgive him now, things were already bad for Wang Liang's family. Wang Zheng, holding a phone and standing in the water, agreed to help set the trap and confirm that he was fine. Jiang Chen received Zhou Lin's message and immediately agreed to her proposal to meet. At 7:30 in the evening, Wang Zheng joyfully greeted Jiang Chen and Zhou Lin, calling them brother and sister-in-law. Zhou Lin thought that they had been together for 2 days already, and that people around them thought they were a couple, but she decided to leave the explanation for later. Jiang Chen's friends stood at the entrance of the club, discussing whether everything was going according to plan, waiting for his actions. Jiang Chen ordered 3 bottles of champagne and several bottles of imported alcohol, and also asked for some fruit. The waiter, folding his hands in a gesture of respect, politely assured young Mr. Zhang that he would fulfill the order and arrange the atmosphere. A friend noticed that the waiter was acting too obsequiously and asked if he wanted to cause trouble. The waiter, smiling ingratiatingly, apologized to Jiang Chen and Zhou Lin, promising to settle everything immediately. Zhou Lin, with her finger on her chin, watched the scene with a slight smile. Girls in bunny costumes with large bottles of champagne approached Jiang Chen's table, wishing him luck. Zhou Lin remarked that she had never tried this alcohol, but if he didn't plan to take her home, she would be happy to try it. Jiang Chen turned to Zhou Lin and gently remarked that girls shouldn't drink too much at parties, and promised to take her home later. Zhou Lin thought that he never tried to force her to drink, and her favorability towards him increased by 5 points. Wang Liang, entering the club, was surprised to see Jiang Chen there too, and anxiously asked why he had come. Jiang Chen, noticing Wang Liang, reassured Zhou Lin, saying that she would understand everything now. Wang Liang bowed deeply to Jiang Chen, admitted that yesterday's quarrel was his fault, and asked him not to touch his family. Jiang Chen frowned and coldly asked if he should apologize to him. Wang Liang raised his head and asked in surprise if Jiang Chen remembered what happened. Jiang Chen, standing next to Zhou Lin, coldly reminded Wang Liang that he had offended his friend and demanded that he apologize to her. Zhou Lin, embarrassed, whispered to Jiang Chen that she was nothing. Zhou Lin realized that Jiang Chen had brought her here specifically so that Wang Liang could apologize to her. Wang Liang bowed low to Jiang Chen and Zhou Lin again, asking for forgiveness and promising not to argue with them again. Jiang Chen ironically remarked that Wang Liang was being too bold and suggested that he smash the wine bottle like he did yesterday. Jiang Chen stipulated that an educated person should not break bottles, and he asked Wang Liang to break 3 bottles. Wang Liang looked at Jiang Chen and thought that he didn't expect that this country bumpkin would come up with such a way to humiliate him. Jiang Chen looked at Wang Liang and asked him with a smile if he was ready for this test. Wang Liang grabbed the bottle and declared that he was willing to perform any trick to please young Master Jiang in order to unlock it. Wang Liang smashed the bottle against his head with all his might, and the pieces flew everywhere. A close-up is shown of Wang Liang smashing a bottle on his head, causing red liquid to spread across his face and clothes. Wang Liang, hitting himself on the head again, continued to break the bottle fragments. Wang Liang, covered in blood and wine, knelt on the floor, surrounded by shards, while the visitors looked at him in surprise. Jiang Chen, clasping his hands, ironically thanked Wang Liang for his performance and called him cool. The visitors whispered that Wang Liang mistook Jiang Chen for someone else, and his performance was truly powerful. Wang Liang, lying on the floor and breathing heavily, thought that he had finally finished with this episode. Jiang Chen, looking at the lying Wang Liang, coldly remarked that he should not die and ordered that this rubbish be removed. Zhou Lin suggested calling the police, but Jiang Chen reassured her, saying that he had not beaten her and that Wang Liang would not dare to complain. Jiang Chen raised his glass, thanked everyone for their support, and proposed a toast to those present. The girl in the bunny costume thought that if she had known that a couple of words could make a person smash a bottle over his head. Wang Zheng noticed that Wang Liang was afraid to show his true colors, and no one expected that Jiang Chen would deal with him so easily. Standing on the street, Zhou Lin awkwardly told Jiang Chen that she was not used to dealing with people she didn't know well. Zhou Lin added that she understood that Wang Liang wanted to apologize to her. Jiang Chen promised that when they went out to have fun, he would ensure that the strange guys would not bother them anymore. Zhou Lin, adjusting her hair, smiled and remarked that she didn't really care, and suggested that she go home and rest. Jiang Chen received several messages, including a request to stop video surveillance and a question about his plans for the day. Jiang Chen and his friends stood outside the building and discussed matters related to Wang Liang and his family. Wang Yuma grabbed Jiang Chen's hand and asked him a favor, looking at him with concern. Jiang Chen sat in his office chair and looked through the information on his phone. Jiang Chen read the report about Wang Liang's continued rampage and decided it was time to put him in his place. Wang Yuma, standing at the door, greeted Mr. Jiang Chen with a slight smile as he returned. Jiang Chen, with his arms outstretched, suddenly and tightly hugged Wang Yuma when they met, noticing that he hadn't seen her for a long time. Wang Yuma asked Jiang Chen to stop, afraid that someone would see them, but he reminded her of what she said in the morning. Wang Yuma hesitated, then agreed that there might indeed be people outside, and they decided to go inside together. Jiang Chen, sitting on the sofa, mockingly suggested to Wang Yume that they try hugging not on the bed, but on the sofa. Wang Yuma, kneeling on the floor in her gray suit and black stockings, pressed herself against Jiang Chen with a clouded gaze. 20 minutes later, at the Biles bar, a young man in glasses ordered a blue fairy while sitting at the counter. The man thought thoughtfully that Biles was a gay bar, where most of the patrons were looking for partners of the same sex. The man said he had a new lover, and that he hadn't made any promises, and his interlocutor noted that he turned out to be an asset. A waiter in a white vest approached the counter and politely served the man in glasses his drink. The man in glasses said that he was having a hard time and expressed hope that he would find true love. The man in glasses, raising his glass to his mouth, asked bitterly whether people like him had the right to a happy life. The pink-haired man smiled and replied that of course there was, and introduced himself as Zhuang Yu. The man in glasses, in turn, introduced himself as Li Manhan and invited Zhuang Yu to listen to his story. Zhuang Yu placed his hand on Li Manhan's shoulder and said that he was ready to listen to him until the end. Li Manhan thanked Zhuang Yu for his company and said that he needed to catch a flight to Thailand at 10 o'clock the next morning. Li Manhan explained that they had agreed to meet in Thailand together, but now he was going alone and considered this a farewell. Li Manhan said goodbye and waved his hand, saying that if fate brought them together again, they would definitely get in touch. Zhuang Yu thought that he had been acting as a crybaby all evening and had completely forgotten to take his interlocutor's phone number. Zhuang Yu decided that he couldn't miss out on this outstanding handsome man and started looking for plane tickets to Thailand for the following morning. Zhuang Yu, looking at the silhouette of the plane in the sky, thought with a smile that tomorrow everything would change and they would have a chance meeting on board. The next day after lunch, Jiang Chen, dressed in a light patterned shirt, walked calmly through the hall of the Thai airport. Wang Sheng, dressed in a formal gray suit and black tie, respectfully greeted Jiang Chen and introduced himself to him. Wang Sheng, opening the door of the black car, reported that Zhuang Yu had already left for the hotel. Jiang Chen walked into the spacious hotel lobby, looking around. In Jiang Chen's room, the guards gathered and tied up Zhuang Yu tightly, and the senior guard respectfully greeted the boss. One of the guards, standing in a gray suit, poured a bucket of cold water on the tied-up Zhuang Yu. Zhuang Yu tells Jiang Chen that he seems to want to have fun, and that he himself is delighted. Jiang Chen asked, since he enjoyed having fun so much, why hadn't he let Yu Xiaoxiu go yet? Zhuang Yu, looking at Jiang Chen with surprise and horror, asked in fear what he was doing here. Jiang Chen, without wasting words, kicked with all his might at the tied-up Zhuang Yu, who was sitting on the chair. Jiang Chen coldly reminded him that he had promised to shut him up forever the next time they met. Zhuang Yu, lying on the floor and looking at Jiang Chen, shouted in fear that murder was a crime and asked him to calm down. Jiang Chen noted that in Thailand, people die every day from poisoning by prohibited substances, drowning, or falls. Zhuang Yu declared that this was all because of Yu Xiaoxiu and begged to be left alone. Jiang Chen ordered Wang Sheng to take away all of Zhuang Yu's money, phone, and passport. Jiang Chen, looking at Zhuang Yu, calmly said that if he could return, then fate was on his side, and he did not dare to go against it. Zhuang Yu, left in his underwear and hugging himself from the cold and fear, was trembling as he squatted. Jiang Chen noted that he hadn't managed to sign the share contract last time, and since he was already in Thailand, he needed to check everything. Matsui, the major shareholder of Ting City, happily greeted Jiang Chen and said that they had finally met. Jiang Chen shook Matsu's hand and said he was glad to see him, and Matsu suggested that they not stand on ceremony and go into the office to discuss business. Matsu handed Jiang Chen the stock contract and asked if there was anything he didn't understand, but Jiang Chen took the pen and said that he trusted him. Jiang Chen recorded that the system confirmed that shareholding was a deadly alliance, and he signed the document. Matsu happily declared that from now on, they would be like one family, and promised to show Jiang Chen the local culture. Matsu laughed and said that if they needed anything, they could call at any time, and they went outside. In the car, Matsu explained that it was his first time in Thailand and offered to show him the night market with its authentic stalls and snacks. Jiang Chen agreed to Matsu's proposal, and the car headed towards the night market. Jiang Chen and Matsu were standing at the counter of the night market, Jiang Chen holding a fresh coconut in his hands and Matsu looking around. In an alley next to the market crowd, a little girl was crying for her mother, and her desperate cry attracted the attention of passers-by. Jiang Chen, noticing something suspicious, quickly handed the coconut to Matsu and asked him to help, preparing for action. Jiang Chen, running to the scene, forcefully pushed aside the aggressive man in a t-shirt who was attacking the girl. The man in the t-shirt, having received a powerful blow to the jaw, collapsed to the ground, and the little girl was left standing nearby in horror. Jiang Chen turned to the little girl in the pink dress, asking her name, why she was alone, and where her parents were. And I replied that she came with her mother, but her mother did not allow her to try the cuttlefish, so she ran away when her mother turned away. Jiang Chen tilted his head slightly and smiled, thinking to himself that this girl was a naughty child. Jiang Chen, still squatting, asked Annie if she remembered her mother's phone number, and she nodded in the affirmative. Jiang Chen handed the girl his phone so she could call her mother. 10 minutes later, a woman in a beige jacket and warm dress ran up to them, pressing her hands to her chest in gratitude. Anne Shin scolded her daughter for running away again despite warnings and threatened that she might be kidnapped by bad people. And Ni, with frightened tears, promised her mother that she would not run away anymore, and her mother relented. And Shin, wiping away her daughter's tears, calmed her down and promised not to beat her again. And Shin thanked him for saving her daughter, and he sternly warned her that it was dangerous and that the child needed to be watched. And Shin, with a guilty smile, agreed with the warning and promised to be more careful next time. Little Annie took Jiang Chen's hand and asked him not to blame his mother, because she herself was naughty. Jiang Chen stroked the girl's head and asked her to obey her mother and not run away anymore, and she happily agreed. Jiang Chen offered to give them a ride, but she declined, saying she had already called security and asked his name so she could treat him to a meal tomorrow. And Shin, curiously asking where he was from, learned that he was from the city of Ruo, and noted that he would most likely leave tomorrow. Shin noticed that this was a coincidence and asked Jiang Chen for his phone number so she could add him to the messenger. Shin said that she would see him later, and taking her daughter by the hand, she left with a man in a formal suit who approached. Shin thought that Jiang Chen was probably not an ordinary person and decided not to spread rumors so as not to harm him. Jiang Chen, wearing a gray robe, was lying on the sofa in the living room when his parents returned home and noticed him in surprise. Jiang Chen's father sat down next to him and asked his son with interest if he had bought anything, and Jiang Chen smiled and handed him a box containing a watch. Jiang Chen smiled slightly and handed his mother an elegant purple handbag, saying that it was a gift from her. The mother, taking the bag and looking at it, happily noticed that Jiang Chen chose gifts better than his father, and that the bag was simply awesome. The father, hugging his wife and looking at the gift, proudly said that his son was his heir and asked how much the watch cost. Jiang Chen said the watch was worth tens of thousands, but added that if his father knew the real price, his mother would not let him wear it. His mother hinted at girls at the office party, but Jiang Chen waved his hand, said he'd better go shopping, and asked not to wait for him for dinner. The parents, sitting on the sofa, were surprised to notice how their son had grown and wondered if he would now be able to provide for them. His mother remarked that he could talk less, otherwise he would spoil the atmosphere, and fortunately, his son did not inherit his habit. In Taizong City, Jiang Chen stood in a crowd with someone he knew, looking at the brightly colored signs. Jiang Chen, hearing passers-by talking about a girl who would soon become someone's bride, was surprised in his mind and thought of Zhou Lin. Wang Yun knelt down in front of Zhou Lin and confessed his love to her, asking her to marry him. The girl standing next to her noted with envy that the ring cost tens of thousands, and even the guy admitted that he would have agreed. Wang Yun said that she was scared and added that he chose the ring with ducats so that in the future he could order one with diamonds. Zhou Lin, with a serious expression, threatened Wang Yun that she would leave if he continued. Wang Yun, holding the box high, declared that there was no need to rush and that he still had some trump cards up his sleeve. An unfamiliar man in a dark jacket suddenly appeared in the crowd and confidently pointed his finger forward. A crowd gathered around Zhou Lin and Wang Yun with banners of support, and Wang Yun, holding flowers and a ring, looked at them with hope. Jiang Chen stood to the side and watched the system interface displaying the user information for the refund card. Jiang Chen thought that the last time the food cashback brought in more than 200 million, and this time the return on purchases would be even greater. Wang Yun, noticing that Zhou Lin was silent, smugly declared that he would take this as her consent. Jiang Chen offered Zhou Lin another flower and said that if she liked it, she could consider him her boyfriend. One viewer noted that the flower guy was using flowers without rings or chains, noting that some of the flowers had even wilted. Wang Yun said that the girl had to be paid for, and if he couldn't afford even simple flowers, then he'd better go home and sleep. The audience joked that one guy drives a fancy car while the other brings wildflowers, and they find it hard to watch. Wang Yun demanded that she surrender, promising to take her to get the diamond ring and not let her resist. Zhu Lin, taking a bouquet of wildflowers in her hands, smiled and said that she liked these flowers. Wang Yun turned to the people standing nearby and asked suspiciously if this was a scam, and the onlookers began to make noise. Jiang Chen said that he was very picky when choosing the flower, and Zhou Lin, holding the flower, confirmed that she really liked it. Wang Yun said that he was putting a spoke in her wheel and gave her one last chance, but Zhou Lin shook her head and replied that she didn't need this chance. Jiang Chen said that Zhou Lin had already made it clear that she was not interested in him and advised him to act like a man. Wang Yun, clutching the ring box in his hand, angrily shouted at Jiang Chen that he would not be able to make Zhou Lin happy. Jiang Chen noticed that he couldn't know whether he could make Zhou Lin happy and asked how much she had spent a month ago. Wang Yun replied that it was 50,000, and despite the problems in her family, he would be able to settle everything. Wang Yun, standing with a bouquet of roses, said that he could give Zhou Lin a ride, buy her a necklace, or buy her 99 roses at once. Zhou Lin turned to Jiang Chen and looked up at him, replying that she liked it, but it all depended on who was saying it. Zhou Lin smiled and said that if the gift was from Jiang Chen, then of course she would agree. Jiang Chen said that he was putting on a show like an actor in a drama and offered him 100,000 if he would just leave. Wang Yun said that Jiang Chen must be laughing and asked if he knew how much his car was worth. A girl approached, holding a handbag in her hands, and told Jiang Chen that he had a leaky item and offered to put it in his bag. Jiang Chen waved his hand and asked to put this thing directly into the car. Passers-by exclaimed that it was a Porsche 918 and noted that the girl most likely agreed. Jiang Chen pointed at the car and asked Wang Yun ironically if his car was bad, to which he reluctantly admitted that it was quite good. Wang Yun, standing in the crowd with a bouquet in his hands, thought bitterly how he had disgraced himself while boasting about his wealth. Zhou Lin asked if she was causing him trouble, and explained that Wang Yun was her mother's friend's son, but she had no feelings for him. Zhou Lin, holding a cup of coffee, told Jiang Chen with a smile that he was still as cunning as he was in school. Jiang Chen smiled slightly and asked in surprise if the school goddess had actually noticed him. Zhou Lin recalled that at that time, her home was strict, she hardly interacted with her classmates and felt like a ghost. Jiang Chen said that she was not a ghost, but rather underestimated herself too much. She was the most noticeable person at school. Zhou Lin, taking a sip of coffee, noticed that she didn't have that many admirers. Jiang Chen replied that many people felt that they were not her equal, and Zhou Lin, with a slight smile, asked what about him. Zhou Lin said that she went to school to study, not to build a relationship, and then asked what was going on with Zhao Li. Jiang Chen, slightly lowering his gaze, admitted that in fact he only communicated with her on Messenger, and they had already broken up. Zhou Lin said that if she could turn back time, she would go back to middle school and have fun with Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen noted that her favor towards him was growing slowly, and that she was more difficult to conquer than an ordinary girl. Jiang Chen told the system that there was no need to tell him what to do. He himself knew how to conquer. Jiang Chen took Zhou Lin's hand and suggested that they take a walk around that store, and she agreed. Zhou Lin, feeling Jiang Chen's hand holding hers, was slightly embarrassed but didn't say anything. The saleswoman at the jewelry store greeted Jiang Chen and immediately asked to see the piece of jewelry that was on the poster. The saleswoman said they had excellent taste and explained that the total weight of the diamonds was 0.7 carats. Jiang Chen asked her if she liked the decoration, and she, surprised, asked again if he was really asking her opinion. Jiang Chen recalled that she said she liked everything he gave her, but she replied that she was joking, and he seriously stated that he was not joking. Zhou Lin, looking at the display case, thought that their relationship had not yet reached the stage where they gave such gifts. Zhou Lin picked up the gold chain and placed it on her neck, looking thoughtfully at herself in the reflection. Jiang Chen, standing behind her, said with a smile that the jewelry suited her very well, and she confirmed that it was indeed beautiful. Jiang Chen asked the saleswoman to pack both the bracelet and the watch together, but Zhou Lin objected that it was too much. Jiang Chen insisted, and the saleswoman, realizing that he was not joking, was already packing the purchases. The saleswoman noted that for him, $1 million was like buying a simple toy, and that he chose expensive things. Jiang Chen, thinking that today was definitely a lucky day, bought a gift for Zhou Lin and returned a lot of money in the process. Jiang Chen, standing at the old entrance, asked Zhou Lin what floor she lived on, and noticed that there didn't seem to be an elevator. Zhou Lin explained that her father bought this apartment, and most of the houses were demolished, leaving only this one. Zhou Lin said that his mother was probably upstairs and he could go back, to which he agreed and said goodbye until they met. Zhou Lin's mother remarked that the meeting with Wang Yun must have gone well, since he gave her so many things. Zhou Lin, holding the bags in her hands, explained to her mother that she had not met Wang Yun and did not love him, and the gifts were not from him. Zhou Lin's mother explained that they were left with debts after her father's death, and the Wang family promised to help if she married Wang Yun. Zhou Lin's mother added that she didn't like Wang Yun, but their families knew each other well, and if she married him, there would be nothing to worry about. Zhou Lin looked at her mother and asked if she was looking for a job, and noted that she was helping her, and that she knew Wang Yun. Zhou Lin's mother sighed and said that it would take many years of work to pay off millions of dollars in debt, and that Wang Yun had promised to improve. Zhou Lin said that she would not persuade her to meet with Wang Yun, and her mother exclaimed in surprise that she was saying such a thing. Zhou Lin's mother asked if it was really a gift from a classmate and demanded that she tell him honestly whether it was because of him that she had rejected Wang Yun. Zhou Lin, slightly averting her gaze, replied that they were just classmates who met by chance and ate together. Zhou Lin's mother remarked that an ordinary classmate could not afford to give such an expensive gift at dinner. Zhou Lin countered that her classmates were very wealthy, and such gifts were not a problem for them. Zhou Lin replied passionately that she would never be with him for money, but only if she liked him. The mother explained that marriage without money is suffering, and she does not want her daughter to repeat her fate. Zhou Lin, taking the bags, categorically declared that she knew what she wanted and went to her room, leaving her mother alone. Zhou Lin's mother, looking at her daughter leaving, bitterly noted that she should not be like her, who had followed her father all her life. The next day, Jiang Chen, standing in the kitchen wearing a duck t-shirt and holding a carton of milk, answered the phone in surprise. An Xin handed the phone to An Ni, who excitedly invited Jiang Chen to her birthday party. Jiang Chen smiled and agreed to please An Ni on her birthday, and said that he would meet them tomorrow. Jiang Chen, wearing a red hoodie, met An Ni and An Xin on the street, and the girl happily rushed to him, saying that she had missed him very much. An Xin, standing next to her daughter, sternly reminded her to obey her mother, and they went to choose gifts. An Ni, tightly hugging Jiang Chen's leg, declared that she loved him and only wanted his gift, and she didn't need gifts from others. Ani added that her mother also loved Jiang Chen, and Anshin, hearing this, embarrassedly asked her daughter not to say such a thing. Anshin explained to Jiang Chen that she simply told her husband how he saved Ani and asked him not to misunderstand her. Jiang Chen turned around and smiled, saying that everything was fine and calling her Shin's sister. Jiang Chen took Annie's hand and happily suggested that they go and buy a birthday present, and they ran ahead. And Shin, covering her cheeks with her palms, was slightly surprised by their enthusiasm and smiled happily. Jiang Chen, Anshin, and Annie stood in the shopping mall, holding teddy bears in their hands, and the three of them looked happy and contented. Passers-by noticed that the three looked cool. The guy was handsome, and the girl was cute, and the woman remarked that she also wanted to have a child. While crossing the street at the crosswalk, Anshin thanked Jiang Chen for giving Annie a birthday present. Jiang Chen, holding the sleeping Annie in his arms, said that the most important thing was her happiness. A man with glasses, standing at a distance, was surprised to recognize Jiang Chen and noticed that he was holding a child, and there was a woman next to him. The man wondered if this girl, who looked to be 4 or 5 years old, was Jiang Chen's daughter with this woman. Jiang Chen stood next to Anshin, surrounded by romantic glowing bubbles and white roses. The man thought that their family life was different because when his son was little, he watched cartoons and couldn't do such things. The man wondered if she was seducing his son and why she was so different from him in character and appearance. A man with glasses stood in the crowd and, noticing that Jiang Chen was not leaving, asked who he was waiting for. The elderly man standing next to the man with glasses looked at him in surprise. Passers-by were discussing that Mrs. Anne had also come to eat and was having fun with her daughter. Jiang Chen, a bead of sweat was visible on his face. Jiang Chen, holding Annie in his arms, turned around and asked his father in surprise what he was doing here. Jiang Chen, holding the sleeping Annie in his arms, smiled and told his father that he was seeing them off. Anshin greeted Jiang Chen's father, saying that she had heard a lot about him from Jiang Chen and would soon come to visit them with Annie. Jiang Chen's father looked at Anshin with a puzzled expression, thinking that his son often talked about him, and the woman wanted to come visit. Jiang Chen's father, watching Jiang Chen and Anshin leave, decided to do everything possible to prevent her from hanging around his son. The older man was surprised to notice that he knew Mrs. Anne and said that this project was definitely their company's. Jiang Chen's father, looking into the distance, suspiciously wondered who this woman was and whether Jiang Chen was somehow connected with her. An hour later, Jiang Chen's father was sitting in the living room with a cup of tea and, noticing his son entering, reminded him of the conversation about meeting beauties. Jiang Chen, tying his sneakers, replied with irritation that no one went on blind dates these days, and he didn't need it. Jiang Chen's mother, standing nearby, insistently demanded that her son tell her everything about the girlfriend he had just found. Jiang Chen looked back at his mother and said with a slight confusion that it was a bit complicated and he would talk about it later. Jiang Chen's father noticed that he had been thinking about this all night and hadn't wanted to interfere, but now he seemed to have to. Jiang Chen looked at his father with surprise and asked if he wanted to say something. Jiang Chen frowned and replied in bewilderment that yes, it was about Anshin, so what if she had a child? Jiang Chen's father worriedly said that today's youth looked at the world differently, and if he wanted to marry them, they would have a lot of problems. Jiang Chen's father added that Anshin seemed to be quite a rich woman, and his son's opportunities were different from hers. Jiang Chen said with a grin that he could hear himself, and added that his father himself had decided that he had become a gigolo and had made all this up. Jiang Chen, having seated his parents on the sofa, said that he would tell them about what happened a couple of days ago in Thailand. Jiang Chen, sitting in a chair and spreading his arms out to the sides, gestured that everything was exactly as he said. Jiang Chen's mother, touching her husband's shoulder, said with relief that he had scared her half to death, and she had already thought that she would become a grandmother. Jiang Chen read the news where the gossip about Suan and her ex-boyfriend was being discussed, and his gaze was focused and thoughtful. The phone screen displayed photos of Suan in a blue suit, with her embarrassed face being discussed in the comments. A post appeared on the feed with a photo of Suan in a black dress and a scandalous headline about her deliberately ruining takes. A screenshot of Lin Hu slapping Suan went viral online, with viewers debating whether it was a fight or a performance. In another video, Lin Hu aggressively attacked Suan, with commentators making fun of her for being fake. Jiang Chen, after reviewing the publications, concluded that these were special personnel for promotion through hired bots. Wang Zheng said with a cold face that he didn't care, but he would destroy Lin Hu. Suan, standing next to the silver sports car, noted with admiration that she expected nothing less from such a handsome boss. In the car, Suan asked shyly why he was looking at her like that, and if he was hot, he smiled and offered to help her undress. Suan, pulling herself together, said that they should go and that she would treat him to something, and then they set off. Jiang Chen and Suan sat in the VIP room of a hot pot restaurant at a wooden table with boiling broth, herbs, and beer. Suan, closing her eyes and throwing her head back, drank beer in large gulps straight from the neck of a green bottle. Suwon put down the empty bottle, exhaled, and admitted that she felt worthless and unable to cope with problems. Jiang Chen remarked that it was okay and advised her to fight back if attacked. Suwon, applying a napkin to her face, thanked Jiang Chen for his help and said that his sister was already doing her PR. Jiang Chen, sitting opposite Suwon, was surprised that she was still acting as an extra, since she hadn't signed a contract with his company, and Suwon explained that the filming of her current project was almost finished. The phone on the table vibrated with a notification that the boss had launched a campaign against Lin Hu. Jiang Chen, sitting at the table and typing on his phone, acknowledged the receipt of the instructions and continued to monitor the development of the situation. Jiang Chen, sitting at the dining table, reached out and took the bottle of beer from Suwon with a smile, noting that she had enough drinking. Suwon asked him not to stop her and to let her drink to forget about her problems. Jiang Chen carried Suwon in his arms, who was delirious about how she could still drink and didn't understand where she had been brought. Suwon, lying on the bed and grabbing Jiang Chen's hand, begged him not to leave and stay with her. Jiang Chen took a step back, exclaimed in fear and surprise that she should stay with him, and tried to free himself. Suwon, lying on the bed with a drunken smile and a sly squint, let out a quiet, slightly mocking laugh. Jiang Chen, looking at Suwon, mentally noted that she had an outstanding figure, and that he almost choked. Jiang Chen, sitting on the bed next to the sleeping Suwon, thought with irritation that he felt sorry for her, but the situation made him angry. Jiang Chen, looking at her, decided that taking advantage of someone else's vulnerability would ruin the whole impression, and he should act slowly. Jiang Chen leaned towards Suwon, trying to get away. Suwon's feet slid across Jiang Chen's groin. Jiang Chen struggled to free his leg and tried to get out of bed, but Suwon continued to hold him down. Jiang Chen thought that she was not calming down even in her sleep, and decided to deal with it later. Jiang Chen's hand, still touching Suwon's body, froze in indecision. Jiang Chen and Suwon were lying on the bed in a very close position. They were kissing. Suwon, lying on her back with her hair disheveled, was breathing heavily, her face flushed, and her gaze was fixed on the ceiling. Jiang Chen leaned towards Suwon's face, and she bit her lip and let out a stifled groan. Suwon, lying on the bed and looking at Jiang Chen, asked with surprise and a little fear what he was doing and tried to move away. Jiang Chen, kneeling over Suwon, thought with irritation that it was she who started this, but in the end, he was the one who was to blame. Jiang Chen, touching his temple with his hand, said tiredly that his head was splitting and asked what she wanted from him. Jiang Chen whispered that he only remembered how they sat in the restaurant, but he didn't remember at all how they got to the hotel. Jiang Chen, sitting on the bed, pulled away from Suwon and ordered her to take her hands off, and she mentally marveled that her boss had such a gorgeous body. Suwon looked away and thought that perhaps it was because of the alcohol that she had lost control of herself. Jiang Chen said that his head was splitting terribly and suggested that he go to bed, but Suwon replied that she would not disturb him. Suwon was surprised to realize that she had never been so close to a man before, and she felt like she was hungry. The next morning, Suwon was sitting by the window in a cafe, holding a cup of coffee and a phone, and exclaimed in surprise when she saw the news. Suwon asked how so much dirt on her could have appeared in just one night. Suwon, holding a sandwich in her hand and looking at Jiang Chen, asked with a smile if this was his doing. Jiang Chen replied that she must think that his company was full of lazy people. Suwon admitted that she had never been treated like this in the company before, and she didn't know how to thank Jiang Chen. Suwon gratefully promised Jiang Chen to give her 100% to regain her popularity and profits. Jiang Chen noted that this was only the beginning, and the incriminating evidence was not enough to completely destroy Lin Hu. Suwon mentally noted that Jiang Chen had spent a lot of money to destroy the star for her sake. Suwon, slightly lowering her gaze and blushing, thought that her boss's capabilities simply frightened her. Jiang Chen noted with irony that he was dealing with Lin Hu, and she was acting as if he was pestering her. Jiang Chen noticed with a smile that she had not been so careful before and asked why she was so nervous. Suwon asked him in bewilderment how he managed to remain calm, and he replied that one had to be thick-skinned. At Tianwan Agency, Director Chow bitterly stated that years of work had been wasted, and the comments were working against them. Manager Lin Hu explained to the director that she was on set and the attack was clearly planned by competitors. Director Chow, clasping his hands on the table, asked in surprise why such a scandal had erupted over a minor actress. Lin Hu, holding her chest and looking at Director Chow, indignantly declared that Suwon was just a nobody and that she was incapable of such a thing. Director Chow noted that the slap was already in the script, and such a stir was excellent advertising for their new film. Director Chow said that he had already promoted other news, to which Lin Hu promised to give his best. The employee reported that the head of the Xingchen company was behind this scandal and was ready to pay 20 million. Director Chow, jumping up from his seat and leaning on the table, asked in shock whether they were really talking about 20 million. Director Chow asked if this was related to Chief Xingchen and if she had deceived him again. Lin Hu, standing among her colleagues and touching her chest, admitted with a confused look that she didn't remember anything at all. Director Chow, standing behind the desk, gave Lin Hu one last chance to explain everything, but the manager assumed that the problem was still Su Wan. Director Chow recalled that Xingchen's company recently bought out Su Wan's contract and approved her for the leading roles. Lin Hu admitted that she didn't know about Su Wan's transfer to another company and that she simply decided to teach her a lesson. Lin Hu grabbed Director Chow's hand and desperately asked what she should do now and begged for help. Director Chow replied that they would have to pay 15 million for their silence and gave the appropriate orders. Lin Hu thanked him and promised never to make such mistakes again, but he sternly warned that this was the last time. Yu Xiaoxiu pointed out to Zhang Chen that Tianwan Agency had made a counteroffer of 5 million to save its protege. Zhang Chen noted that the system promptly suggested the required amount, and he is ready to invest the money in development. Yu Xiaoxiu, upon hearing the amount, exclaimed in surprise that it was 100 million. Su Wan, sitting with a fork in her hand, listened to the conversation and thought that even 100 million was not the limit for Zhang Chen. Yu Xiaoxiu, with a little worry, noted that 100 million was too much for them. After all, their company had just opened. Zhang Chen, looking into the distance, calmly replied that he was just starting out in business, and money was just the foundation. Zhang Chen gave a toast with a confident smile, declaring that he intended to go all the way and leave his mark on the industry. Yu Xiaoxiu, sitting at her laptop, said with a grin that she would immediately publish a post in support of their actions. A group of young people in the VIP box were discussing with surprise that the Xingchen company had spent 100 million to drown Lin Hu. One of the guys, hearing Zhang Chen's name, asked in surprise if he knew him. Another guy recalled that they saw Zhang Chen at the auction, and he spent a lot of money, and even more the next day. The guy noticed that at first he thought Zhang Chen was an inexperienced rich heir, but now he sees that he is a very cruel guy. One of the guys asked if the celebrity was his girlfriend, and the other one replied that there was nothing between them. The golden-haired guy noticed that Zhang Chen was a very interesting person, and it was worth inviting him out for a drink. The managers said that they would not be able to raise 100 million, and in case of failure they would have to pay everything out of their own pockets. Director Chiao suggested that Lin Hu should work off all the losses herself and, if she failed, send her to film adult movies. Director Chow turned to Lin Hu and mockingly noted that she had cried a lot and asked if she now regretted her actions. Lin Hu pleaded with Director Chow, begging him not to send her to such a shoot, and promised to apologize to Su Wan. Director Chow remarked that she should be the one crawling on her knees before them, but in the end, he decided to personally arrange a meeting with Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen's parents discussed how they had acquired an amusement park through the project with An Xin and promised to buy their son what he wanted. A staff member in a formal suit greeted Zhang Chen's father and informed him that Master Zhang Chen was already here and everything was ready. Zhang Chen's father adjusted his glasses and asked in surprise if these idiots didn't understand who would pay for the purchase. Zhang Chen explained that his birthday was coming soon, but he would be leaving for school, and decided to make a surprise in advance. The employee in the gray jacket pointed to the item covered with cloth and asked Master Jiang to open it. Zhang Chen's father forcefully pulled the cloth aside, revealing a shiny, dark car. Zhang Chen's father exclaimed in shock upon seeing the gift, and Zhang Chen, who was standing next to him, watched his reaction with a satisfied smile. Zhang Chen's mother proudly noted that her son loved his father very much since he bought him such an expensive car. Zhang Chen's father, touching the car, said that at first he wanted a Porsche, but at the exhibition he saw the perfect supercar and bought it without hesitation. Zhang Chen, looking at his father, thought that his father was very happy with the car, but he didn't want to reveal his investment details yet. A female photographer suggested that Master Zhang Chen take a family photo as a keepsake, and they all gathered together for the photo. In the center of the photograph stood the happy parents with Zhang Chen, hugging each other, while colorful balloons flew around. Zhang Chen, after reading the message on his phone from Zhou Lin, told his father that he needed to be in Shanghai tomorrow. Zhang Chen's father adjusted his glasses and was surprised to see that it was so soon, as he had been planning to go jogging with his son. Zhang Chen's mother noticed that their son was already grown up and had his own plans, and suggested that they take him for a run instead. Zhang Chen, standing to the side, smiled to himself and thought that his mother was simply the best, and she always knew how to fool his father. The next day, Zhou Lin stood in line at the airport security checkpoint, holding a pink bag. Zhou Lin, bending over to pick up her bag, suddenly gasped when someone from behind unexpectedly placed a hand on her back. Zhou Lin turned around and exclaimed in surprise when she saw Zhang Chen standing in front of her. Zhang Chen, taking Zhou Lin's bag and his suitcase, said with a smile that he didn't want to let her go alone and decided to fly with her. Zhou Lin noticed the high friendship level of 88 points and wondered if this meant a romantic relationship. Jolin looked at Jiang Chen and asked him why he was looking at her like that, and he replied with a smile that he was looking at her because she was beautiful. Jolin pulled herself together, said that it was time to go then, and headed forward. Sitting in the airplane seat, Jolin looked nervous while holding the arm of the seat, and Jiang Chen asked what was wrong. Jolin explained that she had a fear of flying since childhood, but she would try to overcome it, and Jiang Chen gently reassured her. Jolin leaned back in her chair and replied with relief that she was already fine. Jiang Chen looked at Jolin, said her name with a smile, and leaned towards her slightly. Jiang Chen gently kissed Jolin on the lips, and she kissed him back, their hands intertwined. Jiang Chen and Jolin sat in the airplane seat in a very close position, their faces touching each other, and a gentle kissing sound was heard. The flight attendant who approached with a tray, noticing them, asked shyly if they would like a hot towel. Jolin pointed out that they were on a plane and could be seen, and he replied with a smile that kissing on a plane was not prohibited by law. Jolin, with her head buried in Jiang Chen's shoulder, admitted that she was tired and a little dizzy, and he suggested that she sleep. Jiang Chen offered to give Jolin a ride, but she refused, saying that if he gave her a ride, he would have to drive back. Jolin, already standing on the sidewalk, thoughtfully thought that their relationship was not at that stage yet. Jiang Chen asked her to text him when she got there, and they agreed to have dinner another time. Jiang Chen, standing with his hands in his pockets, thought to himself that Jolin must have been scared on the plane, and decided not to rush things. Returning to the room, Wang Yuma greeted Jiang Chen with a smile and asked whether he wanted to eat or take a bath first. Jiang Chen, tiredly taking off his jacket, replied that he was too tired today and would take a shower first. Wang Yuma looked at him and noticed that he had lost a lot of weight, and thought that Jiang Chen was being too formal with her. Jiang Chen offered Wang Yuma a back massage, and she noted that he transferred 100,000 to her, but she did not know that everything was over between them. Wang Yuma thought that even though Jiang Chen was not a faithful man, and even a scoundrel, she still missed him. Wang Yuma, standing in the bathroom and taking off her underwear, thought that even if this tenderness was fleeting, she would gladly accept it. Wang Yuma turned to Jiang Chen with a slight smile and admitted that the last few days at home had been unbearable for her. Wang Yuma stood under the shower, completely relaxed, with her eyes wide open and her mouth slightly open, surrendering to the flow of water. Wang Yuma, standing in the corridor wearing only a towel, trembled slightly, holding the cloth with her hand. Jiang Chen, noticing her, asked why she was so shy and suggested they have a snack first, as he was tired after the flight. Jiang Chen came closer and noticed with a slight smile that he didn't look tired at all, and Wang Yuma felt embarrassed when she heard his words. Jiang Chen carried Wang Yuma to the bed in his arms, and she, touching his shoulder, embarrassedly admitted that this was not what she had meant, and took the blame on herself. Jiang Chen, pressing Wang Yuma onto the bed, let out a quiet laugh with a satisfied smile. Wang Yuma woke up and looked at her phone, surprised to see that she had slept until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and wondered how to explain this to the staff. Wang Yuma, throwing on her shirt, was surprised that Jiang Chen had hardly slept and spent the whole night with her. Jiang Chen asked why she was panicking, to which Wang Yuma replied that she was not working and would now order her lunch. Jiang Chen reminded her with a grin that her job was to serve the customer and asked her to stay with him for a little while longer. Wang Yuma said that they might be seen, but he objected that she was his woman and it was perfectly normal for them to sleep together. Wang Yuma asked who they were to each other now, and whether she was his girlfriend, remembering his words about her being his woman. Jiang Chen said that if she wanted to be his girlfriend, she would be, and she asked in confusion what did it mean if I wanted to. Jiang Chen smiled and philosophically remarked that, as long as she wanted to be with him, she was his girlfriend, and if not, then no. Wang Yuma looked at Jiang Chen with concern and asked if there was even a drop of tenderness in his heart for her. Jiang Chen confirmed with a slight smile that he definitely liked her, otherwise he wouldn't have hugged her. Wang Yuma, touching his cheek, asked him not to bring other women next time, as she did not want to share him, and he promised. Wang Yuma gently pulled Jiang Chen's hand and said that they should accept the car first, and he smiled and got up from the bed. Jiang Chen signed the documents handed to him by a worker in a blue uniform, confirming receipt of the car. Workers use special equipment to open a container containing a new black supercar, undergoing customs inspection. Passers-by noted that it was a Porsche 918 with the license plate Tianfu, and that the owner was a real rich man. At this time, Director Wang, sitting in his car, asked with irritation what was happening ahead and why the road was blocked. The employee said that it was Mr. Jiang Chen's car and promised to clear everything up quickly. Director Wang noticed that his car had been parked there for ages and asked if he couldn't park it somewhere else. The employee promised to ask the client to move the car, but he was surprised inwardly since he himself had ordered to please the master Jiang Chen. The employee, kneeling next to the new machine, touched its body with a slight tremor, not knowing how to report the situation. Jiang Chen, sitting behind the wheel and resting his head on his hand, asked Manager Zhao, who had approached him, with a smile what had happened. Manager Jay reported the problem, and Director Wang, standing nearby, noted that he did not know that this was a gold mine for their hotel. Director Wang quickly assured him that nothing terrible had happened, and that he was simply wondering who was emitting such a powerful aura. Director Wang asked if everything was okay, to which Jiang Chen replied that everything was fine, and promised to contact him if he needed anything. Jiang Chen asked Director Wang to help him change Tianfu's numbers to Shanghai numbers, and not just any numbers, but special ones. Director Wang replied that at the last auction in Amanyangan, a client had bought the number and he would try to negotiate its resale. Jiang Chen thoughtfully remarked that the numbers from the auction must be really worthwhile. An hour later, Director Wang informed Jiang Chen over the phone that everything had been arranged and they would meet at the Wrong family's restaurant on the Bund. Director Wang, standing next to Jiang Chen in the hall, invited him to sit down, as his interlocutor should already be there. An elegant woman in a black blouse and a white skirt with a slit, with long loose hair, appeared at the door of the restaurant. Jiang Chen was surprised and used the system to scan her, seeing all her parameters, including her appearance. Jiang Chen noticed that this woman's loyalty stat was 129, meaning she had no romantic interest. Director Wang, smiling slightly, greeted the woman who approached, but did not have time to finish his sentence. The woman approached the table and asked Chairman Jiang with slight surprise what he was doing there, and her voice sounded familiar. Director Wang looked at her with a puzzled expression and asked in surprise what was going on, not understanding their behavior. Jiang Chen looked at the woman with a slight surprise, thinking that she was acting too familiarly and did not understand her intentions. The woman leaned slightly toward the table and asked if he had forgotten about her investment company, Xingge. Jiang Chen remembered that the name seemed familiar to him and realized that it was the company he managed. The woman, with a slight sadness in her voice, asked if he had really forgotten about her. Jiang Chen playfully slapped the woman on the butt and noticed that he was simply busy with things and had completely relaxed. Director Wang thought that Jiang Chen had just slapped her, indicating a close relationship, even though she was known as the Ice Queen. Symbols of her achievements appeared next to the woman. She graduated from a prestigious foreign university and became an investment genius at the age of 19. Director Wang noted that he, at such a young age, founded a company with a capital of 500 million and completely subjugated Chen Shuer. Director Wang thought that such a beauty was managing his affairs, and if this was not an affair, then the 18-year-old youth was truly scary. Chen Shuer told Director Wang that she never imagined that the person they wanted to introduce to her would turn out to be her own boss. Director Wang noted that Jiang Chen had long been known for his promising company and capable assistant. Jiang Chen raised his glass and invited Director Wang to drop the formalities and make himself at home. Chen Shuer, sitting on a chair and adjusting her hair, asked Jiang Chen whether he had had time to familiarize himself with the documents on the promising projects. Jiang Chen noted that she had made 20 million in profit in a week and said out loud that he had skimmed the documentation and would study it in the evening. Chen Shuer smiled and said that she had understood his intentions, and since she came to the company, he had never contacted her. Jiang Chen, sitting next to Chen Shuer, confirmed that he was the one who wanted to buy the number for 5 million. Director Wang, looking at them, noticed with surprise that they were from the same company and did not need to be introduced. Chen Shuer said that since he was her boss, she could charge the room rate to the company account. Chen Shuer, blushing slightly, said with a smile that she would look forward to Chairman Jiang's visit. Jiang Chen answered the call and told his interlocutor that he had just arrived in Shanghai yesterday and was on vacation and had agreed to meet with friends. Jiang Chen met his friend and they shook hands in front of luxury cars. A friend, looking at a new supercar, noticed that its license plates and license were excellent, and they matched perfectly with the plates of another friend of theirs. Jiang Chen said that this number was given to him by a beauty he wanted to pay, but she did not agree. The friend remarked that, knowing his talent as a seducer, he was not surprised by his success, and added that the owner of the collection today was also a woman. The friend replied that she didn't seem very old, but she already had children. The friend added that it would be difficult with children, but everyone had seen his skill at flirting, and it was time to show what he was capable of. Jiang Chen objected that the enemy had told him about his weak teeth, and he dreamed of being supported by a rich lady. The golden-haired friend said that it was enough to clownish around and reminded that according to an old tradition, he was the one who was treating the others today. A friend of Jiang Chen's noticed that the owner of this museum was one of the largest collectors and asked if there would be any specimens there. The butler in a black tailcoat standing at the entrance respectfully invited the gentleman to come inside, announcing that the hostess was still on her way. In the reception room, a servant girl served the gentleman tea and snacks, and they accepted the treat with gratitude. The butler, standing by the display case, drew the guest's attention to a starry watch with a stunning dial. Jiang Chen touched his chin and thought that the diamond rings, necklaces, and watches were only the best lots. The golden-haired friend asked in surprise if Jiang Chen was really only interested in the cuffs that cost 1.5 million. A friend joked that Jiang Chen's back wouldn't fall off after driving at night, and that such a thing would be a real magnet for girls. The golden-haired friend noticed that he and his friends buy watches to tell the time, and not for dirty thoughts. Zhang Chen, raising his hand to his head, declared that if his friend didn't want this watch, then he should give it to him, because the girls would run after him. The golden-haired friend noticed that there would be a ton of girls, and he couldn't handle it alone, but he didn't seem to like the other watches. The friend in the red shirt, taking a sip from the bottle, was surprised to think that Jiang Chen was only looking at the 8-figure price tags. The golden-haired friend said that Jiang Chen had been aiming for a cool watch all this time and decided to show off and steal all the attention. The friend asked the butler if the watch was for sale, and he replied that, without a mark, it belonged to the owner. Jiang Chen, with an admiring look, noted that they looked luxurious, and the longer he looked, the more he liked them. A friend in a red shirt advised me not to get upset and to come back another time, then maybe I'll be able to get them. A woman in a black tight dress appeared in the corridor, walking towards the guests. The butler, standing at the door, respectfully greeted the hostess. The hostess, crossing her arms over her chest, apologized for being late due to traffic and asked if they had looked at everything. Friends greeted Anshin with enthusiasm and noted that she had an amazing aura and was beyond competition. Jiangchen looked at Anshin and was surprised that she was the owner of this place. Anshin smiled and adjusted her hair, and asked Jiang Chen in surprise what he was doing here. The golden-haired friend was surprised in his mind that Anshin knew him and wondered what was going on. Jiang Chen remarked that he never thought that this place belonged to her, and Anshin asked how he ended up in Shanghai from Chengdu. Anshin added that she was bored and arrived yesterday, and if she had known that he was in Shanghai, she would have definitely met him. The friend in the red shirt, sitting in the chair, was surprised to think that Anshin and Jiang Chen were not just old acquaintances, but rather friends. Anshin said that they heard her conversation, and Jiang Chen replied that he found a couple of models, but they were not for sale. Anshin, smiling at Jiang Chen, said that if you like them, you just need to take them, and there's no point in thinking about it. Anshin ordered Elder Hugh to bring model 5374 from the astronomy collection. Friends, you've noticed that the value of this watch is over 10 million, and Jiang Chen got it so easily. The friend in the red shirt told Anshin that when they wanted to buy a watch from her, she would set a lot of conditions, but Jiang Chen would just give it to them. Anshin noticed that he was a special person to her, and she was ready to give him whatever he liked. The friend in the red shirt jumped up from his seat and exclaimed in shock that this simply couldn't be happening. The butler said that Master Jiang had his eye on a Patek Philippe 5374, and she replied that she understood. Anshin said that she would bring the watch right away, but he refuses the gift and offers to buy it at market price. Anshin, looking at Jiang Chen with a smile, asked why he was so formal, and he replied that he couldn't take her things for free. Anshin decided not to put pressure on him since he didn't want to accept the gifts and offered to show him other collections, to which he agreed. Friends asked Anshin if they could also see the collections and noted that this was a violation of all the rules of collectors. Anshin waved her hand, saying no problem, and invited everyone to come with her. The golden-haired friend touched his forehead and was surprised to see that Anshin had not deceived them and had even invited them, and he called it a great success. A close-up of a finger being pressed against a fingerprint reader is shown. Anshin underwent an iris scan and blue laser beams appeared around her. Anshin, accompanied by guests, walked through the open metal door into the storage room. The friend was surprised that it was his first time in such a place, and noted that the security system here was no worse than in a bank vault. One of the guests asked if the guards would go inside, and Anshin replied that it was standard procedure. Anshin, standing in the center of a spacious hall with display cases, spread her arms out to the sides and invited guests to view her private collections. Jiang Chen asked about the enamel watch, and Wang Zheng explained that it was a rare piece. Chen Yu excitedly recognized James Bond's Rolex, while Wang Zheng pointed out the Royal Oak Offshore T3 from Terminator 3. And Shin asked if there was anything else he didn't like, but he replied that he couldn't take what was dear to her. Anshin decided to find an excuse to give the gift later so that it wouldn't be awkward. Chen Yu was surprised to hear that Jiang Chen had regained his sight today and advised him to find a girl. Jiang Chen, with a slight grin, joked that his friend was talking nonsense and that he was not in that line of work. Wang Zheng pointed out that Anshin was the same age as him and had a child, but Jiang Chen replied that they had only met 3 times. Chen Yu asked why they didn't get along, and Wang Zheng enviously assessed her appearance and taste. Jiang Chen replied with a slight smile that his friends had misunderstood everything. He simply liked her daughter, little Annie. His friends jokingly called him a beast, and he brushed it off. Anshin said that she bought the watch for 18 million, but would sell it for 23. Jiang Chen, looking at the watch, agreed and asked Anshin to help him put it on, promising to transfer the money immediately. Anshin took Jiang Chen's hand and said with a smile that she would help him fasten the belt, and they walked inside. Jiang Chen thanked Anshin, noting that the feeling was completely different, and the watch fit perfectly, not too tight or loose. An Xin, standing in front of Jiang Chen, looked at him with a slight smile and a languid gaze, touching his hand with her fingers. Friends were surprised to notice that An Xin looked very enthusiastic, and Jiang Chen was even an excellent driver. Jiang Chen picked up the phone, told An Xin that he had transferred the money, and said goodbye to her, and his friend Wang Zheng remarked that it was time for them to go too. As Wang Zheng and Chen Yu were leaving, they remembered that Jiang Chen had spent the most money and thought he was the one giving them a treat. Jiang Chen mentally decided to use 4 cashback cards and let his friends choose the seat. Wang Zheng suggested a bathhouse complex, and Chen Yu asked cautiously if it was legal. Golden-haired Wang Zheng objected that if there was anything illegal there, he would not have gone. Wang Zheng laughed and replied that his neck and shoulders were also falling off, and they all headed towards the car together. The golden-haired Wang Zheng, sitting on the hood and getting ready to leave, said that it was enough to put up with it, and it was time for everyone to go together. At the bathhouse complex, the manager, pointing to a group of girls, greeted the guests and announced that the masseuses had arrived today. Wang Zheng, hugging Jiang Chen's shoulders, said that his friend was here for the first time and let him choose first. The manager, pointing to the girls, suggested that the young gentleman choose the one he liked. Jiang Chen, the system data, noticed that the girl's privacy level was 0, while the others were around 5. Jiang Chen confidently pointed to the girl he had chosen and said that he was choosing her. The manager, surprised, told the chosen girl to serve the young gentleman properly. The golden-haired friend, hugging the girl he liked, suggested that they first have a snack and then start the massage. The girl sitting next to Jiang Chen handed him a piece and offered to try it, but he didn't immediately agree. Jiang Chen picked up the phone and answered it with a smile, confirming that he missed her. Qiao Mei, holding the phone to her ear, asked with a smile if he would come to see her today. Jiang Chen, looking at the phone screen, replied with a smile that he had a business dinner tomorrow, but agreed to the call. Jiang Chen continued the conversation, explaining that he was with a client and jokingly saying that he certainly missed his interlocutor. A girl in a white top and light skirt, smiling, asked when he would arrive, and he promised to arrive in the morning. Wang Zheng, noticing Jiang Chen talking on the phone, said with surprise that he had switched to another girl. Jiang Chen said with a smile that he would not answer anymore, so as not to spoil the friendly get-together. Friend Wang Zheng, holding a piece of food in his hand and looking at Jiang Chen, thought to himself with a smile that he was a real scumbag. Chen Yu, taking a sip of his drink, mentally noted that Jiang Chen was not just an idiot, but a true master of time management. Wang Jing told her that today was one show, and tomorrow there would be 2 more, and advised her to take care of her health, otherwise she would not live to his age. Wang Zheng playfully slapped the girl and noticed that with age, her figure was becoming much more noticeable. Friend Wang Zheng, holding food in his hands, mentally noted that his friend was no longer as brilliant, but still tried to keep up every day. Chen Yu noticed that he would need a whole truckload of herbs to restore his strength later and suggested that he drink something to boost his energy. Wang Zheng asked how he managed to take revenge on Lin Hu by spending 100 million and why she wasn't even given supporting roles. Jiang Chen looked at Wang Chen and replied with a smile that the rumors that she had cheated on him had spread, even though he had never even seen her. Chen Yu noticed that Jiang Chen had not been stingy in destroying her and assumed that she had hurt one of his passions. Jiang Chen took a sip of his drink and replied with a slight grin that it wasn't quite like that. The golden-haired Wang Zheng raised his glass with a smile and called Jiang Chen a womanizer and a master of throwing money at women. Jiang Chen looked at Wang Zhen and held the phone in his hands, and the chosen girl stood next to them. Jiang Chengyu noticed that she was nervous and suggested that they take a shower together first, to which he reluctantly agreed. Jiang Chen bared his toned chest while the massage therapist stood next to him with a watering can in her hands. The massage girl thought he seemed big to her, and she doubted whether he would fit inside her. Jiang Chen, standing in the shower with wet hair, asked her with slight surprise what she was thinking about. The massage therapist confessed to Jiang Chen that she only did it because her grandmother was sick and they needed money for treatment. Jiang Chen hugged the massage girl and tenderly told her that she was an obedient and good girl. Jiang Chen and the massage girl, standing under the streams of water, merged into a deep kiss, and he assured her that he would not hurt her. The naked body of a massage girl against a bright light as she leans forward. The masseuse, covering her breasts and throwing her head back, let out a passionate sigh. The massage girl, waking up in bed and wrapping herself in a blanket, was surprised to find that young Master Jiang had already left. The massage therapist, sitting on the bed, noticed a note and a bank card on the nightstand and said with bewilderment. The masseuse covered her mouth with her hand while reading it. At the same time, Jiang Chen entered the elevator and informed Xiaosa on the phone that he was already in the elevator. Su Wan, standing next to the elevator and adjusting her sunglasses, asked with a smile if it was her boss, Mr. Jiang. Jiang Chen smiled as he noticed that he had been waiting for the elevator for ages and asked why she only said hello after they had already entered. Jiang Chen, slightly surprised, smiled and remarked that he was now so popular. Su Wan said that she had to thank Mr. Jung for his support, and that she really became famous thanks to him. Su Wan added that this was the first time she saw him in the company, and it was only thanks to Xiaosa that she had the chance to meet him. Xiaosa, standing in the office hallway and holding a folder in her hands, asked Zhang Chen with a smile why he came with Su Wan. Zhang Chen shrugged and explained to Xiaosa that they had just bumped into each other in the elevator. Su Wan, standing at the door of the office, said with a smile that she would not disturb Mr. Jiang and asked him to call her if he needed anything. The company's female employees whispered about who the handsome man was next to the CEO, wondering if he was a new talent. Zhang Chen, looking around the office interior, noticed that Xiaosa had a very nice interior, and it was clear that they had put their heart and soul into it. Xiaosa, pouring tea into a cup, happily told Zhang Chen that she was glad he liked it and invited him to sit down and drink tea. Jiang Chen took a sip of tea and remarked that the tea was good, but that modern youth preferred bubble tea. Xiaosa, with slight embarrassment, asked if he wanted milk tea or coffee and promised to ask someone to run and get it. Zhang Chen suddenly hugged Xiaosa's waist from behind. The guy smiled and said why make things so complicated and asked if there was any milk right there. Half an hour later, Su Wan looked into the office and asked Xiaosa with a smile how the discussion with President Jiang went. Xiaosa, standing at the table and slightly adjusting her skirt, replied shyly that that was all and that she would go get other documents. Su Wan, noticing something on Xiaosa's face, asked if her lipstick had rubbed off. Su Wan pointed to Xiaosa's lips and noticed that there was something white left on her face, so she offered to wipe it off. Xiaosa, touching her face in fear, exclaimed how sloppy she was and hurried to tidy herself up. Su Wan, standing by the table and looking at Xiaosa walking away, mentally wondered why she was so nervous. Su Wan looked at her fingers and was surprised to notice that the substance was sticky. Su Wan, touching her nose, thoughtfully thought that the smell was strange and what she and President Jiang had eaten there. Su Wan, looking into the office, asked President Jiang with a smile if she could come in if he didn't mind, and she could inspect everything. Zhang Chen, sitting in a chair and leaning back relaxedly, invited Su Wan to make herself at home. Zhang Chen, with a slight grin, asked Su Wan if she was jealous of him, and invited her to stay and experience everything with him. Su Wan, placing her hands on Zhang Chen's shoulders, noticed that he was flirting more and more boldly and offered to give him a massage. Zhang Chen turned his head slightly to assess her efforts and noticed that she was doing well but needed to press harder. Su Wan, increasing the pressure, asked with a slight smile whether he could withstand such a massage. Zhang Chen closed his eyes and threw his head back, making a satisfied sound as he completely relaxed under her hands. Su Wan, having fallen asleep, thought with slight bewilderment that he had become too comfortable, and whether he perceived her simply as a masseuse. At this moment, Xiaosa returned to the office and, seeing that Zhang Chen was sleeping, asked in surprise why he was sleeping. Xiaosa lightly nudged Zhang Chen's shoulder and asked him to wake up because she had returned. Xiaosa, standing at the table, noticed that now was not the time to rest as he rarely came into the office and they had a lot to discuss. Zhang Chen took the documents in his hands and let Xiaosa go, leaving them alone with the president. Su Wan thought she wanted to find out if there was something between them, but Xiaosa acted so professionally that she felt ashamed. 2 hours later, Zhang Chen, looking through the documents and rubbing his ear, asked Xiaosa if he had signed everything. Zhang Chen, sitting in a chair, hugged Xiaosa around the waist and noticed with a slight smile that she seemed to be asking for punishment. Xiaosa said with a smile that she was joking, but she really wondered how many more sisters he had. Zhang Chen, sitting relaxed in his chair, replied that there were 2 of them, and Xiaosa, kneeling on the table, asked with slight surprise if she knew them. Zhang Chen explained to Xiaosa that she knew one of them, Manager Wang, and the other was a streamer who wasn't particularly famous yet. Xiaosa asked if the streamer was more beautiful than her, but he said that everyone has their own charm, and she will always remain his first woman. Xiaosa, pressing her cheek against Zhang Chen's hand, admitted that she understood him and asked if he could handle all 3 at once. Zhang Chen asked if she was implying that he should demonstrate his endurance again, and she let out a surprised sigh. Xiaosa thought that although she needed rest, the thought of him not being there made her feel sad, and she decided to squeeze every last drop of juice out of him. Zhang Chen felt completely exhausted from the time he spent with Xiaosa and was very hungry. Zhang Chen stopped at a street food stall and asked the chef if he could park nearby, and was given permission. Zhang Chen ordered 10 kidney skewers, 20 servings of oysters, and an ice-cold cola, and the chef promised to serve everything hot. Customers noticed that the guy ordered only kidneys and oysters and assumed he had come to replenish his energy reserves. The cook said that at his age he didn't even need water, and his friend replied that he fulfilled his marital duty once every 100 years. Zhang Chen, as a chef, ran out of the diner, excitedly reporting that his car had been scratched. Zhang Chen, holding a skewer in his hand, calmed the cook down and said that it was his own fault and asked if his kidneys and oysters were ready. The cook promised to serve everything right away, and his friend, standing nearby, noticed that the guy was driving a Porsche and only ordered kidneys. An elegantly dressed young man approached the diner and, with slight embarrassment, introduced himself as the owner of the car that had been damaged. The young man said he was sorry because he was driving according to the rules, but a dog ran out onto the road and he had to swerve. Jiang Chen replied that safety was most important and suggested that they eat together and resolve the conflict. Jiang Chen pointed at them, remarking that nothing terrible had happened, and suggested resolving the matter peacefully. The young man was surprised at what kind of guy this was, and thought that anyone who wasn't afraid to smash a $10 million supercar was clearly not an ordinary person. The man said that he had already called his friends and offered to get them something to eat while they waited, as he was envious of Jiang Chen's car. A young man sitting at a table outside a snack bar introduced himself as Qi Yuan with a smile and greeted Jiang Chen. Wang Chunying looked at Jiang Chen with a smile, noticed that he was simply speechless, and asked how he managed to fit into such situations. Jiang Chen, looking at Wang Chunying, noticed that this was indeed his younger brother Qi Yuan, and that he didn't even know that he was Wang Chunying's friend. Qi Yuan, putting his arm around Jiang Chen's shoulders and turning to Wang Chunying, introduced him as the owner of the car and his new friend. Wang Chunying greeted Jiang Chen with a smile as he shook his hand and said that he didn't expect them to be from the same company. Jiang Chen said the main thing was that everyone was safe, and Wang Chunying suggested reserving a table at a restaurant tomorrow to apologize properly. Wang Chunying extended his hand to Jiang Chen, asked where he was going, and offered to give him a lift. Jiang Chen shook Wang Chunying's hand and replied that a driver would come to pick him up soon, and they agreed on business for the following day. Wang Yuma, standing at the entrance of the building, greeted Jiang Chen with a smile and asked him why he hadn't come inside since he was already here. Wang Yuma, standing against the backdrop of the evening city, added that she didn't want to distract him from dinner, but everything was fine. Jiang Chen, hugging Wang Yumu's waist and inhaling her fragrance, asked with a smile what kind of perfume it was and described its aroma as wonderful. Jiang Chen, approaching Wang Yume, replied with a smile that if he became dependent on her, it would be even better. Wang Yuma, blushing slightly, noted with embarrassment that this was exactly the effect she was aiming for. The cook, standing at the grill with a skewer in his hands, noticed with surprise that his friend had already agreed on a new fine. Standing in the dark alley next to Jiang Chen, Wang Yuma admitted that she had just agreed that he would take responsibility. Wang Yuma, standing at the door, asked Jiang Chen with a slight smile if everything was okay, and he replied that it was quite normal. The driver, sitting behind the wheel with red cheeks. Jiang Chen mentally noted that he was still young and had the opportunity to raise his social circle with the help of the system. On Jiang Chen's desk was a phone with a message from Zhou Ying asking if he wanted to have lunch together. Wang Yuma leaned over to kiss Jiang Chen, smiling as she said that she hoped her breakfast would help him recover quickly. Zhou Lin, standing on the street in a white top and shorts, with a little awkwardness suggested to Jiang Chen that they should go to a restaurant instead of wandering around. Zhou Lin added that she did not invite him to buy anything. Jiang Chen replied that there was no need to get worked up. Zhou Lin looked away thoughtfully, thinking that Jiang Chen's gifts always cost tens of thousands, and this was too expensive. Jiang Chen pointed to a display case of bags and asked Zhou Lin to try on one, and she reluctantly agreed. Jiang Chen confidently asked the seller to bring 2 more sets from the new collection. Zhou Lin took Jiang Chen's hand and firmly said that if he continued like this, she would simply leave. Jiang Chen noticed that he wanted to use the cashback card, but the price of the bag was only a few tens of thousands. Jiang Chen approached the saleswoman and asked for the bill for the bag, and she, slightly surprised, said it was fine. Zhou Lin suggested that they go straight to the hot pot restaurant on the 4th floor, promising that the food there would be authentic, and he agreed. The waiter greeted the guests, and Jiang Chen looked inside and was surprised to see Qiao Mei there, seemingly eating hot pot alone. Qiao Mei, sitting at the table with chopsticks in her hands, noticed Jiang Chen and smiled at the fact that he was here with such a beauty. Zhou Lin asked Jiang Chen if he knew this girl, and he explained that if he said he didn't know, Qiao Mei might turn him in. Qiao Mei, smiling warmly, remarked that it was a coincidence and asked if they had also decided to eat there. Jiang Chen, looking at the installed phone, asked Qiao Mei in surprise if she was streaming while eating. Qiao Mei, raising her hand to her face in an apologetic gesture, told viewers that she had some business to attend to and would have to end the broadcast early. Qiao Mei, putting her phone back in her bag, curiously asked Jiang Chen if she was his girlfriend and why he hadn't introduced them. Qiao Mei, looking at Zhou Lin with a smile, introduced herself as Jiang Chen's friend and greeted her. Zhou Lin, looking thoughtfully at Qiao Mei, mentally noted that her look at Jiang Chen was strange, but decided not to get worked up about it. Zhou Lin, smiling and extending her hand, introduced herself and said that she was pleased to meet you. Jiang Chen, watching the handshake, thought in his mind that this scene was quite tense. Chow Mei, smilingly inviting them both to join her, said that it was boring to be alone, and Zhou Lin, a little embarrassed, agreed. Xiao Mei insisted on having a meal together, claiming that she rarely met beautiful women, and Zhou Lin replied that she felt somewhat uncomfortable. Chow Mei remarked that it was nothing, and that she was very glad to meet them, and invited them to sit down. Chow Mei turned around and raised her hand, loudly asking the waiter to bring more food. Zhou Lin looked at Jiang Chen with a slight hesitation, waiting for his decision. Jiang Chen looked at Zhou Lin with a slight smile, said that everything was fine, and asked her to sit down. Xiao Mei, noticing the unusual watch on Jiang Chen's wrist, asked in surprise what brand it was and how expensive it was. Jiang Chen thought with a slight smile that where there are many women, dramas similar to palace intrigues always begin. Zhou Lin was slightly surprised upon hearing the question, and her face showed a hint of confusion. Jiang Chen, stroking his hand with the watch, replied with a smile that it was inexpensive, only 1,500 yuan, and that it was a new children's model. Xiaomi remarked that she had never seen a watch like this before, and judging by the material, it must be worth a fortune. Xiao Mei thought the watch was worth millions and wondered why Jiang Chen made up this story about a child's model. Xiao Mei carefully offered Zhou Lin a piece of food with chopsticks, but Zhou Lin politely replied that she could handle it herself. Xiao Mei, looking at Zhou Lin with mild interest, asked how she and Jiang Chen met. Zhou Lin, taking the cup in her hands, replied with a smile that they were classmates. Xiao Mei nodded in understanding, said that it was understood, and continued eating. Jiang Chen, leaning over the table and holding a piece of lotus with his chopsticks, looked at it thoughtfully, pondering what was happening. Under the table, Xiao Mei's foot touched Jiang Chen's foot, and he, visibly embarrassed and frowning, tried to understand what was happening. Jiang Chen, with a surprised and slightly embarrassed expression on his face, mentally asked himself what this mischievous Xiao Mei was planning. Jiang Chen, who was under the table, took Xiao Mei's leg in his hand, and at that moment, a sound and visual effect appeared on the screen. Xiao Mei looked at her chopsticks with a slight confusion and her mouth slightly open, trying to remain calm. Jiang Chen mentally noticed that she was like an angel at the table, but under the table she acted like a demon. Zhou Lin, looking at Xiao Mei with a slight smile, remarked that a lot of interesting things were happening on the streams and it was a lot of fun. Jiang Chen tilted his head slightly and thought to himself that since she wasn't reacting, he needed to respond to her actions. Jiang Chen held Xiao Mei's foot in his hand and began to lightly massage her foot. Xiao Mei suddenly started and let out a surprised laugh, and she couldn't help but exclaim, while Zhou Lin asked in confusion what had happened. Xiao Mei, laughing and making excuses to Zhou Lin, said that she remembered something very funny and couldn't stop laughing. Zhou Lin, taking the bowl of food and handing a piece to Jiang Chen, remarked that it was time for him to take a break and eat, otherwise the meat would be overcooked. Xiao Mei replied to Zhou Lin that she couldn't share what was funny with her, and promised not to mention it next time. Xiao Mei, slightly embarrassed, apologized to the donor, admitting that she was wrong, and promised to be more modest. Jiang Chen, with a slight smile and slightly narrowed eyes, told Xiao Mei that since she asked so, he would forgive her this time. Jiang Chen, getting up from the table and straightening his jacket, announced to Xiao Mei that he was going to the restroom. Jiang Chen, standing in front of Xiao Mei, asked with a smile whether he should add her as a contact or whether she wanted to send an invitation herself. Xiao Mei said with a smile that she was now her best friend and promised to treat her to some delicious food. Jiang Chen looked at them with a slight smile and thought to himself that she was simply the best. Jiang Chen slightly bowed his head and asked Xiao Mei if she had anything to do, and suggested that she not sit with them if she was busy. Xiao Mei smiled and touched Jiang Chen's chest, assuring him that Zhou Lin would not miss him and that she would look after her. Jiang Chen thought that they seemed to have truly become best friends and that it was probably a lucky coincidence. Wang Chunying gestured for Jiang Chen to come in and sit down, and next to him on the sofa sat a blonde girl in a gray top. Jiang Chen entered the hall, where he was greeted by girls and staff who promised to entertain Master Jiang Chen to the highest standard. Wang Zheng's friend noticed that everything was arranged to the highest standard and wondered whether Jiang Chen would be able to handle so many girls. The visitor asked who the young man in the center was, and was told that he was a big shot for Director Wang. Wang Zheng noted with a grin that Wang Kunying had decided to make amends with Jiang Chen, and Jiang Chen confirmed that he had arranged everything yesterday. Shi Yuan, approaching with a glass, declared that no one could compare to Jiang Chen today, and he replied with a smile that it was nothing. Shi Yuan turned to the waiter and loudly demanded that he immediately serve 5 sets of Golden Divine Dragon. The girl whispered that the set cost 10 bottles of Armand de Brignac, and that this was almost $1 million. Wang Sunying remarked that he rarely saw him so generous, and Qi Yuan sighed and replied that his last money had gone towards this order. Jiang Chen was surprised in his mind by the high level of favor shown by Wang Chunying and Qi Yuan. Qi Yuan smiled shyly and thanked Jiang Chen for his politeness, and they exchanged friendly gestures. Qi Yuan asked the waiter to bring some snacks and fruit platter, and the waiter readily promised to arrange everything immediately. The DJ greeted the guests and announced that he thanked his older brother for the first order of 5 sets of Golden Divine Dragon. The patrons in the room discussed how many bottles of Armand de Brignac had been ordered and wondered who this mysterious young master Jiang Chen was. A girl in a bunny costume holding a sign, standing at the entrance, noticed that this was probably a second-generation rich man. Wang Zheng, Wang Chunying, and Jiang Chen stood together with glasses of wine and clinked them in a toast to good company and fun. A girl named Jenny, holding a glass in her hand, approached Jiang Chen and said that she wanted to raise a toast to him. Jiang Chen noted her Chinese and asked what she did for a living. Jenny said her mother was Chinese, but that meant working for 10 years. The model girl Jenny, standing next to Jiang Chen with a glass in her hands, tells him about her current profession with a slight smile. Jiang Chen said her looks give her great opportunities as an influencer, and she asked if fitness or beauty blogging was right for her. Jiang Chen explained that the era of influencers will be different and their data will allow them to instantly rise to the top. Ajani, slightly embarrassed, admitted that she sometimes makes vlogs, but she has almost no subscribers, and her life is not that interesting. Jiang Chen says that to become a top blogger, a genuine love for China is enough, and this will provide her with millions of subscribers. Ajani, covering her mouth with her hand in surprise, asked in amazement if this was true. Wang Xuanying asked if he wanted to become an influencer himself. Jiang Chen replied that he was interested in the influencer economy. Jiang Chen added that bloggers earn a lot, but the real profit goes to the platform owners. Jiang Chen explained that the influencer market is highly fragmented. Wang Zheng, with slight surprise, asked if he wanted to create a company for bloggers like an MCN agency. Jiang Chen replied that MCN agencies with tens of millions in annual profits were too small for him. Wang Chunying noted that investing even a couple of billion in creating a platform is a minimum, and that he is the son of a rich man. Jiang Chen, taking a sip of wine, confidently added that the short video format would make an incredible breakthrough in the next 4 years. A diagram appeared on Jiang Chen's interface, showing that the company's market value had exceeded $400 billion. Jiang Chen noted that the next round was only a few months away, and even 1% of the shares would bring in a fortune. Shi Yuan, hugging the girl in the bunny costume, said with a smile that it was enough to chat. The girls were already tired of waiting. Wang Jing waved his hand and ironically told Jiang Chen that he didn't understand their affairs anyway and suggested that they get out of here. Jiang Chen, looking at Wang Chunying with a slight smile, continued that the essence of their plan was a new platform and fresh levers of influence. Jiang Chen, putting down his glass, suggested leaving business for tomorrow and just having a drink to celebrate the meeting. Qi Yuan, Wang Zheng and Jiang Chen clinked their glasses together and declared that they would party until they won. Qi Yuan, standing on the street and hugging the girl, invited Jiang Chen to go with them to the embankment where they had booked rooms. Jiang Chen, looking at Agani, mentally compared her to director Wang's protege and thought that she looked much more appetizing. Qi Yuan took out his phone and said that he had already called a sober driver, otherwise the police would start extorting money again. Jiang Chen looked at Qi Yuan with a smile, thanked him for his advice and said that he had taken it into consideration. Wang Zheng, standing on the street and waving his hand in greeting, thanked Jiang Chen and promised to continue the conversation next time. Jiang Chen, standing at the entrance to the club and hugging a Jenny, said goodbye to his friend and confirmed that they had agreed to meet again. Xiaomei wondered in her mind why Jiang Chen was always surrounded by such beauties. Xiaomei said with a smile that she had come to pick him up, and he returned her greeting with a slight chuckle. Ajani, looking at them, told Jiang Chen that he had taught her a lot today, and she would still turn to him for advice. Jiang Chen asked the driver with a smile where they were going, and she smiled slightly and replied that they were going to her home. Xiaomei, who was sitting comfortably in the chair and adjusting her hair, said with a slight smile that she thought Jiang Chen would rush to Jolene. Jiang Chen thought that if Xiaomei didn't want to come to him, he could stay somewhere else, but he decided that her whims needed to be eradicated. Xiaomei smiled and asked him not to be angry, but he coldly replied that she had made her own choice and should bear responsibility. Xiaomei admitted that she had fallen in love with him and was greedy for his attention, but he countered that he wasn't harsh since he had given her faces on streams. Xiaomei admitted that she was afraid that he would get tired and leave her, and he promised that as long as she was obedient, he would not forget her. Jiang Chen stroked her head and asked her if she would love him, and he himself answered that he could not help but love his woman. Xiaomei pressed his hands to her chest and admitted that he had been burning her up during the day, and he suggested they go home. In the room, Jiang Chen looked around the tiny room in surprise, and Xiaomei shyly invited him to sit down. Jiang Chen playfully slapped Xiaomei on the leg and told her that she needed to get to work first, and she gasped and looked at him in surprise. Xiaomei, on all fours on the bed with her head thrown back, let out a stifled groan as she looked at Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen and Xiaomei, in a very close and intimate position amidst scattered rose petals and hearts, embraced each other. In the morning, Jiang Chen noticed that she complained of being tired and woke up early. Xiaomei sleepily replied that she was probably hungry. Jiang Chen suggested they eat together, but she said she usually made noodles or ordered delivery. Jiang Chen hugged Xiaomei and asked her how much she paid for rent, and she replied that it was 1,600. Jiang Chen noted that it was impossible to get around for such a small price, and added that it was difficult to find something cheap in Shanghai. Xiaomei explained that her neighbors were always angry with her for the noise she made during her streams, and as soon as she started making money, she moved out. Jiang Chen noted that this was entirely expected, as girls were jealous of her because she was too bright and easily outshone anyone. Jiang Chen invited her to move to a good area near him. Without thinking about money, she enthusiastically agreed. Xiaomei, clinging to Jiang Chen, said gratefully that she would start searching tomorrow. Jiang Chen noticed that a girl of her level should have a wardrobe bursting with things, and promised to buy her new clothes. Xiaomei wrapped her arms around Jiang Chen's neck and gently retorted that he had already showered her with gifts, and all she needed was a little of his warmth. Xiaomei noticed that she had fallen in love with a rare bastard, but until she got tired of him, she would not leave him. He stood up and suggested going for a walk. Jiang Chen and Xiaomei entered a spacious shopping mall where the employee at the entrance greeted them respectfully. The co-workers whispered that this was the same rich man of yesterday with his new girlfriend, and that the life of such people is simply a fairy tale. Jiang Chen heard that the purchase amount was 480,000 yuan, and he handed over his card to pay without hesitation. Jiang Chen noted that with such a sum, it would be a sin not to take advantage of the cashback, and activated the card. Jiang Chen and Xiaomei were about to leave when Jiang Chen noticed a boy squatting with a sign. Akao, asking for help, said that his father had become disabled and his mother was seriously ill, and they did not have enough money for an operation. Xiaomei, seeing the boy, sympathetically remarked how sorry he was. Xiaomei, smiling, handed him everything she had with her. Ahao, gratefully accepting the help, wished her happiness. Passers-by noticed that it was a scam and, pointing at Jiang Chen, suggested that the woman was pretending to be an innocent lamb. Jiang Chen stared at the boy and thought to himself that swindlers didn't have such honest eyes. Jiang Chen leaned over to the boy, added some more money, and told him to take it too. Ahao bowed deeply to Jiang Chen again and wished him long life and good health with sincere gratitude. Jiang Chen was surprised to see that for his compassion he had received the mind perception skill to recognize sincerity. Passers-by commented on his generosity with surprise, and some recognized him as the person who had been trending on Weibo that morning. Jiang Chen mentally noted that the boy was telling the truth, and his gratitude and pain were sincere. Jiang Chen, kneeling, asked how much was missing for the operation. Ahao, wiping away tears, replied that there were still 28,000. Jiang Chen, looking at the boy with a warm smile, said that he believed him and suggested that he not be afraid and go with him. Jiang Chen, handing the boy an envelope, said that there was 100,000 in it, and the first thing he needed to do was pay for his mother's operation. Ahao, taking the envelope and looking inside, exclaimed in surprise that there was too much here, since they only needed 28,000. Xiaomei, watching this, thoughtfully asked herself what had happened to Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen explained to the boy that help should be in moderation, and everyone is the architect of their own happiness. Ahao promised to work it all off when he grew up. Jiang Chen smiled and said that he just needed to study and they would take him to the hospital. A message about acquiring the danger sense skill and the US stock market insight card appeared on the system interface. Jiang Chen mentally noted that this skill would allow him to avoid threats in the high-stakes world. Xiaomei felt that her purchases were excessive, but Jiang Chen reassured her that she should do what she could. Jiang Chen answered the phone while standing on the street. Qi Wen remarked that he was serious about authority, and Jiang Chen replied that he was not a fan of supercars. Wang Kunying asked why he bought so many cars. Qi Wen asked why he bought so many clothes. Jiang Chen, adjusting his collar, remarked with a slight grin that clothes and supercars couldn't be compared. Wang Tunying asked if there was a big difference between their situations. Qi Yuan, with a hint of displeasure, asked if he was making fun of him, or if he was really that tough, since it was impossible to have a normal conversation with him. Xiaomei noted that it was the first time she had seen so many brands of cars in one place. Qi Yuan announced that they had bought out the entire establishment today and offered to test drive any car. Xiaomei asked him what he would say, and he replied with a slight grin that if she wanted, she could go for a ride. Xiaomei turns around in the exhibition hall, her face beaming, clearly delighted by what she heard. Qi Yuan raised his hand to his eyebrows and looked at them, smiling as he offered to take Jiang Chen along for a test drive. The female instructor, wearing a red racing suit, adjusted her hair and cheerfully replied that everything would be done. Qi Yuan admitted that, looking at these cars, he understands that he will only be able to afford something similar in the future. Jiang Chen looked at Qi Yuan with slight surprise and asked if he really didn't have a car since he had money. Qi Yuan explained that he was currently living on handouts from his father, and after he crashed his cars twice, his father no longer bought him anything. Jiang Chen remarked that if you don't have money, you have to make money, and Qi Yuan replied that he would try playing stocks, but it was too boring. Wang Chunying, hugging Qi Wen's shoulder, remarked with a smile that such an approach had no place on the stock exchange. A system interface appeared in front of Jiang Chen, displaying the card that had been activated for use. Jiang Chen noted that the system points to shares of American companies with huge growth potential. Qi Yuan, standing next to Jiang Chen, asked in surprise if he wanted to get involved in stocks too. Jiang Chen noted that the reward this time was not in her, but in connections, and if his friends made money from his advice, it would strengthen his network. Jiang Chen added that he doesn't usually do such things, but he has inside information and can raise his stake in a short period of time. Wang Zunying noted that 25% profitability is simply a crazy amount, but such a figure sounds like a fairy tale. Jiang Chen said that he thanked them for hosting him these 2 days, and in return, he could guarantee high returns with virtually zero risk. Wang Chunying looked at Jiang Chen with curiosity and asked what kind of stocks these were. Jiang Chen said he wouldn't disclose any specifics yet, but if they entrust his company with funds, they would benefit. Jiang Chen, looking at Qi Yuan with a smile, replied that it was not enough, but if he invested in some stock, it would definitely be enough. Qi Yuan spread his arms and asked with a smile how much Jiang Chen himself planned to invest. Jiang Chen said that he was going to flush everything he had, and Wang Chunying, looking at the screen, exclaimed in shock that he was probably robbing a bank. Wang Chunying says he is referred to as the son of a rich man in China, a title he believes belongs to Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen looked at his friends and said seriously that they should decide for themselves and suggested not mixing business with friendship. Wang Chunying frowned, made a decision, and said that in that case he would invest 100 million. The woman in the red racing suit whispered in surprise as she noticed that Jiang Chen had invested 600 million, while Wang Chunying had invested 100. Xiao Mei, hearing the figures, opened her eyes in shock and asked again if Jiang Chen really invested 600 million in stocks for no reason. Xiao Mei, standing with a racing helmet in her hands, wondered in bewilderment how much money he really had and who he was anyway. Jiang Chen turned to Qi Wen and said with a smile that if he wanted, he could give him some of the funds for now. Qi Wan raised his hand and added that if he couldn't even raise a little money, he would be ashamed to hang out with them. Wang Chunying placed his hand on Jiang Chen's shoulder and suggested that Qi Wen, if he wanted, could simply send the account number and he would transfer the money. Wang Chunying turned around and replied with a slight smile that he would wait with impatience. Xiao Mei asked if he had seen her drive and remarked that it was exciting, even though she had worked as a ride-hailing driver for a long time. Jiang Chen noted that he has 5 cashback cards, and if he buys a car, he will receive cashback. Xiao Mei replied that if she wanted a car, she would buy it herself, since she had already spent a lot on donations, and a taxi was a convenient option. Jiang Chen noted that she was not the type to spend money thoughtlessly, and decided not to forcefully give her the car, but to do it later. An instructor in an orange t-shirt, standing on the track, announced that the track was ready and invited everyone to come and explore it. Qi Wen asked what the prize was for today's race, but Wang Chunying replied that he was just there for the atmosphere. Jiang Chen turned to Qi Wen and asked him with a smile if he had any suggestions and inquired about how they usually played. Qi Wen explained that usually everyone contributes 10,000 wen to the prize pool, and there aren't many betting options. Jiang Chen suggested adding a condition: the winner indicates the name of the benefactor, and the money can be donated to an orphanage. Wang Chunying, upon hearing the proposal, was surprised to note that it was a great idea, and that now he would even feel embarrassed not to go out on the track. Qi Wan took the phone and said with a smile that he would immediately send the rules to the others. Qi Wan, sitting on a bench in a red jumpsuit, holding a helmet and a phone in his hands, noted with a smile that he had arrived successfully today. Several brightly colored sports cars lined up at the track's starting line, ready to race. The judge in the blue shirt, standing on a raised platform with a flag in his hand, loudly announced the start of the first race and waved the flag. The sports cars roared off, racing into the first corner. Jiang Chen mentally reminded himself that this was his first time participating in such a race and he needed to be more modest. On the racetrack, the silver supercar crossed the finish line and the commentator announced that the winner of the first race had already been determined. The commentator, holding a microphone and raising her fist, loudly and joyfully announced the winner of the first race, Han Anning. Han Anning, wearing a blue racing top and purple shorts with a ripped hem, stood by her car, holding her helmet in her hand. Han Anning looked at Qi Yuan with a slight mockery and asked if he was still as weak as before. Qi Yuan, wiping sweat from his forehead and catching his breath, admitted that he hadn't driven for a long time and wasn't yet used to the car. Han Anning suggested that if she won first place again, he would carry her in his arms and call her big sister. The starting flag was raised again on the track, and the commentator announced the start of the second race. Han Anning, sitting behind the wheel of an orange sports car and looking in the rearview mirror, noticed with surprise that someone else had entered the road. Han Anning stepped on the gas pedal and mentally noted that she didn't like it when someone drove in front of her. The silver sports car entered the turn at high speed, its tires screeching, overtaking its rivals. Zhang Chen, sitting behind the wheel of the red car, smiled to himself, thinking that since his rival didn't like it, he would continue in the same spirit. The orange supercar, maneuvering sharply, overtook its rivals on the track. The silver supercar, leaving smoking tire tracks behind it, confidently took the sharp turn. Against the backdrop of the night sky, a silver sports car sped along the illuminated highway, leaving behind a blurry trail of red lights. Spectators standing at the fence discussed the unknown racer's incredible driving skills with admiring cries. The commentator, watching the finish, loudly announced that Zhang Chen was the winner of the second race. Wang Tunying noticed that his skills were simply on another level, and he was now his idol. Zhang Chen, taking off his helmet and adjusting his hair, replied with a smile that it was his first time here, and he didn't want to attract too much attention. Han Aning approached Zhang Chen and extended her hand for a handshake, saying that he was a real monster and offering to be friends. Zhang Chen shook her hand and replied with a smile that his name was Jiang Chen. Han Aning, slightly embarrassed, wondered why she felt like his touch was enchanting her. Han Aning, looking at Jiang Chen with a slight smile, said that he liked beautiful hands and suggested exchanging contact information. Qi Wen noticed that Han Aning had asked to be added to the messenger and assumed that she was looking for a closer relationship. Zhang Chen mentally decided that it was time to test the intention reading skill and turned to the system. Zhang Chen and Han Aning, standing against the bright light, suddenly merged into a passionate kiss. Zhang Chen pulled back slightly and looked at her, mentally noting that she seemed to have a whole pond of fish around her. Zhang Chen said that next time they would meet and discuss matters in detail, but today he came with his girlfriend. Han Aning, hearing his refusal, mentally thought in surprise that this was his girlfriend and decided to see what she was worth. Han Aning challenged Xiao Mei to take a lap in the women's race. Xiao Mei, pointing at herself in surprise, asked again if she was really talking to her. Xiao Mei thought to herself that this girl was too cool, and if she went out on the track, she would just be a statistic. Zhang Chen reassured her with a smile, saying that even if she lost, it was okay, the main thing was to have fun. Xiao Mei asked him, slightly embarrassed, if he would be nervous, and he replied that of course, but on one condition. Han Aning, looking at them, mentally noticed that they were whispering about something, and decided that first place today would go to her. Several cars lined up at the starting line, ready for the women's race. Xiao Mei asked with a playful smile if she lost to Han Aning because he distracted her. Xiao Mei, surprised, noticed that she didn't have his penis, so what a start. Zhang Chen, with a slight chuckle, replied that he was talking about the car and asked what she was thinking. Xiao Mei, sitting behind the wheel with her helmet on and looking at the road, said with a smile that it didn't matter. The main thing was that he was to blame. Han Aning was maneuvering, and the commentator noted that she was still maneuvering, and Xiao Mei, although lagging behind, was holding up well. The orange supercar raced along the track at full speed, leaving a blurry trail behind it. The sports car entered the turn and the commentator announced like a flash of lightning that the race was over and Han Aning was in first place. Xiao Mei, hugging Zhang Chen's neck, happily said that even though she lost, it was incredibly fun. Han Aning congratulated her on her second place, and she replied that this was her first race, and she was happy that she was only a few seconds behind. Han Aning, seeing their closeness, looked at them with a slight surprise and jealousy. Han Aning admitted that she was riding at half strength, and if she had known that he was so strong, she would have immediately given it her all. Zhang Chen, looking at Han Aning, mentally noted that she seemed to have no one and just wanted to conquer him. Xiao Mei admitted that although she enjoyed the race, she would never buy a car for herself, as she was still under the impression of that drift. Xi Yuan, smiling at Zhang Chen, asked him if he needed another girl, and joked that he was also willing to come over. Wang Kunying, standing next to Zhang Chen and hugging his shoulder, noticed with a smile that their tastes were completely the same. Qi Wen noticed that it was time to stop joking and go to the party, since everything on the highway was already over. Xiao Mei replied that she had a stream that evening and suggested that he have fun without her, promising to wait for his return. The son of a wealthy family dressed in a blue shirt and tie said with a surprised smile that he didn't expect to meet Qi Yuan today. Wang Hao pointed at Qi Yuan and mockingly asked if he had swallowed his tongue and lost his courage after another scolding from his father. Qi Yuan, standing in front of Wang Hao, coldly replied that they had nothing to talk about and demanded that he get out of here. Wang Hao, with a sarcastic smile, remarked that Qi Yuan would never amount to anything and reproached him for hanging out with some newbies. Qi Yuan retorted that Wang Hao didn't know who he was and advised him to watch his language, to which he replied that he had come across a rookie with a strong character. Wang Hao suddenly grabbed a knife from the table and swung it towards Qi Yuan, shouting how dare he speak to him in such a tone. Zhang Chen, instantly appearing between Wang Hao and Qi Yuan, with a sharp movement knocked the knife out of Wang Hao's hand. Zhang Chen, still holding Wang Hao, forcefully threw him to the floor, and he fell to the ground with a dull thud. Wang Hao, lying on the floor and touching his bruised cheek, furiously asked if Jiang Chen had gone crazy to raise his hand against him. Jiang Chen walked up to the fallen Wang Hao and gave him a powerful kick in the stomach. Wang Hao was sent flying by a powerful kick, but Jiang Chen didn't stop and delivered another crushing blow. Wang Hao, lying on the floor and wiping the blood from his broken nose, let out a muffled groan of pain as he tried to get up. Wang Hao, lying on his side on the floor among scattered plates and food, struggled to hold the fallen knife in his hand, looking at Jiang Chen with hatred. Wang Hao jumped up and grabbed a knife, shouting furiously that his father would destroy Jiang Chen and tried to stab him. Jiang Chen, deftly dodging the knife strike, took a step back and dodged Wang Hao's attack. Jiang Chen blocked Wang Hao's hand, grabbed his wrist and delivered a powerful blow to his face. Wang Hao, having received a blow to the face, staggered and fell to the floor, and Wang Chunying and Qi Yuan, running to Jiang Chen, asked him to stop. Wang Chunying noted that Wang Hao's family had connections in Shanghai and had been feuding with Qi Yuan for a long time, and usually everyone had to endure it. Qi Yuan noticed that Wang Hao's status was special, and if this matter was blown out of proportion, the consequences would be dire. Jiang Chen said that since his friends said so, he would forgive him, but if he didn't send him to jail, then he was no longer Jiang Chen. Wang Hao declared that he would not allow their problems to be resolved through their parents and demanded that Jiang Chen kneel before him. Qi Yuan approached Jiang Chen and anxiously advised him to leave so as not to get involved with Wang Hao's father, and promised to think of a way out himself. Wang Hao shouted that he would not let him go anywhere and would send him to jail, but Wang Chunying said that he himself provoked the fight. Wang Hao, looking at Qi Yuan with a mocking expression, declared that he was about to insult him and rudely sent him away. Jiang Chen, delivering another strong blow to Wang Hao's face, noted with a cold smile that he apparently didn't understand the first time. Wang Hao, having received a crushing blow to the jaw, flew to the side, his face distorted in pain. Jiang Chen continued to beat Wang Hao, striking him one blow after another, and he was unable to offer any resistance. Wang Chunying noticed that despite warning him about Wang Hao's father's situation, Jiang Chen still slapped him more than a dozen times. Jiang Chen told Wang Hao with icy calm to remember this day next time if he wanted to loosen his tongue. Qiao Mei thought with concern that even though she explained Wang Hao's status to him, he still didn't stop. Wang Chunying noted that Jiang Chen had a lot of money, but his family owned a small company, while Wang Hao had strong connections in government. A system notification appeared in front of Jiang Chen about receiving a level 1 privileged Ponte card. Wang Hao, covering his broken face with his hands, angrily asked Jiang Chen if he understood what he had done and if he knew who he was. Qi Yuan, standing next to Wang Hao, suggested that they leave things as they were and not touch each other in the future. Wang Hao, with a mocking smile, replied that there was nothing to apologize for, and how could he look people in the face now? Wang Hao declared that Shanghai was not a place where cats and dogs could do whatever they wanted, and he would still settle the score with him. Qi Yuan, placing his hand on Jiang Chen's shoulder, anxiously suggested that he leave before it was too late, and promised to deal with the matter himself. Qi Yuan looked at Jiang Chen with concern, and suggested calling his father for help, but Jiang Chen firmly replied that it was not necessary. Jiang Chen closed his eyes and mentally activated the privileged show-off card to solve the problem. Jiang Chen picked up the phone and was surprised to answer it, asking who it was when he heard an unfamiliar voice. The man on the other end of the line introduced himself as Jiang Chen's second grandfather and asked why he hadn't told his family what had happened. Jiang Chen asked again with a surprised expression. Did he really have a second grandfather that he had never heard of? The man on the other end of the line, sitting in a chair, noted with a slight grin that he knew his scoundrel of a father hadn't told them anything. The second grandfather added that Jiang Chen was the only grandson of their family and his life should be calm and worry-free. Second grandfather declared that he would personally handle this matter, and if anyone touched Jiang Chen, he would slap them. The second grandfather added that Jiang Chen should come to the capital to visit the two old men, and reminded him that he and his grandfather were still one family. Jiang Chen replied that he understood and would definitely visit them after a while, but added that he had no time for his grandfathers now. Police Captain Chen Qin burst in, accompanied by 2 officers, and loudly demanded to know who had used violence here. Jiang Chen calmly remarked that it was just a small misunderstanding, and there was no need to worry. Wang Hao angrily declared that no one would go anywhere today and demanded that Jiang Chen learn what real power was. Seeing the police arriving, Wang Hao pointed at Jiang Chen and shouted that it was he who had beaten him to such a state. Captain Chen Qin sternly asked if he was the one who committed the violence, and Jiang Chen calmly replied that yes, he was the one who did it. Captain Chen Qin said Jiang Chen is suspected of intentionally causing bodily harm. Jiang Chen, with a slight grin and a challenge in his voice, asked what would happen if he didn't go with them. Captain Chen Qin frowned and looked at Jiang Chen, slightly surprised, and asked again if he really wasn't going to go. Qi Wen, standing next to Captain Chen Qing, asked in confusion who this person was. Chief Kai entered with Lin Lan, who indignantly demanded to know why the police were failing to cope. Chief Kai ordered the criminal to be detained immediately because he had beaten people, and Chen Qin readily replied that he understood. Lin Lan suggested going to the hospital first, but Wang Hao gritted his teeth and said he wanted Jiang Chen's arms broken. Wang Hao, with a malicious expression on his face, mentally promised himself that he would do everything to make things difficult for Jiang Chen. Lin Lan demanded that the matter be investigated fairly and threatened to find someone who could do a better job. Qi Yuan anxiously told Jiang Chen to contact his father immediately, but Jiang Chen calmed him down by reminding him of his second grandfather. At night, a motorcade of several black cars moved along a winding road illuminated by lanterns. Qi Yuan looked at the approaching cars and said in confusion that they were probably Jiang Chen's people. Wang Chunying, seeing men in formal black suits getting out of the cars, asked in surprise if they were people from the Jiang family. The men, dressed in black suits and wearing dark glasses, stood in a tight group and looked like well-trained security. Shen Chun entered the restaurant and showed his ID to Chief Kai and Captain Chen Qin. Chief Kai glanced at Shen Chun's ID and asked with a slight stutter what he owed to his visit. Shen Chun explained that he had come from Shanghai on business, and that second grandfather had sent him specifically to settle the troubles that had arisen. Shen Chun added that Jiang Chen was the future heir and his future boss, and he could contact him with any questions. Qi Wen noticed that these were indeed people from the Jiang family and wondered about his origins. Lin Lan grabbed Chief Kai's hand and angrily declared that if he did not want to take his seat, she would call her husband. Jiang Chen asked Lin Lan if she thought that all of Shanghai belonged to her family. Lin Lan, with a cold smile, replied that Shanghai was not her place, but dealing with some visiting country bumpkin was easy. Shen Chun, looking at Lin Lan, asked with a touch of irony, was she really interested in seeing how he was going to deal with her? Lin Lan interrupted him and asked arrogantly who he was, and since when did outsiders have a say in Shanghai? Shen Chun introduced himself as Chairman Minsheng's secretary and reminded him that Jiang Chen was his grandson, to whom all powers had been transferred. Lin Lan, hearing the name Minsheng, asked with surprise and fear whether this was the same corporation. Wang Chunying noted that Jiang Chen is the grandson of a tycoon with a fortune of over 100 billion, and Chairman Minsheng is a national figure. Qi Yuan added that the chairman had brought Minsheng to such heights, and that his older brother served in the elite troops. Shen Chun asked with icy calm how she was going to explain what had happened to the young master. Lin Lan struggled to contain her emotions, her thoughts racing in panic as she realized the scale of what had happened. Wang Hao pointed at Shen Chun and defiantly demanded to know what they were going to do, claiming that he had been hurt. Wang Hao, furious and perplexed, shouted that this was complete nonsense and demanded to see who had actually suffered here. Lin Lan, with a look of despair in her eyes, mentally noted that this country bumpkin apparently really did have serious connections. Lin Lan stated that this was just a misunderstanding between young people, and there was no need to make a big deal out of it. Shen Chun noticed that they were short of staff since the boss had to go out to minor conflicts. Chief Kai replied that he happened to be nearby and conveyed his best wishes to Mr. Jiang Chen. Shen Chun added that he would definitely pass it on, but if Mr. Jiang Chen found out about the incident, he might be dissatisfied. Lin Lan took out the phone from her bag that was ringing. Lin Lan dialed the number and asked what instructions Secretary Du would give her. Secretary Du replied with irritation that he was the one in charge in Shanghai, and if she wasn't careful, her career would be ruined. Lin Lan, standing on the street and holding the phone, was surprised to think that Secretary Du was calling because of this guy. Lin Lan, turning to Shen Chun, admitted that his words had opened her eyes and asked him to advise her on what to do. Chief Kai noted that Shanghai is the economic heart of China, and the influence of Jiang Chen's family is simply colossal. Captain Chen Qin said that it was time for him to return on business and promised to treat him to dinner next time. Qi Wen and Wang Chunying looked at what was happening and looked at each other in surprise, realizing the power and influence of the Jiang family. Lin Lan apologized for raising her son poorly and asked for forgiveness for today's incident. Jiang Chen told Wang Hao with icy calm that he had a way out and suggested that they forget about this meeting. Wang Hao, clenching his fists and looking at Jiang Chen, defiantly asked what else he wanted, since he and his mother had already made concessions. Lin Lan cried out that he was the only heir, and Shen Chun reminded him that the knife could have entered the young master. Shen Chun warns Lin Lan that if a knife were to enter the sole heir of the Jiang family today. Wang Hao angrily declared that his father was Wang Gong, and Lin Lan whispered that Secretary Du could ruin his father's career. Lin Lan admitted her son's guilt and asked for forgiveness. Wang Hao apologized with difficulty. Wang Hao demanded to know what Jiang Chen wanted, and he replied that his conditions had already been put forward and the matter would be closed if they were met. Wang Hao, gritting his teeth and frowning, declared that this would not happen and that he had already apologized. Qi Yuan mentally doubted whether Jiang Chen was being too cruel, even though he himself couldn't stand Wang Hao. Jiang Chen pointed out that if he didn't care, he could just leave. But if he was willing to accept the consequences, then the choice was his. Wang Hao, touching his bruised cheek, indignantly accused Jiang Chen of simply using his influence for personal gain. Jiang Chen responded by reminding him that there was no point in thinking about justice when he himself was abusing his position. Wang Chunying mentally agreed that there was a difference in status in society, and an ordinary person in Wang Hao's place would simply be destroyed. Jiang Chen said with cold calm that he had money and time, and if such people were left unpunished, innocent people would suffer. Wang Hao, taking the phone and pressing it to his ear, asked with surprise and disbelief what his father had said. Wang Hao's father explained that Grandpa Zhang was a man with mettle, and he needed to be careful, otherwise he might ruin everything. Wang Hao, standing on the street and holding the phone, listened to his father with a pale and frightened face, and his hands were shaking. Wang Hao, lowering his hand with the phone, stood there in a daze, realizing the seriousness of the situation. Wang Hao, with a trembling hand, took the knife and looked at Jiang Chen, asking if it would be over if he stabbed himself with it. Wang Hao, clutching the knife in his hand and looking at Jiang Chen, firmly said that he would keep his word. Jiang Chen looked at Wang Hao and calmly replied that, of course, he was an honest man. Wang Hao, with a furious cry, swung his arm and stabbed the knife into his stomach with all his might, his face distorted in pain. Lin Lan, with a trembling hand, dialed the ambulance number and screamed to call the doctors immediately, as her son had injured himself. Wang Hao, holding his stomach and swaying, said with difficulty that they were now even. Jiang Chen looked at Wang Hao and briefly replied that they were even and he could go. Lin Lan, standing next to the stretcher on which Wang Hao was lying, cried and urged the medics to save her son. Jiang Chen said and promised to apologize next time. Wang Chunying hugged him and replied that they were his own and could always call. Shen Chun put his hand on Jiang Chen's shoulder and offered to give him a ride home. Jiang Chen remarked that it was as comfortable as a Rolls-Royce, and Shen Chun said that it was the chairman's custom-made car. Shen Chun handed it to Jiang Chen and said that it had been kept for him for over 10 years and he could spend it without limit. Jiang Chen noted that he could spend without limits and wondered how much money the second grandfather had left for her. Shen Chun, getting out of the car, said that the car was at his disposal and he could make calls. Jiang Chen said goodbye to him. Jiang Chen, lying on the bed and holding the phone, heard from his father that everything was over, and he didn't even call. Jiang Chen asked Wang Yumu if they said he had a second grandfather, but she replied that it was a long story. Wang Yuma noticed that he was in no mood. Jiang Chen replied that he couldn't tell her now, and she asked why. Jiang Chen's father told his son that his grandfather was not an ordinary person, and if he encountered any petty upstarts again, he should call him immediately. Jiang Chen thought that Jiang was good at being cautious, and now Wang Hao, with such a family, was already considered a small upstart. Wang Yuma, standing in front of Jiang Chen, asked with a slight smile whether he wanted to take a bath or have dinner first. Jiang Chen, hugging Wang Yumu and touching her waist, replied with a grin that he was not interested in food at all today. Jiang Chen and Wang Yuma were in an embrace, surrounded by flowers and petals, their faces close to each other. The next day, Jiang Chen was walking alone on the city street. Wang Chunying looked at Jiang Chen with a smile and noticed that he hadn't been able to sleep well since yesterday. Jiang Chen, sitting at the table and eating noodles with gusto, replied with a smile that he was not afraid. Wang Chunying touched his chin and added that Wang Hao should thank fate that everything ended well. Jiang Chen, with a slight smile, pointed out that he was not exaggerating, and Wang Chunying replied that it was because of him that they were dragged into this mess. Wang Chunying looked at Jiang Chen and thoughtfully remarked that he had seen many important people, but the real dragons were always in the shadows. Jiang Chen, putting noodles to his mouth, calmly replied that he didn't care how much money he had or what kind of family he had. Wang Chunying recalled that he had spoken about purchasing a space in their complex, and Jiang Chen confirmed that it was for the company's office. Wang Chunying, getting up from the table, said with a smile that it was time to go then. The man with the folder in his hand respectfully invited Jiang Chen and Wang Chunying to enter the room where they were expected to discuss the deal. Wang Chunying explained to Jiang Chen that he had specially selected the best options. There were 3 buildings in the eastern zone, and the southern one was already sold out. Jiang Chen asked if it was sold, and the manager standing next to him confirmed that it was still available in the eastern zone. The manager, looking at Jiang Chen with a smile, confirmed that the building was still available, and Jiang Chen immediately decided to inspect it. Wang Chunying explained that all management systems and service standards meet the international 5-star standard. The manager, looking at the map, said that the market price was 20,000 yuan per square meter. Wang Zunying remarked that 18,000 was the usual price, but today, for friends, it might be 16,000. Wang Chunying, with a friendly smile, promises Jiang Chen a special domestic price of 16,000 instead of the usual 18,000. Jiang Chen noted the difference between the market price and the domestic price, and noted that a lot of money is made in real estate. The manager noted that this was against the rules and that he needed to coordinate with the office, but Wang Tsunyi, without letting him finish, said that he would talk to him himself. The manager thought to himself in surprise that the crown prince acts as he pleases and does not recognize any rules. Wang Chunying hugged Jiang Chen's shoulder and asked him with a smile which floor he liked. Jiang Chen pointed to the model and asked how much the entire building cost. The manager asked again if they had made a mistake and mentally noted that Jiang Chen had come for an entire office building. The manager said that if you take the entire building at the minimum price, the amount would be approximately 6.5 billion yuan. Jiang Chen said he would take over the entire building and asked if there was a China Merchants Bank branch nearby for the transfer. Wang Xunying asked the manager to call the bank manager, who excitedly promised to do everything immediately. The manager mentally noted that selling an entire building in one go was the highlight of his career. At the bank branch, an employee gestured for Jiang Chen and Wang Chunying to come inside. Wang Chunying introduced Jiang Chen as his brother and a major client, emphasizing that he was more serious than Wang Chunying himself. The bank employee was surprised that Wang Chunying treated him with respect and realized that this man was definitely not an ordinary person. Mr. Xu greeted him and promised to provide the best service, but Jiang Chen responded politely and suggested getting down to business. The bank employee, standing at the counter and pointing to the screen, asked what transaction they would like to carry out today. Jiang Chen, sitting on the sofa and touching his knee, replied that he had bought the office building from Director Wang's family and needed to arrange a transfer. Mr. Xu asked for Jiang Chen's bank card. He noted that the average office building usually costs several hundred million. Jiang Chen took out a card and said that he needed to transfer 5.5 billion first, and the rest in a second payment. Mr. Xu asked again if he had heard correctly and clarified whether it was really 5.5 billion. Jiang Chen, noticing his confusion, asked with a slight smile if there was any problem. Mr. Xu noticed that this card was clearly not issued by their branch and suggested that the amount in the account was most likely more than this. Mr. Xu, sitting on the sofa, explained with slight awkwardness that such an amount could not be transferred in one payment. Mr. Xu added that if such a sum were issued now, then later new deposits would have to be found to cover the hole in the balance. Jiang Chen offered him the following option. If he could arrange the transfer, Jiang Chen would open a new account. Mr. Xu, hearing this, swallowed hard and asked in shock, "Isn't it 10 billion?" Wang Chunying, slightly surprised, mentally noted that this proposal sounded serious. Mr. Xu compared them to rich people who control tens of billions as easily as ordinary people control tens of thousands. Jiang Chen confirmed that it was at least 10 billion and noted that several billion was no problem for him. Jiang Chen noted that if the cashback is doubled, the amount will be 11 billion. Wang Chunying noted that even if his father wanted to get tens of billions, he was unlikely to succeed. Mr. Xu, rubbing his hands excitedly, mentally noted that this would exceed the plan not only for this quarter, but also for the next one. Jiang Chen suggested that Mr. Xu either arrange the transfer in one operation or refuse further investments. Wang Chunying touched Jiang Chen's shoulder and remarked that they were his own people and that the translation could be done in several parts. Jiang Chen looked at Wang Chunying and thoughtfully said that if he split the transfer into parts, he might lose some of the money. Mr. Xu asked to give him some time to call, mentally understanding that such a client must be retained at any cost. Jiang Chen replied that he was in no hurry, and Mr. Xu gestured for them to sit down and said that he would be back soon. Wang Chunying noted with slight envy that he was simply insanely rich and that even the son of the richest man in the country envied him. Wang Chunying added that he had never had such amounts on his card in his entire life, and he increasingly realized how much higher his position was. Wang Chunying noted that the Wang family's wealth is built on loans and collateral, and they usually only have a few tens of billions. Wang Chunying looked at Jiang Chen with a smile and joked that maybe he should ask his father if he needed another son. Wang Chunying, with a surprised look, asked again if he was going to make him his son, since he considered him a brother. Mr. Xu returned and reported that he had received permission and the head office had approved the transfer, although he would have to wait about an hour. Mr. Xu said he didn't expect to see such a fortune at such a young age and thanked Jiang Chen for choosing their bank. Mr. Xu offered Jiang Chen a Centurion Black card with exclusive privileges, and he immediately agreed. Manager Zhu Yan greeted Mr. Jiang Chen, introducing herself as his personal manager. Jiang Chen was surprised that there were so many beautiful girls in Shanghai and wondered if this was a hidden function of the system. Wang Chunying asked Mr. Xu why he was not assigned a similar personal assistant when applying for the card. Mr. Xu replied that it would be awkward and promised that if Wang Zunying was not satisfied with this employee, he would find another. Wang Chunying remarked that today was not his day, but when he earned more money, Mr. Xu would know what he was capable of. Zhu Yan leaned forward slightly and asked Jiang Chen to look at the documents and sign if everything was correct. Jiang Qin, sitting at the table, smelled a pleasant aroma coming from Zhu Yan, which he mentally noted was testing his endurance. Zhu Yan carefully placed the 2 black cards into the velvet box, a professional smile on her face. Zhu Yan explained that his card was ready with an initial credit limit of 20 million and there was also a debit card for her. Zhang Chen looked at Zhu Yan and briefly thanked her for her work, and she, without turning around, replied that this was their direct responsibility. Mr. Xu asked her with a serious expression to impress Mr. Zhang Chen well, as the fate of their family depended on it. Mr. Xu confidently believes that through working with Jiang Chen and his own abilities, Zhu Yan will be able to take up the post. Mr. Xu added that he had great potential, and a close relationship with him would be a huge advantage for the family. An hour later, the employee reported that the funds were ready, and Jiang Chen asked to bring the contract so he could sign it immediately and transfer the money. Jiang Chen noted to himself that the cashback this time was too small, and the multiplier that appeared was the lowest of all possible. Wang Chunying informed Jiang Chen that the transfer had been successfully completed, and the building was now entirely his. Mr. Xu asked again whether the translation had really been successful, and mentally feared the possibility of making huge mistakes. Jiang Chen looked at the system screen and exhaled a little, and with a slight tiredness he replied that he saw confirmation. Jiang Chen reassured himself, deciding not to be upset about the low multiplier, because he had a system, the money would never run out. A notification appeared on the interface stating that the purchase of 5.5 billion had raised the system level. Mr. Xu stood there with a confused and shocked look, not knowing how to react to such a large-scale transaction. The bank employee reported that a huge transfer had been received into the account, and Mr. Xu asked in amazement, how much exactly? The employee, with difficulty catching her breath, announced that the transfer amount was 27.5 billion yuan. Wang Chunying, hearing this number, turned around abruptly and looked at Jiang Chen with a surprised look. Mr. Xu, standing with the phone in his hand and looking at the screen, looked stunned and shocked. Mr. Xu clenched his fist and let out a sigh of relief, knowing that he had made the right choice by putting his career on the line for Jiang Chen. Wang Chunying noticed that Jiang Chen had transferred 5.5 billion to their company, and a minute later, more was deposited into his account. Wang Chunying, thoughtfully touching his chin, asked if his family by any chance owned a bank. Jiang Chen replied with a slight chuckle that if his family owned a bank, he definitely wouldn't transfer such small amounts. Mr. Xu and Zhu Yan simultaneously froze in complete amazement, shocked by what they saw or heard. Wang Chunying, with a slight smile, remarked that the sum of 27.5 billion was already something incredible. Wang Chunying remarked that at first he thought Jiang Chen regretted buying the building, but it turned out that he was simply not satisfied with the price. Jiang Chen turned to Mr. Xu and asked him to transfer the remaining 1 billion to the same account. Mr. Xu nodded readily and replied that he would do so immediately. Jiang Chen noted that the issue with the shares had been resolved, and he would now be able to use the money to work on the American market. Wang Chunying reminded him about the shares and said that his father had added another 300 million, and now he had 400 million in his account. Wang Chunying, smiling and raising his thumb, praised him and suggested that they go and talk calmly. Jiang Chen said that it was time for them to go, and Mr. Xu, smiling as he said goodbye, reminded them that they could always call at any time. In the office of the manager, Mr. Xu, he exhaled heavily and sank onto the sofa, looking both tired and satisfied. Zhu Yan looked at Mr. Xu and asked in surprise why he was sighing instead of rejoicing at such a large contribution. Mr. Xu, looking at the floor, noted with slight sadness that at over 40 years old, he was still too pitiful. Zhu Yan noticed that he had decided to engage in false modesty, since most people would never reach his position in their entire lives. Mr. Xu took a sip from his thermos and asked if everything was okay with the money he had received. Zhu Yan, looking at the laptop screen, reassured him, saying that the funds came from the American stock market. Mr. Xu remarked that it was better to be careful with such a sum, and asked Zhu Yan to fulfill any requests Jiang Chen made. Xu Yan nodded eagerly and promised to do her best. Mr. Xu added that he was pursuing his own goals and hinted that she had a chance to become closely acquainted with Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen met an old acquaintance, who, smiling happily, remarked that he did not expect to meet him again. An acquaintance remarked that the world is a small place, and the story of his broken car made the news, and he asked if everything was okay with him. Jiang Chen noted with a smile that everything was fine and the car had already been repaired, and Director Wang helped with the repairs. Wang Chunying remarked that he was probably a bad driver, but it was thanks to this that he met Jiang Chen. The golden-haired friend was surprised to notice that even Lao Wang spoke highly of Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen said with a smile that he never thought he would dine with the Emperor of Shanghai and the husband of the nation. Wang Chunying added that if the girls found out about the purchase of the building for 6.5 billion, he would become the nation's new husband. The chestnut-haired friend asked again if he had heard correctly, and clarified whether Jiang Chen had really bought the building for 6.5 billion. The golden-haired friend noted with admiration that he had gone to such lengths for the sake of investments. Wang Chunying was surprised to see that they had just been to the bank, and he had already paid the entire amount. The brown-haired friend said he would like to take part in a good project, and the golden-haired one also said that he wouldn't mind picking up the crumbs. Jiang Chen reported a short-term opportunity in U.S. high-yield stocks. The chestnut-haired friend, with slight doubt, asked who told him about the insider shares and whether the source was reliable. Jiang Chen replied that he could not name the person, as the information was unofficial, and suggested that they decide for themselves. Jiang Chen, putting down his cup, remarked with a smile that he no longer needed connections, but since they were friends, he wouldn't mind sharing the opportunity. Wang Sunying looked at his golden-haired friend and asked him with a smile how much he planned to invest. The golden-haired friend, raising the cup to his mouth, said that he had learned about the situation yesterday from his father, who had immediately added 300 million to him. The chestnut-haired friend whispered that Wang's family was already the richest in the country, and he was talking to Jiang Chen almost with respect. The golden-haired friend remarked that even a cautious person like Mr. Wang considered this deal to be reliable. Jiang Chen, smiling, patted Wang Chunying on the shoulder and remarked that it was quite possible to earn 1 small billion then. Chestnut friend asked if the profit was really that high, and Jiang Chen confirmed it. The golden-haired friend, taking the phone in his hand, said that he would also call his father now so that he would give him some money. The chestnut friend noted that he couldn't collect it himself, but if he and his sister chipped in, they could really scrape together 1 billion. The golden-haired man advised him to think about it first in the evening, but he replied that since they were already entering into a deal, he had no reason to doubt. The chestnut-haired friend, standing at the table, confidently declared that since Jiang Chen recommended it, he would invest without hesitation. Jiang Chen, sitting at the dining table with chopsticks in his hand, was enjoying his food with a smile, but he noticed a little girl outside the door. The little girl, Annie, was hiding behind the door and peeking out from behind it, looking at the table with curiosity and a little shyness. Annie ran out from the door and rushed towards Jiang Chen, who, smiling, opened his arms and asked her what she was doing here.